capitalist, but you're pushing me into like the area where I have to give you my most anti-capitalist takes.
Yeah, go for
So,
it, man.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So I think the big problem we have right now when it comes to you have to remain fact-based, because if you're trying to pull people from the right over to the left,
And
you have to
likewise,
give
yeah.
them some type of cushion to like land on. And if you're starting with a whole bunch of lies, they're just going to ignore you and they're going to veer completely off to the right.
Yeah.
But it's actually pretty similar with the right as well. Something I've joked about for years now. And holy f, we're going to expedite visas, and anybody that wants to escape this like soon to be shithole, you better get out now, right?
What got you started into doing political streams on Twitch?
Basically,
Hi.
I've always had like kind of a wide variety of interests. There's a lot of things that I like to talk about. And when 2016 rolled around and Trump was running for president, I noticed that like a lot of the conversations that were
Wait, hold up. What is this?
Not all white people are colonizers. You yourself acknowledged it's possible for a white person to live ethically in South Africa. So maybe we go below the surface level and we talk about the underlying issue, like colonization and the systemic problems that lead to that.
Wait, is this person a black nationalist?
Hey, howdy.
Hi.
How are we doing today?
Doing all
Dodging
right,
raids
so
like a champ, really? Nice.
yeah.
Dude, I'm 1 hour late. Any raid that I dodged, I apologize.
Wasn't planning on spending my day off talking with you, but glad it's happening. My friend BP, who I mentioned in my last video,
Good morning,
had this great
bestie.
idea for me to make brownies, and I cut them up into little pieces. And the idea is that if there's anything that you want brownie points for, I can just take this and put this in the jar. And I figured that maybe at the end we could count all the brownie points together.
Nice. No,
I
I
remember
like
you
that.
saying that.
I'm on a diet
Yeah,
though,
like I
so I
remember you
can't.
saying on the last.
I can't eat them.
No, that's a shame. They're the Ghirardelli kind, so I just
Cherry
remember like the last
literally
video.
raided Zerko 1 minute ago. Yeah, dude, I dodged so many raids. Oh, hold up. Just realized my cam was totally fucked. Okay.
That you said that
Rip.
you're helping me out by platforming a content creator, a 30th year size. So
Hey, it's the thought that counts, all right? It's the thought that
you
counts.
could start off with that for a brownie point if you wanted.
Oh well, yeah. I want as many brownie points.
Yo, what's
as I
up,
can get.
Zerko?
And yeah, isn't that how it always
Awesome.
works, right? It's
Zerko
actually something
frog.
that I've been struggling with a lot recently with my channel, you know, because people will
Thanks for more
I don't mean
slis-
you with this. I legitimately don't mean you, but like usually like far
Wait, is this person a black nationalist or not?
Take out the people who colonize them. There's a number of ways that could look like without actually committing genocide.
Isn't that? I mean, how do you kick out millions of people because of their race without it being a
You
genocide?
take out.
Well, I mean, you could argue it would be a cultural genocide, but it's definitely not a genocide to just kick people out. Yeah, I think the word he's looking for is maybe eugenics. Could be a form of eugenics to try and do that, maybe, is what he's thinking of.
Like when colonization happens, the people who colonize those places take over industries, making it so that way the people who have the most power are running those countries. So what you do to take away their power is you take the power back. You make those industries not run by the people who are colonize them. And then because they have a lack of power, those people tend to leave. That's just like one example off the top of my head.
Oh, sure. If you mean like reappropriating businesses and fairly distributing them, and then people of their own volition leave, that's fine. But that's not what I tend to see from like black separatists, right? They aren't like, we should have a proportional amount of industry controlled by black people in X country. And
Isn't
then
that a
let
type
the
of genocide? Right, like that's what I said, like maybe a cultural genocide if you wanted to make that argument. It's ethnic cleansing / displacement. No, one uses the term correct terminology. Yeah, true. Read
Well,
last
they may.
message.
There's-
Yeah, she is. Joe Lewis was defending her to Hans today. Might be worth watching if we want to. If he went back on anything. Okay. So wait. Joe Lewis was defending this person to. Okay. So this might be super relevant to me. Joe Lewis was defending this black chick and her performance against Vaush, or just in general to Hans? Because I had a conversation like a fucking year ago. I think Cherry recently watched it with Joe Lewis about black nationalism. And yeah, he seemed like what he was saying is he was a reformed Andy. So we'll see what happens here.
There's usually an explicit intent to
I might
not
have to
live
have a conversation with
the
Joe.
racial groups that are associated with their oppression, which is kind of what you use in your video too, right? Like, you don't say people in colonized countries should have the right to reappropriate industry and make it democratic. You say they should have a right to determine whether they want to live with their oppressor. You're giving the state the power to deport people or kill them when that's the language you use.
My point is that the people who colonize those people, if the people who are there and they live in their own country don't want to live with people who are colonized, they should have the right to determine if they want to live with those people or not. And I think that could look like a number of things. And my point is that it doesn't actually have to always look like genocide. And the way that you're painting it is just comparing it to white nationalism. And so my point is that you can critique these things. You don't have to agree with these things, but you can talk about that sentiment without calling it the same thing as white nationalism.
But
that's my point of the two videos.
But I've talked to white nationalists, and they kind of talk exactly like how you talk. Most of them aren't bold enough to say, yeah, I want to genocide or deport all the non-white people. Usually it's like, yeah, we want to restrict immigration from X countries, and we want to pay people to leave, and we want to incentivize white power in our country.
Don't hold me on it. I'm not going to hold you on it. It's just information that might be relevant for us to be able to go over the thing.
Because at the end of the day, I mean, it seems like the underlying logic here is the same, right? Whether the grievances are legitimate or not, and I want to make a clear distinction here. Black people in South Africa have been oppressed by white people. White people in America are not oppressed by Jews or whatever. So obviously, in terms of correctly identifying past modes of oppression, there's a huge difference. But the feelings of persecution are the same. Nazis do feel persecuted, and as a product of that, the language they use comes out really similar to this. We should have the right to determine a space for our people, a right to choose our homeland. So the language to me comes off really, really similar to white nationalist stuff, especially when we're dealing in like really ambiguous terms, like they should have a right to live free of the oppressors. I mean, how can a person be an oppressor because of their race? Did all the millions of white people in South Africa like individually oppress all the black people there? It just seems weird to be retaliatory in that way.
So it's not that every single person is necessarily an oppressor. The thing that people are talking about with racism comes down to the system that people are part of. For example, I'm adopted and my dad is white. He's a European immigrant, actually. And he might not have been a part of the people who have enslaved Black people or descendants of those people, but he's still profiting off of a racist system. And there needs to be some sort of disempowerment of those people as far as power and racist structures. In order for there to be equality. So
yeah,
that's the point.
I know,
The reason why I'm being vague is because if you look at different countries who have decolonized themselves, you have like all these different ways that those countries have gone about it. You have people who have been very violent, and you have people who have somehow done it peacefully. We're reading a book called Ujamaa or it's called Ujamaa, but it's by Julius Nyerere, who was...
Dude, I'm genuinely of the belief, and I think that this will truly grow with time, and I think everybody will understand this. I just think that if you're an unintelligent person, you just shouldn't read. It seems like unintelligent people that read literature like this, like the books that talk about social issues, like unironically, they misinterpret it to like such stretches that they just become radicalized. Yeah, I genuinely believe this to be the case, dude. These people don't know how to interpret the literature, and they think that they do, and then so they become like more vindicated in their positions when all they're doing is just selecting and cherry picking all of the shit that they want to hear out of the book. I swear to God this is the case. Hand to the fucking Lord. I know this is the fucking case. These people don't actually learn anything from fucking reading. The only thing that they learn to do is just reinforce their biased as fuck point. They pick a book that they hear agrees with them, and they interpret it in a way that most agrees with them, and they just get further radicalized. These people should learn how to fucking think before they fucking learn how to read. I 100% believe this.
One of the leaders of getting rid of colonialism in Tanzania. Unfortunately,
sorry. I'm not talking about like fucking Harry Potter, obviously. What I'm talking about is like all of these fucking books that talk about, whoa, you see, this is why socialism is the only way forward. And they're like, yeah, true. And they don't even know what a market is. They don't even know what the stock market is. They don't even have a running definition of capitalism. They don't know what a dividend is. They don't know what any of these systems are. They have no idea what they're fucking talking about. Fuck that shit, alright? You need to have some kind of cursory knowledge before you even begin diving into literature of this kind. Okay? You shouldn't be reading books, bitch.
he died, a lot of things were put in place. But he did it completely through voting, which is amazing. And we're also reading
I don't know, every single socialist has a fucking term. Or sorry, not a term, a list of books that they say that they've read. Obviously they haven't. But they have a list of books that they talk about, and of the ones that actually refer to the literature inside of it, they're just blatantly misrepresenting it. Like that Cormentine person, right? Where literally Destiny had sections of the book that he said that he read, and he just misinterpreted it. He's just like, no, he just totally went left field with the interpretation. It's just fucking crazy.
Fanon's Record of the Earth. Frantz Fanon did a lot of work in Algeria, which and there's like a lot of violence that happened there. I think like dealing with colonialism is going to be messy, and there needs to be room to have new.
Wouldn't you say streamers are worse for those people? Oh, what, than books? Yeah, probably. I think that's a problem with the literature. I don't think it's a problem with the literature necessarily. I think it's a problem with like how we engage with literature. I think a lot of people want to think that they're smart or want to become smart and then think that they can dive into a book dismantling like the ideas of capitalism when they don't know any of the cursory knowledge, like at all. They're like, yeah, let me start with like the metaphysics of capitalism, and they don't even know what the fuck capitalism is.
In these conversations, and I think just kind of reducing it to like, oh, this is white nationalism is very reductive, and it doesn't really give space for those people to talk about what to do.
I just don't understand how you could ever morally permit any plan of action which involves the deportation of a people based on their ethnic group, you know? I don't know if that necessarily addresses any of
that ethnic group colonized a group of people.
Oh, sure, but
that's how. That's and if we disagree on that line, that's fine.
No,
but I think colonized people have to have the right to self-determination. What to do about the people who colonize them.
No, I agree that the ethnic group did indeed.
God, the jumping to virtue signaling. Nothing like the leftists to get that going right at the start there.
Participate in the colonization, but I don't believe in taking blanket retribution against people for their bloodline because they're associated with the
bloodline. It's not about.
Well, it is.
It's about being away from the people who oppressed you. It's about taking your power back.
No, it is. Just stop with this reframing nonsense. It's about getting away from the oppressor people. You mean white people? That's what you're saying. People of a specific ethnicity. Like, stop being obtuse.
Some people who oppressed you.
Yeah,
that's what I'm
you
saying.
can do that without deportation.
Like, is she gonna talk? I don't know. Maybe she does. What about the like white people that are like passing as black people? The like not half white, half black people, but like 1/3 black, like fucking 70% white, but they pass as black. What about these people? All right, or what about even the half and half? Like, what about these people? They're black enough? I don't know. What is this fucking argument, dude? Is it like, yeah, where do we go? It's almost like the essentialization of their ethnic purity. Pretty cringe, but we're gonna try and run through this so we can get to the Joe Louis Hans talk. Can somebody link that in the chat?
I'm sure some people think so. I'm sure some people have found that they can't. You know what I'm saying? It's very different for each country and each context.
You can do that without deportation or creating an ethno-state. In fact, I can't really think of a single time in history that ethnic disempowerment was improved through the initiation of genocide. Or like mass deportation. It doesn't seem to be a very effective way of changing the socioeconomic reality of the people who were previously colonized or previously oppressed. It seems like, if anything, it's an act of retribution, that people would go, oh, well, since we were the oppressed for centuries, now we have the right to enact moral vengeance against you and remove millions of you from the country or something. And that just seems to me, I mean, not only are you basically being the villain there, it just seems to me like this is a really impractical way of fixing any of these issues, you know? Like, what's, like, I mean,
I think that's fair to say, like, that you could say, like, wow, like, mass deporting millions of people is, like, not really useful or helpful. But I also think, like, when you look at people who are working on decolonizing, like, that's not necessarily what's happening. People are just trying to, like, get the people who have power over them to leave. And I think in that context, that makes sense insofar as you're trying to break down a power structure. That's where I stand personally.
No, are you a fucking moron? Please.
I want to leave, that's fine, but I don't think any ethnic group has any more of a right to a country than any other ethnic group. I don't think any racial group here in America has the right to decide whether they want to live with any other racial group.
So, like, just to, like, be clear, because I actually don't know your views on this, like, you don't think that we should give the land back to indigenous people?
If that involved deporting the people who live here who aren't indigenous, then God, no, absolutely not. I don't think we could fix one genocide with another one. I think there are ways to address the problems with, like, Native American people here today involving, like, land redistribution or, like, forms of reparation and stuff. But if it involves, like, displacing, like, millions of Americans, that seems, I don't know, that seems pretty bad.
I mean, I think it sounds pretty bad. I don't think indigenous people are trying to do that. And at the same time,
I agree,
like,
yeah.
these are the people who are colonized, and they have to have their own autonomy to decide what happens after being colonized by people.
Well,
and again, I don't
limits,
think that's
right?
the solution for them.
Well, within limits,
I
I
think
mean, they
they
couldn't go,
should
like,
get to decide
we
those
gotta kill them all.
limits.
Well, wait,
Sure,
if Native
Tim.
Americans
Yeah.
did start, like, taking out a blood debt on white people, I don't think they should be allowed to just start killing us, right?
I mean, I don't think they should be allowed to start killing people. What I'm saying is, like, they should have the right to decide if the colonization should continue, if the people who should stay here or not.
What do you mean? But where's here? The whole of America? Do we deport 1/3 of a billion people back to Europe or something? I mean, we caused, like, a worldwide catastrophe so that, what, a few million people can re-inherit the land. I like the logistics of this seem really odd to me. Shouldn't we talk about ways that you can pragmatically address these issues and not like just give massive moral leeway to people just because they're oppressed? I don't think being oppressed means that you have any more of a right to be like a moral judge, jury, and executioner than any other member of any other group.
I think the point is
How's
that
it
it's not
going,
actually
Cherry?
like the U.S.'s land. We're on indigenous land, and they need to have their own autonomy. I highly doubt that if we gave the land back to indigenous people, that they would do the same thing that white people did to them. And I think that's also like a mistake around black people. Like black people had
Wait, she's a fucking moron. I agree that like typically these people are not going to do these things. The problem is she's literally the worst person to argue this. She's literally arguing that if black people have the power in America, we're going to start deporting white people. But she's also saying, yeah, at the same time, I think if black people or indigenous people were given the same powers, they wouldn't do the same thing that white people did to them.
I was on
Oh
the brink
my
of this black
God.
separatist shit satch.
When I got into Twitch politics, I admit I was on the brink. Hey, listen, I'm glad to have you back, brother. I'm glad to have you back. All right, I'm glad that you that you were brought back from the brink. Okay, this shit is wild. This is the exact same thing. It's like, well, listen, we aren't gonna do like this is the little Timmy, dude. But like worse. Instead of little Timmy, where you're gonna get bullied for being white and the ancestor of some racist lineage we can't actually even track back, and you might not actually even be a part of. But we're gonna kick you the fuck out of our country. How the fuck am I supposed to argue with white nationalists about the little Timmy example when dumb fucks like this exist? Huh? Think about that. You know what I gotta do? You know what, fascists? You're right. Nazis, you're right. Maybe you shouldn't be giving black people power because they're gonna kick all of you out. So I guess just whoever can get to the nuke first, whoever can kick the fucking other person out first. This is absolute nonsense, okay? Absolute nonsense. Black people en masse don't want to do this shit, okay? But I do not want this to grow, because if it does grow, then I don't have an argument against the fascists for the little Timmy example, because this woman would want little Timmy kicked the fuck out. Like, that's so fucking nuts to me. She had the gall to say that fucking shit. Black people wouldn't do the same thing that that white people did to them. Yeah, literally. She's pushing back against us not doing that. It's fucking wild.
power doesn't mean they're gonna just like start murdering white people.
Yep.
White people just like want equality, or black people just want equality.
Wait, but I don't have a
I think
problem
people should have
with land back. I don't have a problem with black people having power. I'm
So
specifically
the
saying I
U.S.
take issue
would
with
end
your
up
claim.
with a few million people left in the situation. Yeah, literally, what is that? 60% of our 60 something like that percent of our population would just evaporate.
The benefit of doubt. You were right, Ray. You were right.
You were right, dude. There is no chance of growing. That's why she has this small following. I hope to God that it stays that way.
That oppressed people have the right to determine whether or not they want to live with their oppressor. I don't think the land back movement is about kicking Europeans out.
Like, there's so many ways that could look like besides committing mass genocide. You know, like you keep on talking about like, oh, that means that we're just going to kill people or deport people. There's just so many ways that could look like in the U.S. that could look like in different African countries. And I think people should have the right to determine that, to be able to talk about what to do.
But I'm in favor of those things. I'm explicitly against the claim you
So
made.
like if you're in favor of those things,
What
then
are
it's
those-
like
what
what really bothers me is that when people talk about this, and people even start to talk about like just, you know, how LeftTube is divided by race, right? Like I watch that you have No Name and St. Andrew. This person's just saying like, hey, my tweets aren't for you. You're calling this person a segregationist. That's my point. My point is that people can't say their opinions without being called these extremes. People can't even talk about like, wow, what would it be like to live in a world where we're not around the people who are oppressing us that time all the time. And then,
yeah, it's because there's a difference between what would it be like to live in a world without like the oppressors around us. You know, we could talk about specific, like pretty chaotic, evil people. You know, we're talking about dictators, Kim Jong-un type beat, right? Like these people, you know, if you were to, in theory, imprison them or what have you, right? Whatever they may be, you know, that's one thing. But when we're talking about without these oppressors around, some random white dude in a fucking basement in fucking Kentucky trying to play fucking Diablo 2 Resurrected because he's trying to relive his glory days and loves that fucking game. Why the fuck does he have to get kicked out of the fucking country, dude? Like, what the fuck? Like, why are we even entertaining this idea? You know? That some fucking literal, fucking George from Minnesota just fucking doing a 9 to 5, and a goddamn accountant that happens to be burdened with being white has to be kicked out of the fucking country, dude. That's so fucking cringe. That's not an oppressor, dude. You got a grudge. Just admit it. You're a grown-ass woman with a fucking grudge. That's what you got, which is really fucking weird, considering, like, how little of a grudge, I'm gonna say it, how little of a grudge black people in modern society have, like, the right to have over these other people, dude. I'm making that fucking claim, dude. You could be racist against a couple specific white people. I could understand that, but, like, white people as a whole, dude, like, come on, dude.
And we talk about this, and then we start talking about separatism as this wild extreme. It's like there are separatism that I think is this wild extreme, but there's also
You're doing it back and forth. Just to be
it is, and we don't have room for this conversation.
So just to be clear, I don't think you have a right to live in a world without white people or in a country without white people. You keep dancing back and forth between these 2 points. I don't think any ethnic or racial group has a right to exclude or expel other ethnic or racial groups for any reason, no matter who was the colonizer or the colonizer. Now, if we're talking about other policy to redistribute power or address differences or stuff like that, then absolutely, I'm on board with that, and I spend time on my platform advocating for those things. But the problem that I had with those no-name tweets is that it was like, my cultural product isn't for white people. I think that's essentially segregationist gatekeeping. Not obviously not like, one water fountain for the other type stuff. We're not talking about state power.
But you can understand that there's black people who want to have black spaces. Like you understand that.
Yeah, as long as they're not.
Oh, she doesn't know the black spaces meme.
Like backed by the force of a state. Yeah.
Okay, well, no name's just saying that this tweet is for white people, and you're calling that person a segregationist. That's like the kind of rhetoric I'm critiquing. And again, I'm not saying you can't critique separatism, that you can't like be on board with stuff. What I'm saying is that your content that you're making is making such extremes where people talk about how they're frustrated with white people. People talk about how like,
message is up, Hans link. Okay, my bad.
We need spaces where it was with black people. This content isn't made for white people, so your opinion isn't as relevant here. When that's happening, you're calling these people segregationists, comparing everyone in this box to white nationalism. And what I'm saying is that's not a fair critique. I think it's okay if you're not okay with separatism. But what I'm saying is that these critiques and making these false equivalencies to white nationalism is unfair.
Well,
Does that make sense? Does that clear things up?
Well, I didn't call No Name a white nationalist, I don't think. I don't remember the exact tweet thread.
You said that she was a segregationist.
Well, yeah, there were elements of that stuff that were pretty segregationist, I think. So, like, I don't have much respect for the
tweet that said this isn't for white people. That was it. That was the tweet.
Well, I think that was in response to some other stuff, right? Where people were criticizing something that she said, and she said that it's not for white people. I need to look at the thread again, but if I remember, like, the general gist of stuff, the thing that bothers me is that I think that the only real difference between doing that and somebody saying this content isn't for black people is really like broader societal power. I think it's really unproductive to suggest that racism can be fixed or addressed by reifying and reflecting a lot of the exclusionary tendencies that systemic racism brings about only through the lens of the oppressed, And No Name has done some stuff that I found pretty yikesy. I have to go back and look through the Twitter thread. When I was having the conversation with the person who was defending those tweets, it also feels to me sometimes like we're not really talking about justice. We're just talking about some black people don't really like being around white people, which I guess is your right, but I don't think that's like a morally defensible political movement,
Like, you don't understand why there are black people who don't want to be around white people.
I understand why there are white people who don't want to be around black people, but I don't give them much moral credence either. I get why they want it. I just don't think that's necessarily a good thing.
Like, why people who have to deal with racist shit all the time are like, hey, I want to be around the people who keep on making racist shit.
And it becomes impossible to make the argument that, like, white people aren't facing much racism when there's literally black people walking around saying, if we get power, maybe kicking all of the white people out of the country is a good idea, dude. It becomes fucking impossible. So now we have white people saying that they're experiencing racism, and now we got fucking black people saying they're experiencing racism. Sounds pretty even to me, brother. Get the fuck out of here, dude.
Well,
holy shit, dude. This is truly the worst timeline, dude.
Right? Or like, I don't understand.
Well, I think you can say
what's the issue with that?
Well, I think you can say I want an anti-racist space, but what you've just done there is essentialize racism as something only white people can express and something black people don't express. And I can tell you from my experiences online, there are a lot of black people who are pretty goddamn racist in all directions, and there are a lot of white people who aren't. If you want an anti-racist space, go for it. Godspeed. Make more of them. But when you essentialize it as like a white-black thing, I think that can lead to a lot of really bad roads,
I don't understand like why it's wrong if a black person's like, I'm talking to black people right now. And I think a lot of white people aren't going to get it.
Well, I mean,
I don't understand like, how that leads to bad things. And like, that's just like a reality that black people are dealing with all the time. When they try to talk with white people about racism, and then, they're called a white nationalist, they're called a segregation. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, your content is actually the perfect example of why it's like, yeah, we need black spaces. And if you want black people to stop needing black spaces more, then you got to stop comparing black people to white nationalists whenever you disagree with them.
Well,
you know
then stop sounding like a fucking white nationalist. Literally. Dude, could somebody in Vaush's chat has to do it. They have to take this lady's words and replace the word black with white. And replace the word oppressor with what would it be? I mean, there's a list of words that we could use. We could use degenerate or separate or like whatever fucking dealer's choice. However radical you want to make this, fictional fascist that's saying this shit, right? Dealer's choice. You pick one of those words, this woman is a white nationalist instantly. Okay? It's because it's the same fucking thing, dude. It's the same fucking thing.
Well, every time I disagree with them, I think that's a pretty bad characterization.
Globalist. Yeah, you name it. You dealer's fucking choice, dude.
you disagree with them. My
So
bad.
I found the tweet from No Name that I really took issue with. Do you mind if I read it? Just because we talked about it, so I think the context is
They,
relevant.
yeah, there you go.
Sure.
No Name said, "Why are white leftists more eager to unify with radicalized communities than organizing your own people first? Unity with black people is meaningless as long as the masses of white people are indoctrinated into white supremacy and liberalism. Please don't speak to me about police." The last sentence being in reference
That's
to the
actually
tweet
not the
that she spoke
tweet that I'm talking about.
to. Oh, is there a different
It's not
tweet?
the tweet I'm talking about.
How many No
There's a
Name
different
tweets do I
tweet, but it's in
dislike?
the same. There's two. There's one in a video from earlier. I guess I can try to find it. But
Well, I'd say that tweet that I just read, though, is kind of an indicator of the behavior that I don't like. It's essentially saying, hey, white leftists, you have a quota of white people you have to de-radicalize before you're allowed to interact with the black community, which seems like such pointless, unproductive, like, gatekeeping. Like, what is that? How does that improve anything with regards to racism besides, like, making white leftists feel more awkward and uncomfortable talking about race issues?
sorry,
It's like
I'm
stay in your
looking
lane.
for the quote.
I don't think it's okay to say stay in your lane to black people. Seems like kind of.
I
Look
think
at
there
the
is a lane
crowd
that like
she
white people are in.
hangs with.
That tweet kind of
Fucking Mel, dude. Are you joking? There's a clip with 47K views going around saying that I support genocide, because they do. In a debate where I say, sure, genocide is off the table, but colonized people must be the ones who decide to do with their own colonization. I trust them to make those decisions. Couldn't I just say, there's a clip with 47,000 views going around saying that I support genocide in a debate where I say, sure, genocide's off the table, but the majority of people, or the majority, must be the ones who decide what to do with their own country, and I trust them to make those decisions. I don't know, it sounded a little familiar. I don't know. It's just things are kind of starting to get put together. I don't know. It's just kind of weird. I don't know what's going on. It's just kind of weird. I don't know. You guys getting vibes? I don't know what it is. Or maybe it's just the humidity in my room or something. I don't know. I'm getting vibes.
Excuse me, because I hold on, let me just pull it up because
We're all in one lane, and it's the lane of life. We're on the autobahn. It's just one giant road. I guess the autobahn
oh
is
my god,
lanes too.
we're in the lane of life. It's like just kind of completely like ignores like the racial divides that actually exist. You know what I'm saying? It's like, wouldn't it be nice if we were all in the lane of life, but we're not. We have like all these issues that we have to deal with for us to actually be able to see each other as that.
Well, by the lane,
So-
I don't mean like liberal colorblindness. I mean that I think that people of any race have a right to talk on any issue. I think cis people should be able to speak confidently on trans issues, white people on black issues, black people on white issues, and so on. I think that trying
It's
to
like-
keep that from happening leads to a lot of really weird community gatekeeping that's just bad for our political goals.
So you can do that. You can definitely like speak on behalf of other people, but I think the huge issue is that people need to really understand what they're talking about. You need to go to these communities and go, hey, what's up? What are you dealing
You know what? It's the irony, dude. The irony of a white or a black woman. I always said white woman. I just started to sound pretty white, dude. A black woman fucking saying that a white dude needs to understand race more before he talks about it. I don't know why I'm getting my pronouns mixed up here. Before he talks about it, when literally he has more knowledge on race issues than her, dude. This is insane. I genuinely think this is a byproduct of the environment that Vaush is talking about, where and that this lady's talking about, where it's just like people think that because you're black, that means you're educated on race. Or because you put some books in the background of your cam frame, that means you're educated on race. No shot. Okay? This woman learned of the word colonizer, realized she could either grift off of it or wanted to relive some retributive justice because she watched too many fucking documentaries that say that, like, she needs to, like, fucking, I don't know, not genocide, ethnically distribute the white people inside of the area around her. Like, it's just fucking cringe. It's just fucking cringe. Go next.
with. And then you can talk with them in the context of trying to represent them as close as possible. And before you talk with them, you have to like go back and be like, hey, did I understand this correctly? Did I get this right? That can take so much time to do. But I think people shouldn't be trying to represent anybody if they don't understand what they're talking about. That's kind of my issue. Like in the issue of like No Name's tweet, for example, like again, in this video that I watched, like you said that this person was a segregationist.
Well, I need to
It's
see
like,
the tweet to understand the context.
okay, let me find it.
It's okay. I didn't mean to send you on a hunt for it or anything. I thought that I had found that. I didn't realize there were two tweets I took issue with. Out of curiosity, which Democratic primary candidate did you support back during the primaries?
I voted for Biden.
Oh, I voted for Biden.
Didn't want to, but you know.
But what
that's
about in the primaries? Who'd you support before all the candidates got crunched?
I really was hoping that Bernie would win, and then I also heard about some other candidates that I really liked, like Gloria Riva. But I didn't
irrelevant.
think
She's
that,
a professor. Is this person really a professor? We're doomed if this person's an actual professor. Genuinely, we're fucking doomed. Is this a meme? It says Professor Flowers. I'm assuming that, I'm assuming this is just a moniker, right? I'm assuming this is just a moniker, like a online thing, right?
going to be enough people who voted for her, even though I liked her policies more than Bernie. So I still stuck with Bernie.
She works at Yale. We're done. This is the worst timeline. Dude, my my respect for academia is going into the fucking floor, dude.
So-
when you get bodied, absolutely bodied, by a goddamn dropout fucking... Oh, sorry, he didn't drop out. Sorry, a wannabe fucking college student who's a fucking Twitch entertainer. Like... I feel like the board should absolutely reestablish whether or not you deserve that degree. Okay? Whatever it is. I don't even care if it's not in poli-sci, dude. I don't even care. I don't care if it's in, like, fucking biotech or some shit. Like, they need to reestablish some shit for sure. He's an undergrad? Oh, I don't know.
Right. So this is the issue, right? Because the black community didn't side with Bernie. They sided with Biden. So would my support for Bernie back during the primaries have been an indication that I was failing to listen to the needs of the black community? Or do you think that I have like a right to, for my own reasons and my own opinions, disagree with that community to support an agenda of racial reform that's with a candidate they don't necessarily support with? You could go the same direction with like abolishing the police. A lot of the black community didn't support abolish the police. It was mostly people like us, largely online, young, leftist radicals who supported that. So is this an issue of us making a mistake by ignoring them? Or do you think it's okay to advocate for racial issues without necessarily deferring to the group
Heck W, get fucked!
opinion of black people?
I think the issue is that you need to like listen to what people are saying. Like for example, like when I and again,
Okay, so she literally wasn't listening to what he was saying because that's what he literally said the majority of black people don't agree with your decision. So are you not listening to black people the same way I'm not listening to black people because she and him had the same political advocacy? It's really weird that she says, you need to listen to people. That was his point. If you listen to black people, you wouldn't have voted for Bernie. You would have voted for Biden in the fucking primary through the general. If you listen to black people, that's what you would have done. But you didn't. So, are you like do you have colonizer brain? Was what he was saying. That's what he was trying to get at. I don't know, but this person just didn't listen to him, I guess.
I define like listening as not just doing whatever people say, but seeking understanding. So like when I talk about how I went to vote for Bernie, I ended up voting for Biden because it was lesser two evils.
Based Vaush, man. Yeah, Vaush is really good about the black supremacy nonsense getting fucking like no-node.
Out there who are like, well, if I voted for Bernie, I don't think that would make a difference. And when I first hear that, I'm like, that's really wild because, you know, like Bernie has sparked the socialist movement in America. Even though he's not a true socialist, he got a lot of people interested in it. He's a very inspiring person. And then when I hear people talk about like why they don't like Bernie, it's usually a lot of black people who grew up really poor, and it's black people who are really mad at Bernie for like signing the bill on super predators, even though he wasn't the only one part of that. But people lost so much hope in this person. And people are like, listen, at the end of the day, whoever we vote in, the structure of that we're voting into is still white supremacist structure. So we need to figure out how to fight the system just by trying to vote for less of the two evils. And I think there's space to have that conversation and still maybe vote for Biden, for example, because he's a lesser two evils. Like we don't have to just have like one or the other. There needs to be space for that conversation to have. Because when I listen to black people, especially black people who grew up poor, are like, I don't like Bernie, even though my interaction is like, wow, I love Bernie, what's wrong? Like when I hear why they don't like Bernie, I'm like, wow, you really have been fucked over by this person, and that makes sense. So maybe we should talk more about how to fight the system by instead of just voting for lesser of two evils. And that conversation can't even take place because the people who are saying vote for lesser of two evils are like, shut the fuck up. And that's an issue.
No, I agree it's important to be able to have that conversation, but what you're talking about right now
Wait, since when?
is what you do when you disagree with the black community. And I guess that's kind of my question, right? Because what happens if I disagree with the community you're telling me to defer to? I see this a lot from people on the left I disagree with, that if I say something they don't like, they tell me to, well, you should listen to black people, you should listen to trans people. But you said earlier, you think it's okay for white people to speak on behalf of black people. I am not speaking on behalf of anyone with any of my positions. When I speak in favor of trans rights, I am not speaking on behalf of trans people, only my own opinions. They could all disagree with me and I'd still say what I say. I don't care if every one of them disagrees with me. I believe what I believe is right, not because they tell me to, but because I've argued it and I've thought about these positions, and I try to arrive at whatever I think I can best defend. So sometimes it's a bit odd to me. It's almost like we prioritize a sort of in-group deference to the opinions of minorities over the ability to actually formulate and defend an argument. And then like you get people who exploit that on the right. Blair White, who when I debated her said she thought it was odd that a cis man would be critiquing her for transphobia, or Candace Owens, who calls everything that breathes of her racist. There are people who exploit this like liberal identity politic tendency in a way that I think makes it really difficult for us to make our arguments.
True.
Yeah, I think the thing is that you need to make sure like the people that you're representing, like let's say like there's like disagreements or something. There are obviously like no one's a monolith. There's people who have all these different views. At first, I think it's still important to try to understand like why are there all these people with different views in these communities. And then secondly, if there's someone where like okay, I'm like really standing.
I don't really like how he let her slime away though. He moved on to a different point. I think he could have drilled the fact that like the black community disagrees with you. What do you do about that? You know? You can't say listen to black people and then just say no, I'm going to do something else. If that's what you mean, then congratulations. What you're talking about is the same as what Vaush is talking about. You just like to virtue signal in a specific way that you can also simultaneously tell white people to shut the fuck up, and plays into the Candace Owens shit that he was talking about and the Blair White shit that he's talking about.
With you, I think you need to really understand like why they're saying what they're saying.
What is black
and then
community?
Run it by them before...
Just fucking black people, I guess. And that's how these people, I don't know, maybe these people define it as like smart black people. I don't fucking know what they define black community as. Sorry, not like Vaush. I'm talking about this person. Usually when typically people refer to any community, it's just like the people entirely.
Before saying more than that. And then if people critique you, for example, try to actually really understand why they're critiquing you instead of just calling them like a white nationalist or something or a segregation.
Well, what if that's
like,
what I
that
think, though?
really different than what's happening right now.
Oh, what if
And
that's
that's
what
what
I
you
think?
think. It's extremely ignorant to start calling people segregationists. Like, you literally said that St. Andrew had to start a race war. It's like, come on, St. Andrew.
I need the
like, just
I need the
don't
context.
say that shit then.
Well,
it was in the same video as a no-name thing. And I found the no-name tweet where he called her a segregationist. The tweet is, why do white people follow my every move? This shit is not for you. And then you were like, well, I'm not a segregationist like this person. I'm just like,
I guess I just
don't
think that
do
stuff
that
is
for
really.
starters. Just don't do that.
I guess I just think
try
that
to
stuff is really weird, especially as a big public figure, you know? To be a really huge public figure, and then for what seems to me like no reason at all. Like, why make it a race thing? Like, you can make it a racism
It
thing.
is a race
No,
thing.
no,
It's already a race thing. What do you mean? Make it a race thing.
It's a racism
It is
thing.
one.
If there's racism, you can call out racism without like being like, oh, this isn't for this racial group, you know? Like, I know I admit I engage in language here sometimes that's a bit irresponsible. I make plenty of jokes about
What is the difference between saying this isn't for this racial group or this isn't for white people? What's the difference? Can you explain that?
Well, I mean, if you want to be super like nuanced about it, you could talk about how there are elements of the black experience that are carried through in her work, and a lot of white people aren't necessarily familiar with them, so they might not be able to pick up on some of the elements of her art. I think not only is that totally defensible, I think it's more understandable. But if you want it to be sort of like a punchy tweet, you know, I think you can just say a lot of people not understanding the black experience in my art. Maybe it's not for you or something. But when you're calling out white people specifically,
why can't you just say it's not for white people? Like, why is that? Why is that okay? Being like, oh, there's people who don't understand this. But this is
because it props up people like top left, dude. That's the reason why. Is it props up fucking morons that have no idea how to fucking put together an argument.
Why is that like a hill to die on? I don't understand.
Because it's racist. I don't think being an oppressor or the oppressed makes that type of behavior any more justifiable morally. Now,
True.
it is more harmful, and I want to be clear on this. It's absolutely more harmful when oppressor groups do this. I'm not denying that. If like a white person,
would it be better if no names said that it's better, like this is for not for most white people, so that wouldn't have been racist. Saying it's not for white people is racist.
I guess the language
we're making?
I guess the language I would prefer is that maybe a lot of white people wouldn't understand this because it's informed by black experience. I mean, white people are
And
expected
so
to
since she didn't say it that way, she's a segregationist.
Well,
she should have worded it just slightly different.
well,
she should word it a little bit different.
you should know this.
But if she worded it that way, she's a segregationist.
Small differences in how you phrase things can be really important when you're talking about race issues. How many white people, like white comedians or politicians or whatever, have said statements that are basically the same, but one of them gets you canceled and one doesn't, you know? Like the difference between saying blacks and black people. That's an incredibly tiny difference in linguistics, but it leads to a massive change in the tone of the sentence. So yeah, I think when it comes to stuff like this, it's okay to critique
or colored people or people of color. This is another good one as well.
Huge public figures on the way in which they convey some of these arguments. Maybe
so
that was just
do you
a
know
bad day.
why? Do you know why that's frustrating? Do you know why? Like if people say like blacks versus black people, do you know why?
Yeah, I get that. The blacks just comes off as kind of fundamentally dehumanizing. It sounds like when you say homosexuals, you know, it comes off like you're putting the demographic characteristic first and foremost, whereas black people is humanizing because, well, people is right there in the term.
So can you maybe like think about like the historical context of like the dehumanization of black people versus like the context of black people talking about white people, or talking about racism? Like, can you understand like how that context makes a difference? And it's a false equivalency to be like, oh, it's the same thing if a white person, you know, says like the blacks, you know, versus if a black person says white people.
So, can
you understand that when people are saying white people, they're talking about an entire system that has created like a white identity,
so,
right?
Well,
Because people are always white.
Well, that is sometimes...
that was created in order to justify racism.
Okay, so then you can not say white people then. But like, if you're talking about, like, this is the natural extension of ACAB we're looking at here. When I say white people, I'm not talking about white people. I'm talking about the systems of white oppression. Cool. Just say systemic racism then. Like, don't say white people, because that's not what you mean. All right? You didn't mean all cops are bastards. You meant the institution of policing is bad. Sorry. You didn't mean white people or shit. What you meant was systemic racism was shit. So just fucking say it. Like, let's not be fucking idiots.
Slavery. You understand that like when you unpack that, it's a different story.
So while that is often the case, that critiques of whiteness, and by the way, when you're making systemic critiques, you say whiteness, not whites. But when you do that, you're talking broadly about the institutional whiteness rather than like white people as a racial group. The problem is not only did she not really come off that way, but additionally, I think it's kind of silly to pretend that there aren't black people who just are kind of shitty to white people in a way that doesn't have a sort of institutional bias behind it. Again, I want to make it clear, the context that you're using to distinguish between those two things affect harm. But in terms of intent, there is nothing about being white that inherently makes you more racist. There are tons of black people who don't want their children intermixing with white children, you know, like they don't want the interracial marriages.
Do you know what? Like, do you know, like, how...
I've had debates with it, dude. It's fucking wild.
Being white came about. Because you're saying that there's, like, nothing inherently racist about being white. Do you know how being white came about?
The race of being white. Whiteness is a... I wish you'd not patronize me.
I
wish you'd not patronize me. I'm a sociology major. I know.
I will just... Weren't you... Okay, just to clear it up. Someone said that you were, like, a criminology major? Is that true, or, like...
I participated in a criminological grad experiment and helped along with it significantly. I'm a sociology major.
So that was yours... So the sociology major and, like, the criminology thing are two separate things?
Yeah, it all bleeds together. That and communications were the three things that I studied in college.
Okay. I'll try not to be patronizing. I'll do My best.
True,
I'll just
Scott.
talk about like what the white race is, because I was asking if you understand what that is, because you were saying that it's not
So
like
we're
inherently
police.
racist.
Well, no, the
So I'm
white-
just gonna like talk about that.
No, I was saying white people aren't inherently racist. There's nothing about being white that makes you inherently racist. I know that whiteness is a historical.
Dude, this is your brain on lefties. Lefty politics, dude. Online lefty politics, right? He's literally saying there's nothing inherently racist about white people. And what she's hearing is there's nothing inherently racist about, like, whiteness or systemic racism. Dude, that's your fucking brain melting on this online lefty bullshit, dude. He's literally giving an incredibly benign take, which is, hey, if your skin is white, that doesn't automatically make you racist. And then she's like, well, the way my brain works is I think that means whiteness, and whiteness is bad because systemic racism bad. Time to say white dude bad. It's like, all right, dude, cool. Dude, you're just not ready, dude. You're just not ready, dude. Go back to the whiteboard, dude. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, the blackboard. Dude, you need to go. I'm sorry, dude. That was on me, dude. It was my bad, dude.
Concept was constructed as a way of culturally and genealogically distinguishing Europeans from other groups of people, which they used as the foundation for epistemologically justifying the existence of racism and slavery. I understand that. I know that. But being white, a white person.
Literally, before there was even.
If I say white, she's gonna get real mad. So
white people, there was just like European people colonizing America. They created the term white to make a distinction between indigenous people. It also justifies slavery, and then that continued on for hundreds of years, where it's like being white was literally the construction of the caste system. So it's like that continued. So historically,
exactly,
yes, being white comes with all these racial issues, and we want to get to the point where we deal with those racial issues, so that way we all really can't be just people.
No, I agree with that. I'm just saying.
Okay, or is that like?
Well, I wasn't gatekeeping any of the things you said behind academic jargon. You don't need to ask me if it's okay. Look, I'm just saying I don't think that being
Am I
racist.
gatekeeping stuff behind academic? This is critical race theory. This is why it's fucked up that it's banned, because you all need to read some critical race theory. Okay, it wouldn't be academic jargon if you all just like listened and read a little bit.
I've read it. I read it extensively before my debate
why
with Charlie
is
Kirk.
it?
I probably know
This
a good
person is so fucking pretentious. If y'all read a little bit, who the fuck does she think she's talking? Did she even know who this is? Like, unironically, did she do any kind of cursory research into who the fuck she is talking to?
about it relative to the average person. But I'm not talking about critical race theory.
Maybe it's not gatekeeping behind academic jargon.
No,
Maybe I'm just talking about racism.
I'm not gatekeeping you. You asked me if I was okay with your
Do
definition.
you think everyone can be racist? Of course everyone can be racist. Yeah, 100%.
Never asked you for one. Look, the only point that I'm making here is that I do not think that white people are like the inherently racist group of people. For example, if you go over to China, it seems like despite not being white, the Chinese people over there are pretty goddamn racist against black people, a group none of them have ever met, well, most of them haven't met in person. Over here in America,
why is that?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the cultural context you're raised in. China's an authoritarian country, and they're also pretty rabidly xenophobic. Over here in America, there are a lot of black people that are racist against white people. I don't think that racism carries the same weight or harm.
A huge part of the world being racist towards black people comes from American media. Indirectly.
Yeah, I know, I'm not a big America stan.
American media made by white people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't think white people are the only group that are racist. I think other people with other races are. So that's the point that I'm making. The reason why I'm being particular about No Name's language is because I think that all of us are.
Wait, is there implication without American media? Like, no group in the world would be racist? Is that her implication? That, like, listen, if Western media didn't exist or wasn't number one, there would be no anti-black racism, like racism solved?
Of racial bias, and on issues that are sensitive like this, it's probably important.
When did she say that people aren't? Like, I don't understand. When did No Name say that that's the only racial biases that are ever had are by white people?
She didn't say that. That was the point I was making. She was just making an inarticulate statement that came off as kind of racially exclusionary to me.
Are her pronouns she, or like did I get their pronouns wrong?
Whose pronouns?
No Names. I just want to make sure I haven't been misgendering that person. Is it?
Yeah, I didn't know what they are. If there are any. Chat, do you know?
Okay, I'll just say No Name from now on, just in case, because I don't want to.
Okay, well, the point that I'm making is we should all be careful when we talk about stuff like this. So when I'd like to talk about like being careful, the language you used in your first video about me was explicitly.
Okay.
Wait, please let me finish.
Sorry. Okay, sorry. I'm going to finish.
The video that you did, the first video that you made on me, explicitly said that colonized people should have the right to choose whether to live with their oppressors. Now, when we're talking about live with, I assume you don't mean literally like room and board. I assume you mean a country, and that is explicitly an endorsement of ethno-nationalism, of deportation or genocide. There's no way to remove a large racial group from a country without genocide. There's just no way around it. You can't like.
That's just not true. Like literally, I just gave examples of people in Africa who. Like in Kenya, for example.
I feel like he's really hurting himself by misusing this term here. I think genocide is not the term unless he's going to run with cultural genocide, which could be true for sure. There isn't too many, black people that seem to listen to country music, so that would be a culture that is no longer as well practiced on American shores. But yeah. Anyway, the. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, that was a bad meme. What he's talking about is ethnic displacement, right? He needs to use, like, that word.
like the way they got colonized people out is they retook the businesses that colonized people took, and because
I
they
think
didn't have
using genocide is fine here. I don't think
Did
so.
I
I think a
only
lot
now
of people.
notice that the eye in the Ahrelevant webcam logo is flickering? That's pretty pog.
Yeah, it's that happened yesterday. We got that going yesterday. It does that, and then on my chat, the 0 flickers as well. The chat border, the 0 flickers. I fucked up my chat, the cropping on my chat though. It looks really fucked on the top, and it really frustrated me. I need to fix it. No, the reason why I'm pushing back against his use of genocide here is because there's going to be a lot of people that get confused. Weirdly enough, this academic seems to be forgetting their academic education, if any. They might have some fraudulent activity going on. Like at this point, dude, all theories are on the table. But anyway, like they seem to be forgetting their academic teachings or scripture, because when he's talking about genocide, it does make sense. I understand if you're being good faith, it makes sense. But she seems to get really, really, really fucking absent-minded as soon as he starts using this word in this context. And I think a lot of people are going to play into the fact, well, you know what? They're not, you know what? When I say displace, I don't mean literally kill all of them. So I mean move them to another country. That's not genocide. And they seem to just conveniently forget that a form of genocide can be, you know, the ethnic displacement of a group of people.
Interest in there, they left. And that's still not separatism because there's still white people in Kenya.
So
but they were able to.
To be specific, when you say that, do you mean all their possessions were seized and they were destitute and poor and had no choice but to leave the country? Because if that's
No,
the
it's
case,
businesses.
well, depending on how much of the business you seize, you can end up reappropriating the entire economic foundation of an ethnic group, which is what we've done to black people plenty of times in this country. So I know it works well at discouraging people from continuing to live in that area. This is fundamentally like I just the idea of using state power to retaliate against a race.
What do you want Kenyans to do? Because like they didn't commit like mass genocide. They like kicked people out by like being like, hey, the stuff that you took from us, we're gonna take back. Now they don't have any power. A lot of people got out. Like that's kind of ideal to me. It's like, what do you want colonized people to do? Like be like, hey, you know what? You guys fucked us over. We're just gonna let you have the power that you still have. Like, what would you do?
So I don't know that much about the specifics of Kenya in this case. Without knowing more, I wouldn't be able to give like a really strong prescriptive solution here. But what you're talking about, if I'm reading you correctly, this might not actually be the case, but it seems like the way of discouraging white people from living there was economic retaliation, seizing properties owned by a given racial group, so that they would have to like leave the country. And I don't necessarily know if
that
that's...
they already took.
But who's they?
That group.
Every individual or that race?
Britain colonized Kenya.
Britain's a country, but possessions were taken from people.
Yeah,
you see the
I was gonna
difference, right?
say. This woman is so fucking racist, dude. This woman has lost the fucking plot. Britain is like, nigga, what? Last I checked, ain't nobody over here named Louis the fucking Fifth, bruh. What? She acts like everybody who's in the fucking Kenya's last name is goddamn some fucking monarch, some fucking direct bloodline fucking shit, dude. We can draw the fucking shit with a red string, dude. What? I don't know what you're talking about, bro. Like, they're coming from Britain. It's like, dude, what? Like, this chick is so fucking racist, dude. I fucking can't, dude.
Right? You're doing the thing again. You're essentializing racial groups as a single homogenous block of people from which all harm done and all harm done to are
fucking, yeah.
Racial
Charles, Prince fucking Charles, dude. Direct descendants, dude. Like, I can't, bro. I fucking can't, dude. This is wild.
Are made up of millions and millions of people. Some of the people there were probably fine anti-racists. Many of them probably weren't. You can't know. These broader attacks saying you're taking it back from the people who took it to you, that's really weird to me, right? Like, at the end of the Civil War...
So why is it weird that literally this place was colonized and the people who were the colonized people like...
It was colonized by the British. Like, what do you mean? And then she's trying to say, well, British have a lot of white people. There's white people there. So let's take this shit from the white people. What some poor ass fucking goddamn, I don't know, fucking Russian dude comes over, starts a fucking business, it turns into an absolute fucking banger, and it gets yoinked because he's getting lumped in with a bunch of British people that don't even have any, like, direct fucking conciliation with the shit that they came over, that their fucking forefathers goddamn came over with. Like, fuck that shit, dude.
Power back, so they took their power back. Like, that's where that ends there. It's not just this arbitrary, like, the economic
power. I don't know
power.
what that means by take your power back. Do we mean specifically target one racial group to reappropriate their resources at the exclusion of others? If that's the case, that seems kind of bad, right? Because you're targeting a racial group for economic reappropriation. After the Civil War ended...
One example that I know of, I'm not an expert on Kenya or anything, but one thing I know of is that people like bought out farms, for example, and then in the most fertile lands, it was owned by British colonialism. And then when Kenyans ended that, they took back that land. That is a specific example.
Sure.
So it's like, I don't see why that's like, I don't see why people taking their land back is just like, we can't even talk about that. And that's
every
kind of my issue, is that there's like all these colonized people dealing with colonialism, and it's messy. There's a lot to critique about it. There's a lot of good things in there, but we need to be able to talk
You know
about
what? Fuck it. If you're gonna do this take, get the fuck out. I'm Native American. I supersede you. Get off my fucking land. Fuck you. Like, I'm just gonna make, dude, we're going full memes. You have no right to talk. This is my land. Get the fuck out of here. All right? Get the fuck out. I want you out too. Get the fuck off my land.
it without literally trying to compare these people to white nationalists.
Every time
That's
you
really
say
all my point.
their
my
land
land!
or taking it back from the colonizers,
She
I
would be
wince, because what you're
outright
doing
if
is you're
she
taking
was
harm done to a
white.
racial
How
group
does she
and assigning
not
it moral
see that?
validity
I don't know. I have no idea.
by addressing them as though they had individually committed the crimes they're associated
Yeah, everyone back to spawn. Yeah, exactly. Like, holy fuck. I don't know. This is fucking cringe. This is so fucking cringe. Holy shit. By the way that you do this in a good manner, she's talking about, well, the oppressors need to be able to take from the oppressed. You don't take it from the people that currently own it. The way that it works is it would be a state debt. Right? So you don't think of it like in America, if we were to do it, pay reparations to black people. It's not white people paying back black people. It's America, the state, paying back black people. That's what it would be, right? So you're trying to look at, like, what ways can we give black people the economic, or as close to what we consider to be economic or whatever kind of, specific reparations you're trying to do. Economic dividends or what have you, direct cash payments, maybe, certain like plots of land that are like currently not owned that the state could purchase or what have you. It's not direct white people. It's not like I get to walk into fucking Timmy's house and go, yo, Timmy, that's a nice $5,000 computer. It's mine now because I'm darker skinned than you. And then he's like crying as I'm taking his fucking 6 consoles, his fucking 9 fucking monitors, his goddamn cat. He's fucking, and I'm fucking repurposing all this shit. He's like, you know what? While you're at it, like all the construction crew is taking all of his shit out of his fucking house. While you're at it, I'll take your fucking door too, Timmy. I'll take your fucking door. You're gonna have to go to goddamn Home Depot and buy a new fucking door, okay? I want you to remember me, okay? Go to fucking Home Depot like a little bitch and buy a new fucking door, all right? You're gonna sit there and you're gonna fucking like that shit. Dude, what the fuck is this shit? I gotta come through and goddamn walk through like it's a fucking Build-A-Bear, pick what I want, and then fucking leave, dude. And it's like, what is this shit?
and I take grievous issue with that.
The
I don't
point
know
is
the
that their
specifics
land
of
is
that opinion.
colonized, and they need to get rid of the colonizers.
Okay, but
At that point, it doesn't matter. Like,
It does
It doesn't
matter.
matter if like they're like the original people who did it. The point is that it's still being colonized. The people who are
absolutely
colonized are still
matters.
dealing with colonialism, and those people need to get the colonists out. So
Do you
it's
think
like
the Native Americans
I'm
should
sure
be
they're
able-
nice people.
Do you think the Native Americans should be able to seize the entirety of the United States of America because this was originally their land?
I honestly think that we should just give the land back to indigenous people, and I bet you
What
they're
is
not
the
going to kick
land?
us all out. What is the land?
You mean
Land's
the
made of
entirety of the United
dirt.
States of America, the largest and most powerful country on earth? You want to get the whole thing. You want to
Yo, I'm down, dude. I'm about to get a fat payday, bro. Listen, there ain't much of us left. That means if you even got a little bit in you, I'm gonna be a millionaire overnight, boys. I am down, dude.
Wait.
I am so
Are you
fucking
telling
down.
me if I take that lady's side I'll be able to get a $5,000 computer for free? I'm brown. Do you think I qualify for at least a $2,500 computer?
We could start with it. We're gonna establish the new. We're gonna establish a new institution in America that's there to judge your melanin levels, and based on that, we'll get you a pay stub to take little Timmy's computer. All right, we'll get you a quote on that one. Okay, I can't with this shit, dude. This shit is wild, bro. This shit is fucking wild, dude. I'm down, dude. I'm gonna be a millionaire, man. I'm cool with it, dude. All right, y'all can get the fuck out, okay? I'm gonna get it while it's hot, dude.
do we still keep our democracy? Do the 330 million people in this country just suddenly now live under however
Finally, I needed a 3080. You're taking Timmy's 3080, dude. He was working at a goddamn 9 to 5. A fucking mechanic, dude. Working a fucking 9 to 5 just to earn that 3080, dude. Should have been born white, you dumb fuck. Hey, your dad should have fucked a black chick, dude. Get fucked, dude.
reservations are governed? How do they organize that? Who gets which pieces of land?
I don't think I'm the person to ask. I think you should ask indigenous people.
I think if I asked them, I think they would kind of laugh at the question because I don't think this is on the table or anyone would take it seriously.
Don't forget.
I think
Elizabeth
indigenous people would
Warren
think
is
it's. I mean, I don't know. I want to speak for them, but I don't think. I don't think they would laugh at
Oh, true.
getting their land back.
Well, land back is.
Like-
I think they would kind of laugh at the question because I don't think this is on the table or anyone would take it seriously.
I think indigenous people would think it's. I mean, I don't know. I want to speak for them, but I don't think.
Form and
I
video,
don't think they would
please
laugh at
watch
getting their
based
land
on this.
back.
Well, land back is
Like,
defensible. Some
I
parts
don't-
of land, the
thanks.
entirety of America. I don't think there are enough indigenous people left in America to even fill the space. I mean, you know, because most of them died. and
Maybe
everything.
not.
They just
But
take
I
everything.
kind of think that's up to indigenous people, though.
Wh-
I don't want
why?
to like misspeak, so I'm not gonna because they were colonized.
Do you think being the victim
Because
of
like we're
oppression
living on
makes you
colonized land because indigenous people are still trying to get much of their land back. And I think a lot of indigenous people don't necessarily want all of their land back either. And again, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's up to these people to determine because it's actually theirs. And I think a lot of indigenous people don't want to do what white
How
people
is it
do. I think a lot of
theirs?
them are like, we just want this certain amount of land back because we've been put on reservations.
out of curiosity, do you support Israel? Because that territory was originally theirs.
Oh!
Israel's a lot more complicated than that.
Oh no! Shot, dude! He did it, dude! He did it, dude! They're from the top rope, dude! From the fucking top rope, dude!
Territory originally being there. Like there's
Is
like
it more complicated, or are you
multi-ethnic
just on a
people
different
living.
end of that particular political question?
There's like it was like a multi-ethnic place of like different people groups living
And
there.
so, wait, and to be fair, so were the Americas. It's not like one tribe ruled America. The tribes that ruled the
True.
Americas before we came
No,
here
there's a bunch of
conquered
different
other
tribes,
tribes
yeah, there's a bunch of different
beforehand.
people.
So does America belong to the tribe that owned it last, or the first tribes that we can ever anthropologically
It's
determine
more
control the territory?
complicated,
These
no Pepe.
tribes were at war with each other.
Whatever tribe I'm a part of, bro, Vaush. Yo, do me a solid, dude. Whatever tribe I'm a part of, bro.
Well, I think
How
like
do we know who
determining like
goes
how to
where?
give lands back would be talking to the people who are still around because a lot of people were wiped out, having conversations of like, hey, this was your land. We want to give it back to you. What does that look like? I don't think it's just something
And why are
where
we
you snap
making
your
them all
fingers
one
and it's
block,
like
right?
genocide.
Like there wasn't one indigenous people
I'm
there.
not. I'm talking about each. I literally said you would talk to the different groups of people who had land because every people had different territories.
Who
I
does-
think it would look something like that, and I'm not really sure what it would look like after that
Who
because
does
again, I think
Germany
the instances of
originally
colonization are very different. I don't know about Germany.
This to me, the idea that land is forever yours.
How do we figure out how colonized people can have their lands back? I'm like, I think that looks like a very different conversation for each group of people who's been colonized, and I think all of them will have very different answers. My point is that they need to be listened to.
Yeah, to be clear,
Does that make sense?
no, I think it's almost incoherent. So you'd make the argument that
It's almost
if you're,
incoherent. That
Yeah,
I'm making the
wait, let
argument
me- wait,
that
let me
colonized
finish,
people
please.
should be able to determine what to do with colonization.
So,
you can't understand
well-
that. It's an incoherence.
Yeah, because we have superseding laws and ethical structures that determine the extent to which anyone can do anything. We even have international law these days. So you have explicitly argued for ethnostates over the course of this discussion. I don't think an oppressed or colonized group has the right to build an ethnostate. I don't think that Saudi Arabia has a right to treat women the way they do just because they're an autonomous nation. I don't think Israel has a right to reclaim its territory just because 4,000 years ago they controlled that land. And I don't think the entirety of the United States of America should be ceded to the shattered, fragmented remains of what was once thousands of tribes that crossed the entire dual continents. I think that subjects on like the discussion of ethics on this is way more complicated. And when you reduce it down to the colonized
That's
get
what
to
I'm
decide.
not. Oh my God, that's what I'm
No,
saying.
no, but your answer is
Bailey,
the
I'll have to
colonized get
watch
to
it.
decide. And I'm saying that is too simplistic. And not only is that more simplistic, that also implicitly
Hold up. Let me take a look at this. Wait, what is this even about? Jesus, this is 360p. Evicted white farmer returns to farm in Zimbabwe. What the fuck is this?
Cure 100.
I'm Australian. There's an apology for Australia. There's a doctor recently who will be king.
Nice. What the fuck is this?
Their support has been amazing, and all the way along. They're always phoning us, when you're coming back, how are things going, so they haven't lost faith at all. We had to really keep the faith up and say, no, we're definitely coming back, and we stuck to it. Even before the change of government, we told them that. And the change of government, of course, was a godsend to us.
Now, we are all happy because the community was gaining from Mr. Smart. So, I would like to say congratulations.
Link is out, link is out, link is out.
Congratulations to what actually has happened. I was very disappointed of how Mr. Smart was chucked off from this place.
Oh, so it's like a dude that ran a farm that happens to be white, had a bunch of people that he worked with, and he came back after getting evicted, and people are cool with it? Is that it?
offends a lot of really bad behavior potentially. Which is why in your video you said that the oppressed have a right to determine whether they would continue to live with their oppressors.
Evicted
And
for
we know
being white? Wait, was he evicted for being white? Was evicted from province, returned to the area. Members say they wanted him back, and his family welcomed back after the community members. Local politicians country intervened to reverse the forceful eviction by heavily armed Zimbabwean riot police back in June. I see.
You said that you didn't just mean buying out properties that were colonized so that the people left of their own volition. We know it doesn't end with that. When state power is turned towards ethnically exclusionary
There's so
behavior.
many different endings, though. Like, if you look at colonized countries in Africa, there's so many different endings. And at the end of the day, I'm glad that those people are being decolonized.
But can't we decolonize without discriminating against another racial or ethnic group?
It's not discrimination if you're literally just trying to take your power back. Discrimination
Wait,
would
it
be
absolutely
oppressing
can
people.
be. Wait, by taking your power back, you mean selectively stripping power from another ethnic group.
The people who colonize you.
Yeah.
The ethnic group that colonize you. That's in that context is a little important, right?
No, it's not. Dude, again, dude, goddamn Todd in his basement, a fucking mechanic by day, a gamer by night. is the person that like oppressed me and enslaved my forefathers did. Amazing. Fucking immaculate. Immaculate. Fucking astute. Excuse me. Astute. Claim by a academic.
No, to this, it functionally isn't. You keep essentially implying that it's okay to engage in retribution. If you've been colonized, you have the right.
It's not retribution. It's literally trying to have your own self-determination. That's what it is.
That's
That's
what
the
white
context of what I'm talking
nationalists
about.
ask for, right there. Self-determination is the dog whistle that they use when talking about ethnostates. This is what
They're
I mean
talking
about
about self-determination in the context of other people being inferior inherently. They're about self-determination in the context of wanting to have their own state because they're looking down on other people.
Haven't you listened to
right?
Richard
People
Spencer?
were oppressed. I've heard of plenty of
Richard Spencer doesn't
people
think
who
the
are
other races
oppressed
are inferior.
need to
He
have
just
their own
thinks that
self-determination. And the reason why they're oppressed is because they don't have their own self-determination. The reason why I'm using that term is because it looks so different in every
That's
country. And I think people need to have the space to talk about that and to figure it out without being called a white nationalist.
So again, I don't have a problem with talking about it. It's just a lot of your language
like you're
comes off.
literally
Wait, can we
doing
please?
it right now.
Wait,
You're like, you're a white
literally,
nationalist.
I'm literally talking about it right now.
Richard
But
Spencer said this and
hold
that.
on,
It's like,
please.
I know.
So when you're saying we have a right to discriminate against this racial group to preserve the self-determination of our people, yeah, that does sound a little white nationalisty. So you'll have to forgive me for
It's
drawing
not to
that.
preserve. It's not just to preserve
Please.
self-determination. Okay, sorry. Go on. Go ahead. Go on.
I do not think that the road to decolonization and the road to ethnic discrimination are necessarily the same roads. I think you can decolonize a place without using it to justify racially exclusionary behavior, which is the reason, which is, by the way, by definition, what black separatism is. If it wasn't black separatism, if it wasn't racially exclusionary, then you could just say, we want to build a democracy and make sure power is equally distributed among the people. But that's not what you're talking about. You're talking about discouraging, and that's a very generous term, by the way, one racial group from continuing to live in your society. And it never just ends, by the way, at, we bought out their territory and they just leave. When a colonizer,
Yes, it does.
when a
This literally happened
when a
in
colonizer
Kenya.
group lives
They got the white people out and they're like, good.
Benefits from him. Yeah, but that I understand that is the claim for more reasonable people, but this person is actively calling him an oppressor just because he's white. Okay? Anybody with an actual understanding of systemic racism does not say everybody that's white is an oppressor. That's a dumb as fuck thing to say. Okay? That's some literal fucking goddamn lib shit. I hate to meme on it, but that's really what it fucking is. White people bad cause white, okay? And like white people need to apologize, white people need to feel guilty type B. That's what that shit is. You're not an oppressor just because you're white. You do benefit from certain things, systems that have existed or currently exist for being white, sure. But that doesn't mean that you should have your shit stripped away. That's what she is saying. Well, listen, if you're white, that means we should be able to take your shit and give it to black people. It's like, what the fuck? Why? Some guy living out of a fucking trailer park in the middle of fucking, Iowa is not going to be somebody that I'm super keen on taking anything away from. If anything, I'd be super concerned with giving them some stuff. Like, that's fucking weird. That's so fucking weird.
People colonize them out and they're like, great.
Do you think it's interesting that you refer to them as white people before you refer to them as colonizers? It speaks to your priorities somewhat.
No. Because white people have, who are the colonizers in this world? Yeah, there are other people who have done it. But look at
Are all the white people
India,
colonizers?
America.
Are all the white people colonizers in Kenya?
White people are part of colonialism.
Wait.
The colonizers are
We're
white
doing
people.
it again. Wait, hold on. So are all the white people in South Africa colonizers?
Gosh, I am so sorry that I misspoke. I meant the white colonizers. I didn't mean to say all white people. My bad. Oops, I guess I'm a racist.
It is an interesting term of phrase. It'd be pretty big.
It is interesting because when she's talking about taking it back from white people, she's not talking about like.
I'll give you all my shit, and then some. All I ask for is that I can sing along with Kendrick Lamar word for word in public.
That's a good meme, dude. Like it's interesting because she says, oh yeah, what I meant was white oppressors, not all white people. But she has never made any kind of prescription, and in fact has done the opposite, as to how we would know which white people we ought to take shit from and which white people we ought not to take shit from, right? She's never made any kind of prescription to that. She just said, yeah, let's just take their shit. She isn't going through some fucking multilateral institutional process and saying, okay, so white person A4, A3, BB, 4, 6, 8, 7, 8, 3, A, B, C. Okay, you have exactly $142,643.53 to pay back to the black state, because that's how much we've determined that you have unfairly gotten in this process. Like, no, you've never done that. You've never made any fucking...
Can I sing along with you? I voted for Biden.
This is why it's just objectively better, by the way, to not go based off of white people and just go based off of the state. You just go, okay, it's the state's debt. If you're a part of the state and you want to be a part of the state, you have to pay the debt. That's the way that it works, okay? If you're a U.S. citizen, too bad. The country that you benefit from owes reparations to a group of people. It's paying it with your tax dollars. That's the fact of the matter. Don't like it, then you can leave, right? It's not a white person debt. It's a state debt. I think that's far more. I think that's better for everyone involved.
It'd be a difference, for example, like how you
It's
refer to
interesting that you
criminality.
don't get why people refer to white people as colonizers when white people are the ones colonizing the world. I think that's interesting.
Generally
that you don't
speaking,
get
the people who are, no, I do get it. I just think it makes you insufferable and sociologically ignorant. Now I'll ask you again. When it comes to South Africa, what do you think of the 6 million white people who live in that country? Do you think the black people, who are by far the majority, have a right to remove the white population?
I personally don't think that would be a good idea, but I do think that
they have a right
it's up to. Yeah, I think so. I think they have a right.
Oh my God.
To discuss what to do about that, and if that means that they have to remove the people, then I think that they would have a right to do that. But I think that would be really harsh, and I think that they're not even going to do that.
Out of curiosity, do you know how many Jews died in the Holocaust?
I think 6 million.
Do you know what Hitler tried to do with them before the Holocaust began?
See, this is what I'm saying. Like
Answer
me
the
being like
question.
people should have the right to self-determination.
Answer the question.
You are literally comparing me to Hitler and Nazis right now.
Answer the question. What did he try to do before he killed them?
I'm not going to answer the question because you literally are proving my point.
He tried to
you
remove
literally
them.
can't. Did Jewish people colonize Germany?
You keep saying that. I don't think it's relevant. Jewish people in Germany.
The context of colonialism
Jewish
is
people,
really relevant.
Jewish
Is why
people,
we're talking about
Jewish
this.
people in
Okay,
Germany.
I'm not saying that people should just like remove anyone. I'm
Jewish
saying that
people in Germany. Jewish people in
colonialism is
Germany
what's
were innocent, regular people, and white people in South Africa are innocent, regular people. The seeds of colonization are a sociological phenomenon that runs back hundreds of years. It's not like there are 6 million people who are born white and thus instantly become colonizers. You are doing exactly what I accuse people like you of doing. You're essentializing racial differences and turning them into grievances that state power can be used to
But the
solve.
issue is that there's like still a power dynamic of white people running South Africa.
Okay, but
how
this
do
is,
people
again,
who are colonized get their power back? Obviously, they should do genocide. But people should be able to have a conversation about what to do to have their own self-determination, to be able to live their lives without colonial oppression, live their lives without racism.
You're speed running all the talking points that I hear from white nationalists. If you want to address the power difference, you can do that without genocide. Removing all the white people is not the only way of fixing that problem. You know that, right? And by the way, I mean, you know what?
Saying, Vaush, oh my God, that is actually what I'm trying to say. There's like different. I'm not talking about saying that people should just commit genocide. I'm saying there's so many different responses to colonization.
You
people
said they would have the right to remove
what to do.
You said they would have the right to remove them.
I think if they decided like, hey, we don't want the people who colonized us to stay here. Let's figure out a way to like have them move or something like that. I think that'd be very harsh. Again, that's something that I would agree with. But I think the people who are colonized should have the self-determination to decide what to do of the people who colonize them.
Okay, so out of curiosity,
also like,
do you think?
I think maybe what he could do here is say, do you think that they have the right to kill them if they don't leave? So like, for instance, if they say, yeah, we're going to kick all of the white people out, and then they go, no, we're not leaving. Do they have the right to kill them? And then I'm hoping, I'm not going to put out too much hope. I'm hoping she won't go full mask off and say, yeah, they have the right to kill them. But if she says no, right, then the next question is going to be why, right? And what mode is she using to come to the determination that it's okay, not okay to kill people? But you know what? Literally removing all of their property, all of their land, and kicking them the fuck out of the country with literally piss to show for it, to restart their entire life that they built, is not that bad. Like, I don't know, dude. I think these are pretty comparable situations, especially in capitalism, dude. Especially in a capitalist world. That's a pretty comparable thing, dude. My opinion, dude.
That Saudi Arabia has a right to throw gay people off rooftops.
Gremlin.
It's their culture. Do they not have a right to self-determine their moral system with regards to
see, like gay people are
Gremlin. Thank you for gifting a sub to Jostle.
oppressed though.
Wait, hold on. No, they're not. Gay people in Saudi Arabia are just a product of Western degeneracy that feeds in through global media. In reality, it's actually a product of white international cultural bias that is infesting the people in Saudi Arabia. So given they're basically a symptom of Western degeneracy, do you think they not have a right to address that in whatever way they think
He is gay. He's allowed to make this argument. Holy shit.
It's culturally effective?
I think that's not really what we're talking about.
Your arguments are used by every tyrannical group around the world.
What I'm talking about is a group of people who are colonized having the self-determination where they can have the same equal amount of power. They can have equality again.
Everyone calls themselves colonized. This is what you don't get. Every oppressor has called themselves oppressed.
Not everyone is colonized, though.
It doesn't
you can
matter.
look at the historical record and determine who's colonized or not.
Saying,
like, people are going to say stuff, and then there's history. There's things that actually happened.
What you're saying is that any state that can justify its sense of persecution, therefore has a right to engage in genocide against ethnic minorities within their borders. Every tyrannical regime does this. No tyrannical regime in history has ever said, yep, we're on top, we're the bad guys, we're just killing for fun. They always construct a narrative of persecution, and whether that narrative is correct or not really doesn't make much of a difference.
Do you think that Africans who are colonized are constructing, they're just like making up a narrative of oppression? Do you think indigenous people are making up a narrative of oppression? Do you think Hawaiians are making up a narrative of oppression? Do you think black people are making up a narrative of oppression?
I literally just said that it's irrelevant, and that while the degree to which it is true doesn't
Why
affect
is
the
the
state
context of
justification.
oppression irrelevant? Why is the context of who has power irrelevant?
Because, and I'll say it once more, and this is why you should really check your racism, my friend, that white people and colonizers aren't the same group. The people who are white in South Africa are regular humans who are dead, who live their lives. They are not physical.
Colonization is still happening. Like, America.
Yes,
is
the
still
concept
colony.
of colonization is happening. You do not then get to attack 6 million ethnic minorities in a country. That's what you're doing. You're taking a sociological problem and making it a race problem, which is, by the way, what conservatives do to black people. You can take a look at the statistics.
I'm not
Hold on.
making
Hold on. Let me finish, please.
Go on.
Conservatives do this all the time. Black on black crime is wildly disproportional in this country. I recognize this as a sociological phenomenon.
What does
but
black on black
conservatives-
crime have to do with
You
it?
just said you'd let me finish. Maybe you'd understand if you'd let me finish. But conservatives essentialize it, saying that it's a black problem. You're doing this with colonization, where colonization is a massive globe-reaching sociological problem that is
And
influenced
I'm
by
saying that
and
colonization
influences
is a
people.
problem
That is influenced
because
by
they're still being colonized.
and influences people. That doesn't mean every individual who's in a country that was colonized by a person of their race makes them a colonizer. Those aren't the same things. You're essentializing to race and
Yeah,
justifying
they're
state
still
crimes.
colonizers, Vaush. They're still colonizers. South Africa is still colonized. America is still being colonized. There's still a colonization issue. For you to say they're not colonizers,
The fact that this human can exist and say these things in public without getting laughed off of every stage that they exist in is truly, I'm going to say it, actual Western degeneracy. There you go. That's just based in true. That's the real Western degeneracy. That is just objectively the case. I am disappointed to be a part of the West after this display.
to act as if everything's fine. It's not.
Do you
There's a
understand
problem
what
with colonization.
sociological problems are? Do you think they're only the individual? Like, do you think that black
I
crime
don't
is
think
just
they're
a bunch
the
of black
only
people?
individual. But do you really think that there's not a colonization issue? Do you really think that people do have their own autonomy?
Wait, wait, what? Hold up.
So
right
this is where I'm starting to wonder if you're educated enough to have this conversation. You keep talking about colonization,
Wow.
the socioeconomic phenomenon, and relating it to the actual lives of the millions of people in that country. Those aren't the same things. The sociological
issue is
phenomenon
there's
of crime
literally
is not the
power
same
in
as
the
the people
hands
in this country.
of the people who colonize them. That's the issue. The power is still in the hands of the people who colonize that
And a lot of
place.
crimes
And
done
that's
by
what
black
we're
people in
talking
the
about
U.S. And a lot of crimes done by black people in the U.S. A massively disproportional amount. So like
The crime
crime.
that black people have done in the U.S. is nothing compared to the slavery and colonization that's happened.
Now,
The
that
fact
has
that you
nothing
think that's comparable, the fact
You
that you
can't
think that's
respond.
comparable says a lot about you.
You can't respond to the direct point. You just whataboutism to the next thing. You don't
What's your
understand the
direct?
relationship.
You whataboutism about black people and crime.
You-
What the
do you
fuck are
understand
you
what
doing?
the relationship was?
Explain the relationship because I'm really curious to think how this is on topic.
You really didn't understand. Okay.
That's what I'm saying. If you can explain how those things connect, then maybe we can continue talking.
The problem I have is that white people colonized South Africa a really long time ago. White people that live today in South Africa are just people. They're not like soldiers in the imperialist army. They're just people. Colonization is a
They're
construct.
just people who are still colonizing South Africa.
So you're doing.
Wait, no, okay. So, just another. I'm not sure if he's gonna get into it, but this is complete bullshit. Okay, she's just genuinely being racist here. I mean, I feel like this is an easy give. A vast majority of white people are not actively colonizing these areas, unless by colonizing what you mean is not voting for socialism. And if so, guess what? You fucking moron. There's a lot of black people that are colonizing America too. You fucking idiot. Okay? So any definition that you have, and I'll make this very clear, any definition that you have that puts white people that are currently living in mass or all of them being colonizers will massively overlap with black people, Asian people, Mexican people, and yes, indigenous people. All of these things will happen. Congratulations, you're a dumb fuck, and you just want to justify white racism.
It again. So what you're saying when you like make this point is that you don't think white people
Like, you don't think that like black people also kind of like like, for a perfect example that Vaush brought up, right? How many black people didn't vote for Bernie Sanders? Right? And it's like, in this argument, well, that's oppressor behavior. Well, then cool. A lot of niggas like oppressing people too. So then lump them in there. Oh, wait, that doesn't fit your narrative? That's a little weird, ain't it? That's a little weird. It becomes sticky when black people do it, huh? It's a little weird. It's almost like you just fucking hate white people. That's what it seems like, dude.
a place in South Africa, which is again one of the reasons why I also think.
Dude, we need to be done with this shit, man. This is some fucking chaotic evil type beat, dude. Like, can we just be done with like eugenics and shit? Can we be done with this fucking nonsense?
I don't think of South Africa as a colonizer.
Can you ever let me finish a point? So when you're saying a white person in South Africa means they're a colonizer, you're essentially saying white people have no place in South Africa, that there's no ethical way for a white person to be in South Africa, and that's blood and soil
Not
talk.
what I'm saying.
That's blood and soil
That's
talk.
really
The
not
reason-
what I'm saying. You know, all this talk about like, oh, you don't understand me. Like, you're responding to a straw man because that's not what I'm saying.
The reason I brought up black crime in the United States is because you're demonstrating an inability to differentiate sociological phenomena from the behavior of people who contribute to it. There is a lot of black on black crime in the US, but I don't consider that to be a black problem inherent to black people who will do it as long as there are black people in our cities. I think it's a sociological phenomenon that interweaves our communities, that affects and is affected by people of all races, much like colonization. The people who are in South Africa today who are white did not not lead the boats of the, what was it, the Dutch, all the way down to the Cape and then
And they're
themselves
still
conquer.
profiting off of colonization.
And there are black people
They may
in
not be
American
people who are
cities
on
that
the
profit
boats,
from gang
but
violence.
they're still profiting off of.
True, based. Run with that. He needs to. This is what I was talking about. He needs to fucking bring this back. That black people profit from several of the things that we would consider to be colonization as well, quote unquote, based on her definition of colonization, which is fucking anything. Anything and everything. As long as white people exist, there's colonization. Okay? So, like, if black people profit from anything, if they profit from anything, just bring it up because apparently it's colonization. I don't know. Unreal.
Of colonizing millions of people.
You still don't understand.
And
There
that's
are black people
structure
in
that
America.
is still existing.
You don't understand. Still, there are black people in America that profit off of gang violence. The drugs that get funneled into the country that they sell, there are plenty of black people who make a living off that. Does that make it a black problem? No, you're making the essentialist argument. Like, I actually do think you're making
He should have made that a question for her. He answered the question himself. He should have made that a question for her, then led her down a line of logic there.
a racially essentialist argument. Like, you're fundamentally tainted by the same type of ideological worldview that, like, 18th century
really
scientists
like,
would have used.
people who are South Africans are there for the most part, who are white South Africans are there for the most part, directly because of colonialism.
What is that?
And
So,
that's still
300 years ago, their dad showed up and they were born 18
Bullshit
generations later, and that means they're a
nonsense.
And they're
colonizer?
still profiting off of colonialism. They're still creating racist structures. Like apartheid ended like
Are there-
what, like
are
a year
there not
after I was
black-
born.
there are black
And you
people.
think that like racism mysteriously just like ended and all the
I
colonialist
never
structures just
said that.
ended? That's
Wait.
what they're still dealing with, and that's why I'm saying that South Africa has to still figure out what to do about colonization.
I never said
Because they do,
racism
it's
just
still there.
ended. You don't seem to be following what I'm talking about. There are black people in South Africa who also profit off of the colonization that took place. It's not like the system that was built exclusively was built to the benefit of white people. There were superstructures formed where the black majority population would find ways to leech wealth from that system too. Colonization is complicated.
But they were like leeching off profits of colonization, off of a system that, for the most part, disproportionately affects black people, and that system is still running today. The
And-
colonization didn't stop, and I
and
don't
now-
think
and
you
now-
get that actually.
and now
I
there are
don't think you
white people-
understand that just because colonization happened a few hundred years ago means that it's over. Means
I
that white
didn't
people
say
still
it was
participate in
over.
because white people are still participating in it. And what I'm saying is that people need to have their own self-determination to figure out how to end it and have their own autonomy.
Can I ask you a direct question? Have I at any point during this conversation said colonization and racism are over in South Africa? Have I said that at any point during this conversation?
You did try to actually say
I
that it
never.
happened, that colonization happened a bit ago, and that I can't somehow break apart the fact that colonization happened and that white people are literally colonizers.
I encourage you
Because
to
what I'm saying
review
is that
this
they're still
VOD.
profiting off of
I
colonization.
encourage you to review this VOD. I have never said anything of the sort. The point that I'm making is that the moral culpability of the act of colonization is not one which is currently being borne by the majority of white South Africans. I'll ask you another direct question. Do you think
But the thing
it's
is, those
possible
people are
for-
not trying to dismantle the powers of
do you think
colonization.
those 6 million people, you know that? Have you talked to them? Or are you making a group generalization about a race again? I'll ask you
I'm
another
sorry.
Yeah, holy shit. What the fuck?
Most of the people are not trying to dismantle the powers of colonization.
I'll ask you another question.
But most black people, by her argumentation, are doing that in America, you fucking dumb fuck. Holy fuck, dude. This is what I mean. Please bring it back around, fucking Vaush, dude. Please, for the love of God, get her to do the, what is it, the meme? Voting against your self-interest meme. Uneducated or uninformed voters, dude. Get her to do the bit, dude. Get her to do the fucking bit, dude. I want to see it so fucking bad, dude.
Do you think it's possible for a white person to live ethically
Low
in South Africa?
information voters. What is it?
Yeah, I already actually
I
said
forget
that.
what it is.
How
You
would
know
they
what
do
I'm
so?
talking about.
I think they can live there ethically by, this is my thoughts on it. I'm not South African, so I don't want to speak for South African people. But I think that if they
Too
live there,
late.
try to
What?
also fight against the racist structures that are still in place, try to fight against colonialism, try to give back to black communities, I think that would be an ethical way to live there.
Okay. So what if they did that and the state tried to deport them anyway? You called
She, to my knowledge, is a proponent of CRT.
them a colonizer, by the way. You've said that the white people in South Africa are a colonizer. You don't know how many of them are already doing that. You have no goddamn idea. But you painted the whole racial group as existing current colonizers anyway, which implicitly suggests they're not capable of living there ethically. Do you think it's odd that you're willing to, by default,
It's about them
condemn
being
an
able to
entire
live
race?
there ethically. It's about who has the power. And right now, the people who have colonized that place have the power. And so how do you dismantle that power?
Do you think you could
That's
do
what
it
it's
without
about.
deporting a race? Do you think that's possible?
I think you could, and that's what I've been saying
then
this whole time.
it's unethical to then do a genocide. If you have the ability to fix the power differential without genocide, but then you do genocide anyway, that's pretty bad, right?
I would say so, yeah. But I also think like a lot of people aren't doing that. I think a lot of people who are figuring out how to get rid of colonialism, it's pretty complicated. Like there's like the Mau Maus in Kenya, for example. They had to like kill a lot of people, but they also were parts of ending British colonialism. Like what I'm saying is
Maybe.
that colonialism is very messy, and there's instances where it's ideal if people can end it peacefully. There's instances where it hasn't been peaceful, and I think it's like, who are you to judge? Because you're not the person who's been colonized. That's what I'm getting
judge.
at.
Yeah, I'll judge. I judge the
Oh, I know
Israelis for
you
how they
will.
treat the Palestinians. Yeah, I do actually think that members of oppressed groups can do morally wrong things. I do believe that.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying
that
is that there are
actually
people,
is.
there are all these different countries who have dealt with colonialism in a multitude of different ways, and sometimes it's been violent, and luckily sometimes it hasn't been. And my point is that people need to determine that. We need to look at each situation and the situation that people are in, because
Okay.
again, we're talking about various different countries.
So
We're
what
not
if it
just
turned
talking
out?
about like monolithic people.
What if people thought within a country that the only way for them to escape colonialism, read racial diversity in their country, was through the wholesale slaughter of the white people who live there? Do you think that would be justified? Like,
Thank you, fucking finally. Holy fucking shit. And then get to the difference that you're having between the two.
if they were like, this is how we're determining our decolonization, would you have a problem with that?
I think it would be pretty messed up, actually. Again, like I'm not a separatist, but I think people should decide what they need to do. And I also think realistically that just would never happen because it's just really impractical on multiple levels.
So
like
you
trying
think it's
to kill every
bad, but you
single
think they have a
person.
right to do it?
I think that it depends what the situation is. Like, if that's the only way to get colonizers out, then okay. But again, we look at people who've been colonized. That's just not what they do. They try to take the power.
Oh my god, dude. We did it, dude. We did it, dude. Somebody, dude. We need. Are we gonna fucking, dude? Are we going full memes, dude? Fucking, dude. Wait. Oh, dude. Are we doing the meme, dude? Are we memeing it up, boys? Are we there, dude? I think we're there, dude. I think we earned it, dude. Holy
try to take the power away by taking their business back, for example.
Dude. Holy shit, dude. Nah, no shot, dude. That's fucking wild, bro. Holy fuck, dude. I'm laughing, but dude, I am cringing so fucking hard, dude. I'm so uncomfortable. I'm very uncomfortable.
Okay, I know how it's normally done because I don't think most of them are as psychotic as the limits of your moral philosophy would allow. But you're saying essentially that you would be okay with it. Like, that's just an okay to you? Like, oh, we killed millions of people because of their race. And I don't necessarily like that, but I think they had a right to do that. Is that what we're going with? What else do you allow in the name of anti-colonialism? What about what Assad does in Syria? Or what about what China does to the Uyghur Muslims? How far do these limits go? What about the...
Okay, we'll say that I don't think it's right to just slaughter a bunch of people. That does seem really...
Okay. We're not completely over the... Yeah, I don't think that it's right to just slaughter people on the basis of their race. You know what? You really made me rethink that position, Vaush. You know what? Yeah, maybe, just maybe you're right on that one.
Fucked up, but I think that people should be able to figure out how to get rid of their colonizers. And there's been times where people, it's turned into a civil war.
What about getting rid of colonization? Wouldn't it be better to talk about the idea rather than talking about first essentializing an entire racial group as agents of a sociological force and then treating them as the enemy that need to be excised? Wouldn't it be better to treat it like what it actually is, a political force?
I don't really understand the difference that you're making.
That's very telling. Okay, I'll put it another way, okay? You know how after the Weimar Republic fell, there was a narrative in Germany that Jews were responsible for the loss of World War I because they had financed foreign banks in the efforts against the fatherland?
Sorry, say that again.
You know how after World War I, there was a rumor in the Weimar Republic, a commonly held narrative, that Jews were responsible in part for Germany's loss because they had financed foreign banks and economically depreciated the country?
I didn't know that.
Well, don't you think it might have been a little bit better if they had said, hey, we should do something about banking and its effect on our country, and not, hey, we should do something about the ethnic group of people we associate with the banking? Like, the former situation seems like, even in the worst case scenario, it leads to much less harm.
Good example.
Like, it's a less
really
destructive road to go down, even if it's fundamentally a delusional belief. Like, isn't that a better road?
I just don't really see why you can't talk about colonization in the context of people who are colonizing them. I don't really see why that would be a better road to go down. Like,
should we talk about crime in relation to the races that do it here in the United States?
Right, but then you look at the context of like the history that like Black people are put in, the kind of environments that like poor Black people have to deal with, and so like when you're talking about,
now we're talking about socioeconomic forces. See, this is what I mean. When it comes to stuff that Black people do, you're willing to say, well, look past the people and look at the sociological forces. But when it's white people, you'll only say, well, I don't see what the problem is with essentializing a sociological force to a racial group.
Correct.
No, I'm saying that the continuation of colonization exists. It exists in these countries where people are still being colonized. People have to figure out how to deal with colonialism.
I think he needs to put it in a simple premise of form. Why should I not be allowed to kick out Black people in order to reduce the crime in our country that Black people disproportionately cause, if I am allowed to kick out white people because of the oppressor, in order to reduce the amount of oppressor shit or oppression inside of my country, right? She's going to make an argument, well, we should kick out an oppressor because of the history of oppression and shit like that. It's like, right, but there's still, hold on, right? Why couldn't I make this argument about the history of the crime with, like, Black people? It's like, well, and then we get into that, and we can get into a whole conversation, and then what will lead it down is this same kind of line of logic, and then what we can get it to is very, very specifically, well, okay, the socioeconomic factors that I'm using for Black people, be used for, like, white people as well. Also, it's not just white people. I hope they get to the point where they address that, like, non-white people also participate in colonizer politics, whatever the fuck colonizer shit that she is describing. I hope they get to that and what to do about the Black people that are like that, because I can guarantee if she gets her way, there's going to be a bunch of people that are like, I'm not too sure. And then it's just going to turn into fascism, where it's like, well, you're not really Black because either you're half white, half Black, or you're not really Black because you're not full Black, or you're not really Black because you had colonizer politics, and that could be literally supporting fucking capitalism or some shit. And then it's the same exact thing as fascism and white supremacy and white nationalism. It's just infighting, and then an implosion. And then, a bunch of people die.
have to figure out, have their own self-determination to figure out what's going to happen.
We have to find out how to deal with crime. That's a responsibility of the American people. How do we deal with
you
crime?
haven't read
Now,
the
here's
right
the
I
question.
think if you
yeah.
redistribute wealth, that would probably help with crime.
Do we talk about crime as though it is a innate product of a given racial group, or do we talk about it as though it's a sociological force? That's a critical distinction right there. And I don't know why you're not willing to afford that shared ability when white people are the ones predominantly responsible for doing something bad elsewhere. Why essentialize it? Why make it all blood and soil?
Because white people are the ones who are colonizing the
Black
world.
people are the ones
Like,
who
why
are
can't
shooting each other in the streets of Detroit.
Right, but in the context of history, Black people, that's happening because of the poverty and situations that's happened through racism.
And in the context
and
of
if you look
history,
at colonialism,
and in the context of history,
colonialism,
the
in
white
that
people,
history are white people colonizing different countries. And so
yeah, well, why did the white people do that?
Because they wanted resources.
No, the actual colonizers were usually poor.
White people didn't colonize people because they didn't want resources.
I'm
like,
sorry,
they just
was
wanted
every
to come to
person
Africa.
was every person who
They thought
went
it
to
was
South
really nice looking, so they just came there.
Hold on.
vacation.
Was every person in South Africa, every white person who went there, the king? No, most of them were poor feudal serfs who joined the military because they got nothing more than a bowl of soup and a loaf of bread every day.
I just
And
don't understand why we're
stuck. Hold on. And in the service of their lord's army, they were sent out on a transoceanic, a journey to enforce the monarchical will of their king, often at pain of death if they failed to. There were many mutinies. There were plenty of people who killed each other because they weren't willing to or want to do the stuff they ended up being forced to do. So actually, the white people who colonized were just products of the sociological context of where they came from. You could do this forever. No group is more inherently evil than any other group.
If
you want it back far enough, everyone.
Property from white dudes and burning down dipshit oppressors that think they can economically repress me at 10 p.m. At this point, they have my fucking blessing.
God damn
Holy
it.
shit.
God damn it.
Does bad things because they were put under circumstances that leads to that. So you're not
Right,
willing to afford that shared
gave
ability.
white people the socioeconomic power to oppress Black people, and white people still participate in that.
And Black people in inner cities kill and menace lots of people with crime.
Right, but this is an issue of who has the power. Like, why do Black people commit crime?
Why
it
did
has
white
to do
people
with
colonize?
the situations of poverty. White people colonized because they wanted more resources, not because they
they?
need more resources.
The king? Who do you think got those resources? Every soul.
Yeah, it's like she acts like every single, like, the British fucking monarchy. She acts like the fucking British goddamn monarchy was a fucking, like, democratic institute. It's like a communist regime where it's like, yo, let's all let's participate in some direct democracy. Every single one of us are gonna vote if we go over here and colonize this area. Like, all of us. That's what we're gonna fucking do. Okay, we're gonna all do this. We're gonna all hold hands. We're gonna all, like, make sure that this is something that we do. Okay.
Who was sent there? You're
people
doing it
are
again.
literally profiting off of that land.
You're doing it again. Whenever we talk about non-white people,
off of that land.
Whenever we're talking
I'm
about
doing the thing where I'm
non-white
saying that the white people who colonized places were profiting off of that land. That's what I'm doing.
The
That's what you're doing on me.
aristocrats? Do you think the serfs that were sent to colonize South Africa got rich? The thousands of people that got sent over on boats, do you think every single one of them became rich? No, a tiny percentage of the bourgeois or the feudal aristocracy got
resources away.
Who's these
from the
people?
who there.
Why do you
the
keep...
people who? What do you mean? How can you not keep track? I'm talking about people who colonized countries.
Who's the
Those
all
people.
of them? Or the bourgeois?
Yeah, all
the
the
aristocracy?
people who colonized the countries. The rich people and the poor people who moved there too are profiting off of colonization.
And black people in the U.S. profit off of crime.
The
black criminals in the U.S. profit off crime. You are incapable, completely incapable, of applying sociological context to white people when you are like non-white people. I do unironically think you're racist.
Okay, I know that you think I'm racist. I already talked about it in my video. But what I don't understand is that you can't admit that people who have colonized countries are profiting off of that. And that's a problem.
I'm sorry. Hey,
I don't understand why you're trying to go hard on me.
Chat, at any point during this convo, have I ever said that colonizers haven't profited from colonization, or is this another point that was made up at some point? Yeah, I didn't think so either. No, the argument I'm making...
If you can understand that, then maybe you can try to understand why people who are colonized still need to attack the system of colonialism.
We're not
the system
talking,
is still there, and that's what I'm getting at.
I'm all for attacking the system.
I don't understand what you're talking about.
I know you don't. I am all for attacking the system of colonialism. I'm against essentializing it as a product of a given racial group. This is a one-to-one comparison that you don't seem to understand.
So much of Europe colonized Africa.
An excellent example of this would be Australia. It's a legit colony of the British Crown, and the vast majority of its citizens were literal convicts. That could be a really good analogy to draw for sure. It could be. I wonder how she would engage with that. Like, literally fucking prisoners.
God, you can't think of that as an issue of a racial group.
I mean, can you
what
think
is this debate about? You got the white dude trying to say that white people should maybe exist, maybe we shouldn't genocide white people, and you got the person in the top left arguing, nah, genocide ain't that bad. And you think I'm joking, but I'm not. You think I am memeing, I am not. I'm not. That is what is happening.
Black crime as like an issue of a racial group here in the U.S.? It is demographically like a racial issue.
It's an issue of racism, which is caused by white people.
Wait, okay,
in those terms, yes.
Hold on. So in that case, even though black people are responsible for a disproportionate amount of violent crime in the U.S., you're willing to say it's not the race, it's the system of racism. But then when it comes when it comes to colonialism, you'll say no. What's wrong with just saying white people are all the colonizers? You say you're fighting colonialism, but you're not. You're just fighting.
This is what you're saying that
you're just fighting white
people.
I honestly don't think you give a fuck about the colonized. I just think that you're enacting some kind of petty revenge fantasy where you know that you've been the victim of racism your whole life, and it gives you like, I don't know what, some satisfaction of reciprocating.
Is that I am saying that
I genuinely think he's right on the tee with this one. I think it is a mentality of trying to get back at white people for some kind of racism, or even not even necessarily racism that they might have experienced themselves, but racism that they feel is like an in-group type of like hurt, right? Where they see like depictions of racism on TV or in media or what have you, and they feel really upset and angry and frustrated at that, so they lash out at white people. I genuinely think that's where a lot of this shit comes from. Yeah, I think this is accurate.
It's a direct one-to-one comparison that you can't.
And you want me to say that it's just like the kings and queens who are colonizers? Is that the issue?
I didn't say it was the kings and queens who were colonizers. You kept saying
So
they
you have an
wanted to
issue,
get
though,
wealthy.
of you saying that white people are colonizers. Can you help me understand?
Okay.
Help me understand why that's the issue.
Do you think black people are criminals?
Can you use a different example?
No,
because
because
I
this is
obviously,
directly one-to-one, and you won't accept it because you are fundamentally unwilling to give the white people the charity you give the non-white people. This is a direct comparison. We have a racial group that is disproportionately responsible for a
there are black
negative
people
thing.
who are criminals, and there are white people who are colonizers.
Yeah.
So like I don't understand the
So
point
maybe
that
we
you're
should.
making here.
Okay. So there are black people who are criminals. Would you be okay with me saying stuff like crime is a black problem in the United States? We need to deal with black people and their crime.
Well,
Do you think?
what's the cause? What is the root cause
Okay, that's
of
good- that's a good question.
cause of colonization?
That's a good
What's the
question.
cause of crime?
So wait, so you ask what is the cause, and then you get to talking about the real issues below the surface level, like racism and economic deprivation and inequality. I agree with that completely. So let's do it again, except in South Africa. Okay, so I could say white people are colonizers. They're colonizing South Africa, and then you could say
What would I say?
you could say the issue is colonization. There are white people, and they are the group of people most responsible for colonization. But not all white people are colonizers. You yourself acknowledge it's possible for a white person to live ethically in South Africa. So maybe we go below the surface level and we talk about the underlying issue, like colonization and the systemic problems that lead to that, which are not, by the way, white people being bad. The systemic problems that led to that, when it happened back in the day, was European colonialism, and before that, an asymmetric distribution of technological development, and before that,
Right.
you go to the root of feudalism itself. There's always broader context, but let's not essentialize it as a race thing.
Right, but the issue is that white people, even if they
always comes back to feudalism.
came to South Africa later on, are still benefiting off of colonialism.
But there are black people who benefit
And
from
then white
crime.
people don't want to give up their power. But black people benefiting from crime is not an example of black people having power. White people gaining from colonialism is an issue of a power imbalance.
Yeah,
Like, who has power? Who has the power in this situation? You think that black people who are committing crime have the power in their lives?
So this to me,
No.
so what you're doing right now, and I feel like we've been running in a circle, and I guess we're not going to agree. What you're doing right now is the essential logic of the white nationalist, which is that when you go past all of the moral arguments, the fundamental thing comes down to this: we have a grievance, and our grievance entitles us to essentialist treatment of other groups. I don't think that the system of ethics fundamentally changes depending on how colonized the people are who we're referring to. You take it all into consideration. The ethical system stays the same, and in my case, I'm being consistent. You attack the issue, not people most associated with the issue based on race. But in your case, you think that a feeling of grievance entitles
I
you
think
to
a
racial
really
essentialism.
good question could be how many white people, or rather, maybe this could be a really good question. What makes white people colonizers? And then she's going to say benefiting from this shit. And then what makes black people not colonizers? Is it just because our ancestors didn't colonize this land? And then we could like get into what exactly they're describing there, because I really do think that a large part of this is bridging the gap, that there's a lot of black people that would fit her definition of colonizer, like a lot.
And unfortunately,
It's not a
this is the
feeling of
logic.
grievance. It's the fact that these people have been colonized, and they should have the right to be able
It's
to
not the
get
feeling
rid
of grievance, it's this grievance that I have. I
of
know.
colonization.
It's this is fundamentally the logic, the language that people engage in. If you want to, I encourage you to go back.
White nationalists talk about how colonized people should be colonized. That's the engagement here.
Yes.
That's what white people
Yes.
are talking about.
White nationalists
White
literally.
nationalists really believe that we should get rid of all the colonizers.
He literally talked about Germans with the Jewish people. He just the issue is it's not actually what happened with Germans and the Jewish people, but that's the way they frame it as. We have a right to our homeland. We have a right to not be taken over, colonized by other groups of people. We have a right to be able to have a place that is called our own, right? That's what these white people talk about. And he even referenced in World War II how the Germans felt like that was happening as a result of Jewish people. Like, yes. This is a pretty big part of even fascism, is the idea that colonization should not be brought about, right? And then she's gonna go, well, that wasn't real colonization. You know what else isn't real fucking colonization? Goddamn George in his fucking basement, a fucking mechanic playing fucking Diablo 2 for just because he wants to relive his glory days isn't fucking colonizing me, dude. That isn't real colonization either. Holy fucking shit. She's like talking about, I don't know, this is fucking weird. Like, I feel like the analogy is fucking perfect there, dude. Like, some random white dude fucking doing a 9-to-5, a fucking accountant or whatever, shit like that, is not fucking trying to colonize me in any kind of meaningful way. Okay? They're just trying to live their fucking life, dude.
That's what white nationalists are.
White nationalists tend to be ultra isolationists who argue that the
George
immigration
is
of black and brown people into the
colonizing
U.S. is a form of colonization pushed on us by the Jewish people who have controlled our banks and our government and our culture. They directly use the language.
I've also heard white nationalists say that South Africa should be colonized because they believe that black people aren't capable of having their own self-determination.
No, every white nationalist that I've ever talked to is.
She's essentially saying if the Germans were right about the Jewish bankers and shit, the Holocaust would have been justified. Under her system, yeah. Under her system, she would be. Well, not necessarily, because she backpedaled on the idea that you can't, like, kill mass groups of people. But this is why, like, I need Vaush. I would really want Vaush to ask a question here. If the colonized can't kick out the colonizers, and that's what they want to do, because she said you have the right to be able to kick out an entire ethnicity of people based on your arbitrary definition of colonizer. So if we agree with this and we can kick out all white people, what if they say no? What do we do? I want Vaush to ask that question. What if all the white people say no? What if they just sit in their fucking houses? What do you do? What do you do to them?
And said Africa for Africans, Europe and America for white people.
Because I'm starting to think that, you know, oh God, I don't want to get too bad with the memes, dude, but we might go back to listening to some World War II bangers if this question gets asked, because I'm having a feeling she's going to lean a certain way on that one.
So, if anything, they would agree with you on that, which is why Marcus Garvey liked the KKK, by the way.
I haven't actually heard white nationalists say that. And also, Marcus Garvey didn't like the KKK. Marcus Garvey talked to the KKK and said, hey, you don't want us here, we don't want to be here. And that's not the same thing.
No, liked, and we both want to kick black people out of the U.S. It seems like at least
I think that's not actually the framing of what happened. What happened is Marcus Garvey was like, he's a separatist, again, which I don't believe in, but Marcus Garvey was like, hey, we don't want to be here anymore because living with white people is really hard. You don't want us to be here, so help us get out.
Did you know I recently argued with some neo-Nazis who said that, did they actually call out Marcus Garvey? They actually said black separatists were the truest representations of black people. I was talking with Eric Streicher, I think, and James Alsop, formerly a large Nazi YouTuber, and they were arguing that the true representatives of black interest were black separatists because they share the argument that white and black people were culturally distinct and not capable of living together. So the arguments that white nationalists and black separatists use are identical. The conspiracy theories vary, and the aggrieved and the victors vary. Of course, we're talking about different groups, but the logic is the same. Like the Black Hammers.
There's definitely like a lot of black separatists who, again, as we already said, are anti-Semitic, homophobic, and they definitely do fall along those lines. There's also black separatists who just want to be away from people who oppress them.
Yeah, but
stop. She's doing this really convenient optical thing where she says, be away from the people that oppress them. So what you're saying is white people. You want black people to be away from white people. I wonder where I've heard this before. I wonder where I've heard this before. Because if you want to take a more nuanced take of this, like they want to be away from the people that oppress them, it's like, okay, we could look at like, you know, some people that like genuinely we could consider as some form of an oppressive group. We could talk about fascists, actual like, you know, Proud Boys or some shit like that. We could talk about those groups of people and how black people might have an actual right to be like pushing those people out of their communities and being like, hey, this guy is actively trying to like burn our fucking businesses down, get him the fuck out of this community, right? That's an actual thing we could talk about. Not, hey, you're white, so get out of my community, right? This is not something worth talking about. And the other example that I brought up as well, like North Koreans with Kim Jong-un. Like if we want to talk about like getting rid of oppressors, we could start talking about things like that, right? Those are real things, tangible things that we could talk about, not just some random dude that happens to be unfortunately born white.
Like, what is that? Like, people can't talk about having their own space, or even like talking about how like things are divided by racial lines without you calling them segregationists. I think that's really unfair because there actually are people who are segregationists. That's kind of like the whole point of the state. Like I think maybe at the end of the day we can agree that like, okay, mass genocide isn't good. How about that? Like we agree on that. And I think that like where we disagree is there are. No, I'm saying that like the thing I'm defending is saying that when people are colonized, sometimes there's violence, sometimes there's civil war. Well, and I'm saying like it has to happen to be colonized.
Wait, we're not talking. You didn't say sometimes there's violence. You said no. I saw your video.
You said you're like, what happened with Hitler? He killed 6 million people. Do you think it'd be right to just kill 6 million people? And I was like, you know what? I actually don't think that's right. But the thing that I'm defending is that there are people who don't want to live with people who oppress them.
And then she's recharacterizing this. She said very specifically, yeah, I think they have a right to do that. And then once he appealed to the ridiculousness of the statement, she walked it back. Okay, and previously, right? He was talking about the ability. He asked her a question in regards to, do you have a right to be able to kick these people out? And she said yes. She hasn't been talking about, well, you know what? All I've been saying is that sometimes there's violence. No, she says that's violence is justified if they want to just kick them out. That's what it is.
very different. We look at all these different countries that have been colonized. Again, some people have done that peacefully, and that's great. They're able to end colonialism
nothing
peacefully.
against
And then other people, there were civil wars. You know what I'm saying? And like people need to have space to figure it out.
I
especially colonized people.
understand
Very different,
decolonization
very
to be a
messy.
bloody
And that's the point
project.
that I'm defending.
Well, no, the point that you made was that oppressed people have a right to physically excise the race they associate with their oppressors if they seize control of a state, which is a form of genocide. Undeniably, a mass deportation of people, at the very least, counts as a cultural genocide. UN definitions vary, which I just don't think is defensible.
Is that people should have the right to determine if they want to live with people who colonize them or not.
That's what I just said.
There's like a lot of different ways that looks like. There's a lot of different ways that looks like. And I think I probably will draw the line at genocide. How about that?
Well,
I think
mass
genocide is
deportation.
wrong, but I think there's like a lot of different ways that can look like besides like mass deportation. Like I keep on giving you like a couple of different examples, and it's like those are the examples that I'm talking about.
I know, it's just you already defended it though. You are in the context of South Africa where there are 6 million.
Well, I'm not defending genocide over here. I'm like, yeah, you know what, that is a lot.
You said you defended their right to live without their colonizers, which means mass deportation at the least violent, which means genocide.
No, again, I said that Kenya got rid of colonization by taking.
Yeah, she did. She's trying it right. She defended the point like 9 times. This is like fucking 10K, dude. Like she's defended the point like 9 different occasions that people ought to have the right to kick out an entire group of people based on their race because they believe that they're colonizers.
Back their farms, for example, they took back their businesses to the point where the people colonized and didn't have any power, so they left.
The whole race left?
Like that's one example.
How many of them were there?
A lot of them left. It's a separatist place. I don't know. Let's look up how many people colonized Kenya. Probably a lot.
Wikipedia isn't helping me out that much with this one. The whole history of Kenya, huh? Somebody in chat just said 200 million. That seems unlikely to me. I don't know the particulars about Kenya. I'm only saying that genocide is probably pretty bad. And I guess
can agree on that.
stand by that point.
Like,
yeah, but
that's
you still
really-
do so much racial centralization.
Again, you're like attacking a straw man. It's like, great, we can all agree that genocide is bad. What I'm talking about is that when people decolonize themselves, it looks like a lot of different things. And people have to have the ability to have a conversation, the space to have a conversation. And there's also an issue. Anyone talks about like racialized issues, like with No Name, for example, No Name will just be like, this tweet isn't for you. While talking to white people, like, oh, you're a segregationist. So it's like a really heavy
it is a
You're
segregationist
just like talking about all these terms. You know what I'm saying?
I think I can defend the terms that I use.
Say Andrew of wanting to have a race war.
I would
Do
need
you see
to
what I'm
see the
saying?
context of
It's like that is such an extreme. It's in your same video. So you talk about No Name in one video, and then the next video, say Andrew comes on, where you and say Andrew talk about No Name, say Andrew's, and say Andrew's tweet. It's in that video. It's like you're throwing out all these terms. So it's like, again, okay, genocide's wrong, but you need to understand like that there's the way that people decolonize themselves looks really different. That there are wars even,
so hold
that
on.
needs to be okay.
We're moving off these points so far and so fast. You're like backpedaling like crazy. We need to address a couple of fundamental.
I'm not really backpedaling. I'm trying to establish the same because you're accusing me of saying that I'm cool with genocide, and that's never claimed that.
The video. So over the, I don't even need to cite the video. In the course of this conversation, you have explicitly said you would be okay with the deportation of an ethnic minority if they were responsible for colonizing the country. You said that in this convo, so I don't even need to cite anything else. Maybe you moved off that point, in which case, congratulations. You also keep essentializing behavior of white people as a group to white people as individuals, where broader socioeconomic problems that are disproportionately exhibited by white people then become white problems, which again, you would not tolerate if I talked about crime and black people in that way, for good reason, because it's unhelpful and it's racist.
Just those two things. I'm okay with people deporting people who have colonized them in the context of colonialism. I'm okay with people who are colonized being like, we need to get rid of the people who have colonized us.
Yeah, so, right.
Yeah, okay.
Please, Vaush, just ask her, what happens if they don't leave? Please, this is a perfect moment. What happens if they don't leave? What happens if they sit there and they do not leave? What can you do? All right? I just want to hear it.
And
okay,
I think,
great. And then also like essentializing things. Like I don't think you understand that like in the creation of the white identity, like that was created as a racist structure. People who profit off of
this person's
but again,
just
like
a
I already
racist.
said, the white identity was created because it didn't used to exist. It was created in the early 1600s to justify colonization and slavery, and then continued to hoard resources for people who were enslaved and colonized, or anyone who wasn't considered white. So there's a way where white people are still profiting off of this racist structure. So when I'm saying that, I'm not actually being racist. I'm talking about history here.
Okay, so no, you're not. The fact that historical racism leads to continued socioeconomic benefits for white people, that statement does not necessarily follow into, I think it's okay to morally impugn an entire race of people because they disproportionately do this thing that I don't like. I think that's morally abhorrent. I think that's racist.
I agree. That's not what I'm talking about.
Okay, wait, please, we're going in circles. Look,
specifically colonial. I'm not saying like, oh, like I just don't like them. They do things I don't like, so let's just get rid of them. I'm talking about places that have been colonized.
Okay, being
able to get rid of people who colonize them.
Okay, I don't know if we're going to find any more agreement on this particular subject. The only thing that I guess bugs me at the end of this is that I think that not only is your logic almost identical to a lot of white nationalists that I've talked to, you're actually more masked off than they're willing to be. You know, like you have receded now.
That is really fucking true. It is really. It really shows what we allow to be acceptable speech in the left, that she has overtly said at one point in this that she is okay with the mass killings of people. She took it back pretty quickly after, but this is really why I wish Vaush asked her the question, maybe he does, what happens if they don't leave? Because I have a feeling that we're going to be listening to some World War II marching songs if that question gets asked, okay? I don't think she's going to go, well, okay, if they don't leave, that's fine, and we just go about our day. I'm very, very willing to believe that isn't the case.
talking about racism here,
Well,
and
so
you
are,
don't
so are
seem
they.
to understand.
So
That. You seem to think that when people talk about colonialism and say that, hey, we need to let the people who colonize figure out what to do about it.
defend her after this. So we need to look, because Joe Lewis apparently had a conversation regarding this with Hans. I have that queued up, and so we're going to take a look at that. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to speed run this and then get to the Joe Lewis talk.
People colonize them and be able to live without being colonized. You think that's the same thing as white nationalism. You're doing it right now. You can't concede that there's more nuance here than just it being white nationalism.
So if it
and
leads
that's my problem.
if it leads to racial essentialism that then leads to the creation of an ethno-state, then yeah, I would say that's essentially white nationalism, except obviously it's not for white people. I mean, the term black nationalism, inarticulate as it may be, black separatism, whatever you want to go with. Look, the issue that I have is when I talk to white nationalists, they hide their intentions a lot better than you seem to have. They're usually
I don't have anything to hide.
please.
I don't have anything
They
to hide.
cloak their talking points in metaphor and dog whistle. Usually they talk about how they don't have a problem with any of the races. They don't think anyone is worse or better than the others. They just think that we have different cultures. But your obsequious insistence on racial essentialization for thee but not for me is really, I mean, God, I just want to ask, do you think it's possible that you may have internalized some of the logic of racism, but you might be just reversing it a little bit?
Do you think it's possible that you might actually be misunderstanding what I'm saying? Because I'm saying that white people still benefit off of a structure, and that's a problem.
I agree with that,
and
but I don't think that means you can just racially
deal with.
Yeah, but you can deal with it without racially essentializing white people. It's okay to attack the structure, not races of people.
So I think for a lot of countries, attacking the structure of colonialism means dealing with the white people who colonized it.
So, okay, the problem is, this is also what modern Nazis say about Jews in America. Did you know that a lot of our political structure...
Wait, hold on. Is that unfair to say?
Did you know
that unfair to say that the white people who colonized those countries need to be decolonized?
Okay, hold on.
Is that so wild?
So, no, the problem is this person's trying rhetorical strategies. I just firmly believe that this person's a moron, and any institution that actually gave this person a degree either should never be respected ever again, or it was simply fraudulent, and like they need to come out and state that it was fraudulent. Those are the two realities that exist, and I'm very confident in those two realities to exist. This individual, I'm sorry, excuse me, as long as it's within any kind of poli-sci field, maybe she could be a fucking STEM major, and that would make a little bit more sense. Mathematics degree isn't really going to reflect like any kind of position on this. I mean, maybe it depends on the type of math, and maybe it's some kind of a statistical thing, maybe. But, yeah. So, yeah, if it's anything to do with poli-sci. But she's trying a rhetorical strategy where she's saying, well, Vaush doesn't believe we can do anything in regards to critiquing like any kind of colonizer-esque language or structure or anything like that, when the point of contention is whether or not we can literally remove an entire race of people because we feel like they're colonizers. That's the point of contention. Not, obviously, Vaush thinks that you should be able to do things because of systemic racism and the structures that exist because of that. And even people that are promoting systemic racism, i.e., laughing them off of platforms, people like this who promote systemic racism, just for some reason they think that they don't, and what have you, right? Like, yeah, of course he thinks that you can. She's framing it in a way that he doesn't, because she wants to fucking shoehorn in this idea, well, yeah, you know what, and maybe if you kill a couple of people along the way, it ain't too bad.
To say that I'm a white nationalist right now.
Okay, so this is the logic that every group of people I argue against uses.
Definitely mathematics. She's good at dividing people. That's a good meme.
The Nazis will say, is it so ridiculous for me to point out disproportionate Jewish representation in media and politics, which, by the way, is real. There are a lot of them there for complicated reasons, but you don't seem to care.
Why are they doing that, Vaush? They're doing that because they have an ignorant racism towards Jewish people. Why are colonized people trying to figure out how to decolonize themselves?
Okay, you need to, hold on.
Different contexts.
So while Jewish people in America are certainly an oppressed minority in many, many respects, there are elements of disproportionate control that they enjoy. So looking at that, Nazis will say, well, is it so wrong for us to want to free ourselves from the colonizing influence of this ethnic group with an oppressive and colonial set of intentions for our people? This is the logic they all use, and it all stems, all of it, 100% from what you're doing and I don't. The essentialization of a racial group. It's the essentialization. I am not asking you to be I'm not asking you to be pro-colonization. I'm asking you to not essentialize racial groups.
White nationalists are saying that Jewish people are colonizing people because
something else that you could ask this woman is the little Timmy question. Do you think white people have a right to push back against the idea of a minority inside of their country taking all of their land, their property, their jobs, and in some cases taking them away from their families in order to act out some kind of racial retribution on them? Do you think that they have a right to be able to defend themselves against that? Or do you think that, like, maybe they could view you as a colonizer or somebody who is trying to actively remove them from a position that they could reasonably have in here? Do you think that that's something that they could do? And if her answer is no, then thank God she said this earlier, because she would have ended herself. Okay, you could say, what if indigenous people do this to black people? Can I just take all your land and say you don't have a right to be here? And if her answer is yes, then congratulations. You've made a complete, unbelievable, like, fantasy world that just doesn't meet merit for shit. Because she's constantly said, I don't think people will do this. Well, what if they do? Right? What if all of the indigenous people go, black people, we don't want you here. You're colonizers too. Get the fuck off of our property. And they take away her fucking Rode pop filter and her fucking microphone and that goddamn cringy as fuck desk with the books on it, right? In her fucking background. And God forbid, God forbid, God willing, they take away her fucking degree, okay? All of these things, they take away from her. I wonder how she would respond to that. She'd probably just have to go with some absolutely ludicrous idea. That's just, yeah.
They own stuff. Is that what's going on?
I'm telling you, your sociological analysis would be
colonizing African countries.
Your sociological analysis would be better if you stopped essentializing socioeconomic problems to racial groups, because that is the logic every group that we hate does.
Colonizers are white. So you'd prefer it if I said that we need to deal with the white people who are colonizing them, but not all white people are colonizers. So that's what you want me to say.
Just talk about dealing with colonization, because it's not just white people who benefit from it either. There are black people in South Africa who benefit from colonization. There are Native Americans here today in America that benefit from their oppression.
Benefiting from colonialism. That structure was literally created to benefit the white people who are colonizing it. It's not out of character. It's not a misrepresentation to say that this is an issue of white people colonizing people. And I can't believe this whole debate was about that. What the fuck?
So again,
what the fuck, Vaush?
Do you think I'm going to try this?
That's the point that you're harping on.
I'm going to try this one more time.
This is why we've been talking for like an hour.
I'm going to try this one more time. Do you think crime in America is a black problem?
Maybe you should try something else.
You're not even going to engage.
I tried to engage with it several times, and I already think that your point is irrelevant right here. So if you want to try to make it clear, or if you want to use a different example, I'll listen to that. Okay. But again, historically, colonization is done by white people, and historically, to this day, they're still benefiting off of it. So it's not wrong for me to say that colonization is an issue of white people benefiting off of colonial structures.
So I'll just end with this, I guess, because I don't know how much farther we're capable of going. Your sociological analysis would get you laughed out of any undergraduate degree, and I can say that with the absolute confidence of a person who didn't get laughed out of my classes. Your analysis is so vanishingly shallow that it leaves out any of the nuances that allow us to meaningfully critique these systems. The fact that not all white people participated in colonization willingly, or knew what they were doing, or that people born to those people aren't the same as people who initially engaged in it, or that they were doing it for benefit of power structures that they were victims of, or any of a million other things. These are all nuances that your desire to essentialize white people completely destroy. I think that you probably are a bit racist, and I think it's a bad look, and I think you would be a much better anti-colonialist if you address those problems, because this is genuinely bad. Wait, did you mute yourself, or are you talking to your own audience? Well, I guess that's about as clean of a finisher as we're getting.
It was a glitch. Okay.
Wait, I didn't mute her. I didn't touch anything. I didn't mute. I know I get accused of. Wait, why don't you raise your hands? I didn't mute. What do you mean? Can you hear me?
Boomers, dude. Oh, it's muted. It's muted. I don't know what's going on. It seems to be something broken.
Okay, you can hear me, but I can't.
I can't quite hear you.
Would you like me to call again? Okay, I'll just do that then. Hello?
That's good old-fashioned colonizer audio for you.
Oh my god. Okay, hello. All right.
Hi.
Somebody press something. I didn't have my hand on the mouse. I get accused of.
I don't know what happens.
Okay, look. Can we just be anti-colonialist without the fucking crazy racial essentialism, if at all possible?
It's not. I just don't think it's crazy to say that there's an issue of colonialism with white people.
But like, okay, do you think there's an issue with crime with black people?
Why?
What do you think?
I think there's an issue with crime with black people in the sense that black people have been put in really shitty situations because of racism. It's like I can understand that like the white people who colonized people, it happened because they came from places where kings and queens were trying to profit off of colonialism, and that those people are kind of just puppets in that instance. And at the same time, there's white people, those very white people are still benefiting off of colonialism, and that's continued to this day, and that's still a problem.
I feel like
but there's still black people that there are black people that are benefiting from their position inside of society to be able to commit those crimes. What? But that doesn't mean, like, I want to hear how the white dude, again, living out of a fucking trailer park, is, like, massively benefiting from this, like, colonial structure compared to, like, the, like, black dude that's, like, selling tons of fucking drugs, like, peddling a bunch of shit, getting fat cash earlier in his fucking life. I don't know if these people realize, but selling drugs is really fucking profitable if you do it right. Like, don't do it, but it's a really fucking profitable thing that you can fucking do. You can make a lot of fucking money really fucking fast, right? Don't do it. It's fucking cringe, but you can make quite a bit of fucking money, right? It's not like you're making pennies and dimes, dude. You're selling dime bags, but you're not making dimes, okay? Like I don't know. But they act like that dude in fucking Utah living out of a fucking trailer is like scoring big off of the colonizer points when everybody just calls him white trash. Like, I don't know, dude. Cool.
Philosophy just boils down to if white people are at fault, go ham, and if non-white people are at fault, roll back to sociological explanations until white people are at fault, you know?
That's
what
really
if we
not what it is.
talk
That's what you're
Most
saying. I'm talking
drug
about colonialism.
dealers are making less than they do at McDonald's, though. 100%. I'm not saying that it's a viable thing that people should do or what have you. The median wages are very bad for that because there isn't very many people that are selling in mass. But I'm stating in reference to how profitable it can be.
Colonialism is horrible. It's like literally taking the power away from people. It's taking their land away. It's destroying their culture. It's trying to make them assimilate into a whiter culture. And that's the problem. Colonialism is horrible. It destroys like thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years.
It's
of
most
history.
likely racist. Yeah, I don't fucking care, Dio. I mean, some dude living who's fucking some white dude who's like fucking racist and shit and is like, you know, goddamn throwing up, you know, conservative flags or sorry, not conservative, the Confederate flags and shit like that, dude. I like on God, I'll take that shit any day over somebody that's like trying to justify within my movement that literal like anti-white racism that makes Nazis unironically have a point. Like when I have to cede, if this person was to be the popular opinion on the left, Nazis going, hey, guess what? You guys are white. You don't like your property getting taken away from you. Maybe we shouldn't allow black people to gain power. I wouldn't be able to say anything about that. My argument against the little Timmy defense right now is black people aren't fucking cringe as fuck like this woman is. That's my argument. We're not gonna fucking gain a little bit of fucking power, a little bit of fucking systemic power, and then fucking just say, oh, white people gone, let's get rid of them or let's genocide them. But this woman is like, let's reconsider that idea. I don't know, maybe, right? How am I supposed to tell you as a white person, hey, maybe you should be cool with black people getting power if this woman is like leading the charge? Hey, listen, as soon as we get power, you white people, we're taking all your shit. Like, no, of course, you have every right to fight against that fucking shit, dude. Like, I'm like, at that point, I'm literally just saying, hey, can you give me your stuff? All of it. And get the fuck out of my country. No, of course you have a right to be like, yeah, that shit's cringe. So, like, no, I don't want to give fascists a W by this woman propagating her ideas.
So it's kind of a big deal. And so what I'm saying is that people who are colonized need to figure out how to have their own self-determination again, because that's been taken
none
away.
of this has
And it
anything
looks
to do with
different for
racial
different countries.
essentialization. Okay, I know. You can keep running back to the colonization bad thing. It just doesn't mean much because I completely agree with you and I've never disagreed with that point. I'm saying you're a
No,
worse
you're just mad because I'm
anti-colonialist.
saying that I'm saying that white people are colonists, and you want me to say that like the white people who are colonists are
No,
colonists.
I'm just
Is
okay.
that
Well,
not what's going on?
no, it's fine. You can
This
phrase
is a
this as
pointless
like
conversation.
I don't know.
Yeah, I just want him to ask a couple key questions, dude. I really wish Vaush just asked, do you think white people have a right to be upset and or fight back, meaning through systemic power, blocking the systemic growth of black people's power and influence inside of the country, or what have you, if the leading narrative is, and they believe that there is significant fervor for her own ideology? I want to hear what she says. Because what she's saying is white people literally have to look, see her ideology, say, okay, I am perfectly fine with people like her going about and saying, I need to give all of my worldly possessions over to black people, then get evicted from my fucking country. And I'm okay with that. That is the biggest ask, the wildest, dumbest thing to ever ask of another human being ever. I would never expect this out of anybody, ever, okay? This is actual colonizer shit. Okay? That, hey, you know what? You guys are going to sit here. You're going to give me all of your stuff, your property, everything that you own, and you're going to get kicked the fuck out. I don't care if you have any money. Get the fuck out of my country. Okay? That is real colonizer shit. I'm not trying to turn into some 2.0 Andy, we can do it better too type beat. All right? I'm not going to do that shit. Okay? And I can't argue against white people being afraid of that happening if this is the leading narrative. Thank God it isn't right now, and I'll fight against it to the best of my fucking ability. But, like, dude, this is some real, like, you're gonna start a race war nonsense that I don't want to be a part of, dude. I just want to be black and play video games, dude. Can I just play video games, dude? Can I just, look, without, like, the racism be pushed at by both sides, man? I just want to play some fucking video games, dude.
Whitey upset that he learns white people did bad things or whatever. I just think that your analysis is really, really shallow and it's hurting your ability to understand these problems, you know?
Well, I could say the same for you.
But my,
Maybe you should
my
actually
argument is we
look
shouldn't
around a little
essentialize. That's
Or maybe Tanzania.
Fucking now it's white people's turn to sell drugs. Nice meme. Fido, thank you for gifting a sub to Candy Jones.
What am I essentializing though? What am I essentializing when I say that colonialism is an issue of white people colonizing things? This isn't to say that other people can't
Give
colonize
us
people.
the hot take. Are white people the most oppressed group online? No, I don't think so. I think it's gamers. No, I don't know what would be the most oppressed group online
Sure,
if
100.
I had to.
Please play video games, favorite gamer gaming.
If we it depends. Are we talking like on Twitter or like what have you? If we're talking about on Twitter specifically, what group would probably maybe QAnoners? Probably. They are considered subhuman in what have you. Maybe a cop. Honestly. I think often the way that Twitter treats cops is probably going to be worse than the other shit. Women, I don't think women on Twitter are like fucking crucified that much. If we're talking about like in general society, that's different. But like Twitter, nah, I think it's pretty decent on Twitter. If you want to talk about Twitch, then maybe you could have an argument there for women being, one of the most oppressed groups for sure, because Jesus Christ, some of the shit that you see there. I don't know.
I mean, there's been a colonization from multiple different people, but I think when you're looking at the global stage of the main issues of colonialism that we're dealing with today, so much of it is from Europeans.
And hey, there are other bad things that are disproportionately done by other racial groups too. But thankfully, I like to look underneath the hood and think about the broader socioeconomic issue.
Yeah, I'm not saying that there's not. I just understand why you're upset.
Hold on,
saying
my cat is
like...
mad. Hold on, my cat is the actual upset. Hey, Jen, go, be free, go. Run. All right, we freed the. Okay, yeah, So how many brownie points did we get?
You got one because earlier you were talking about how in a different video you were saying that you platformed a creator 1/30th of your size. So you got a brownie point for that.
Do you feel platformed right now?
Not much else, sadly.
Oh. Well, I guess we'll both fight colonialism in our own ways,
I guess so.
All right, well, do you want to shout yourself out?
Not really. There were some things that you said in the last video. Can I ask about, or are you just ready to move on?
Oh, no, you can hit it up. Yeah, okay, yeah, let's run it through.
Okay, so I guess we're moving on from that point. There's like a few things in my video that you had said, or when you were reacting to the last one. One thing that you said was that it was like Weasley that I defined listening as understanding.
I can't tell. Is that a meme? Hold on. I was looking at that fucking tweet. Is that tweet a meme? He did tweet about you? I don't know. Is that tweet a meme? I can't tell.
I don't understand why you thought it was Weasley because I said this in my first video, but you had skipped that part. Yeah, I just don't really know why that's Weasley.
I think I don't remember the specific context, but I think a lot of people say like listen to X group, and what they actually mean is dogmatically agree with X group.
Right,
God knows
you have
that's
to make sure to
happening
make the distinction in like the first video, and then you skipped it. So it's like, yeah,
well,
that's not what I was saying.
It's a good video. I apologize for missing that part.
Okay. The next thing is, so I didn't say that all ridiculing black people. Oh yeah. So another thing is that you say that all ridiculing of black people is racist, and I made sure to say that a lot of times when white people ridicule black people, it is racist. But I didn't say that like you can't just ever like make a joke about black people. I think it probably is racist, but I'm sure there's exceptions, and that's why I make sure to use the words usually.
It felt like from the context of the video, you were. It seemed like you were making the argument that for the most part, like pretty much any ridiculing that you would do of a black person would be racist. I don't know.
I think I said usually because I think a lot of times when white people ridicule black people, it usually is racist. But I'm sure there's some sort of exception. I can't really think of one off the top of my head.
I don't actually remember you saying usually, but you might have. You probably did.
Definitely did.
Yeah, I mean, because it's pretty ridiculous to say that every instance of ridiculing a black person would be racist. I don't know. I feel like the boundary is drawn somewhat arbitrarily. Lord knows I've been called racist for saying things that I do not think are racist. So the cancel culture mob is run amok, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, and one of the last things I want to talk about is like you accused me of pearl clutching because I said that you're making this place hostile for a number of black people, and yeah, I just really wanted to say, fuck you, you are.
Out of curiosity, how much harassment have you gotten from my community?
I've got a lot of comments. I don't really know how to quantify that, but
it's just, I often for it to be upsetting. I often get accused of like having a really bad community and that like I send people to harass, but I honestly feel like, I mean, I have a huge community. If I wanted to, I could bury a smaller channel, but it's never happened. I feel like my community is generally pretty good, I don't know if I make this like hostile to anyone really. Even people who I openly strongly dislike, like Bad Empanada or Thought Slime, I'm pretty sure like they don't really get anything from me.
They do. Yeah, they actually totally do.
I guess I'd need to see how much. It's inevitable that there's going to be some kind of backwash to that, but
It's like whenever this stuff happens, there's like a wave of your fans and audience just like shitting on people.
But
So whenever someone disagrees with you, there's like all these people who are like really angry and accusing you of things that aren't really happening.
Is it
There's people,
harassment
like,
or is it criticism though? Because usually when I see people like the screenshots come out of my community, it's like, I think this is a bad video, Vaush good. Which, while it may be annoying, I don't necessarily know if that's shitting on you. That just seems like the sort of thing that YouTubers do. When you say like making it intolerable for black content creators, I feel like the implication is that like anytime a black person disagrees with me, their whole channel gets swamped with racism or something, which definitely doesn't happen.
I mean, like just in the examples that I've given, like for example, like St. Andrew.
Hold up. Give me a sec. Take a look at this. All right, so want to stop misinformation, stop listening to entertainment personalities, YouTubers, streamers, podcasts, etc. Podcasters. People know things don't. People who know things don't have a show. They have jobs at school or in government or in R&D. Their jobs are performing and comparing research. Some teach. I think that for the most part, I understand where he's coming from with this, but I don't think this is necessary. I think you could disseminate good information. If everybody had followed this advice, the far right would be the most powerful group and politically online. Wouldn't he apply this to the far right? People watching that shit as well. The skeptic community, neo-Nazis and sexists and transphobe. Those people are on the other side of the same coin as people who, like you, who say stuff like we need to abolish all police. We have this problem on both sides of the aisle because people like you don't follow this advice. Yeah, so true, King. Right-wing commentators use racial and transphobic slurs and calling for the abolition of institutions. Well, I guess the opposite side of that coin are lefties who cheer the Taliban or dispatching millions or whatever. Okay. Alright, I actually think I'm gonna be done with this guy because then he later says that, like, he quote tweets Supreme saying that, like, he's a Destiny clone and shit, so I actually think I'm gonna be done with this dude. I think I've stretched all the good faith. I wanted to show that on stream. I think I'm done with that dude. Alright. I don't think he was receptive to any of the arguments he kept saying. Well, I was mad as an excuse.
Why did that get into Minecraft? It's just fucking useless, dude.
Nice meme. As an excuse for his poor behavior, him completely misrepresenting and being bad faith. He said, well, I was upset. Yeah, I'm done with that, dude. It's that's it for me. He's gone from here. I'm done with him.
You like really believe is a racist, like because this person. And
yeah, he's clearly, he's clearly just trying to get.
St. Andrew tries to talk about that. You in that conversation, like you accuse St. Andrew of starting a race war, of being a segregationist, of being anti-black, of being pro-white, and then your audience sees that and they're like, oh yeah, fuck this person. People are gonna watch this video of me talking with you and they're like, oh yeah, fuck this person. This person's basically a separatist who wants to have mass genocide. Like, that's their takeaway. My point is that when you have these arguments with people, it doesn't actually end up representing what they're saying. And so anyone that you disagree with, because they're just comparing them to white nationalists willy-nilly, is making things very toxic for a number of black people who disagree with you. It's gonna be fucked up for me.
Well, then maybe I don't know. Like that's kind of on them if they have opinions. So
yeah, I would agree with Vaush here. Any black person that disagrees with me on this issue that feels targeted by those comments and feels like it's toxic, good. You're a piece of shit. That's literally what I'll say. Yeah, you're a piece of shit, dude.
Odious that it leads to like people getting mad at them. I don't know. Like, does that mean that like if black people have like bad opinions, I can't disagree with them because that's me harassing them for their opinions?
Yeah,
I don't know how to handle that.
I don't think there's like bad opinions. You just literally can't help but compare these things to white nationalism.
I
like,
think it's a salient
problem.
I think it's a salient criticism. I mean, it's not like you just go after like black people. I argue with people. Most of the people I argue with are white, of course, because I mostly argue with American conservatives. I don't think it's like me making the space inhospitable to black people. I just think that
Did you
people who
ban
disagree
him
with me
just
usually
because he
end up feeling
called
bad
you a
about it
DGGer? No, if you don't know who I banned, then you don't have enough context. It's because we've had several conversations, they haven't been productive, and because this individual proceeded to like defend some of the worst points I've ever seen in my entire life. Those are the reasons why. Yeah, it's not just because they called me a DGGer. Not at all, no. And I think they're a self-described DGGer.
A larger platform, so any disagreement that comes from my direction is going to be felt disproportionately. But I can't just not criticize people.
But it's like literally when I talk about black people having their own self-determination.
Okay, but
you compared me to Hitler.
That is
you know
explicitly.
This is the first person you engaged with in Discord, but you still banned him. Is this the first person you engaged with, who engaged with you in Discord? Wait, no. Wait, how was Wait, who was on with Ahrelevant just now? I came back. Nobody was on with me. Oh, I see.
the line that white nationalists use. So that
Liking
doesn't differentiate you from them at all.
Right,
Sure,
so you're
that
like,
is
okay,
true. That
genocide
is true,
like, shouldn't
potato.
happen, but people should figure
But
out how
he
to
said
get
that
rid of
he
colonizers,
watched a bunch
get rid
of
of colonialism, and they need to like
Destiny.
have that conversation and figure out what that is and look different for every place. You can't have
Yeah,
that
I
conversation
did.
without comparing me to
Occam's
Hitler.
razor.
You know what I'm saying?
I
He
can't
literally
have-
called St. Andrew, accused him of having a race war. He accused no Native segregation because all she said was this.
He literally like was memeing that I called Destiny on for backup. Like the dude is bad faith as fuck. Every bone in his body is bad faith. He's just like clout sharking at this point. He was like fucking giddy as fuck when Destiny entered the chat room and just sitting there and like swooning over him, but also didn't admit to doing anything wrong and backpedaling off of it just by saying, "Oh, I was just upset. I was just upset. Oh no, it wasn't a bad thing. I was just upset." So we're just done with him. We're gonna be done with him. I'm not gonna talk about him.
Tweet isn't for white people.
I
You know what I'm
do
saying? Those
disagree.
are such extremes.
I do disagree with the language of her tweet. I don't remember the stuff with St. Andrew.
You can disagree without comparing these people to white nationalists. That's what I'm saying.
What if I
Because
think
black
they're
people are
like white
talking about this
nationalists?
stuff.
I don't have a problem with talking about it. Your
Maybe if you
video and this
understood
discussion
what these
confirmed
were.
my fears that you believe in things that I think are horrendously unethical. I think my criticisms here are salient. I don't think these are spurious accusations that I made without thought. I spent the first year and a half of me doing this type of content without ever even thinking about black separatists. But then I noticed some patterns. Like, what was that guy, Nick Cannon? Was he the guy who went off on that? And then there was that other one. Was it Tariq
Yep,
Nasheed? There were some
Nick
patterns that I
Cannon.
noticed where black people, would express pro-black talking points with language that mirrored the rhetoric and the logic of white nationalists. And I saw people agreeing with them. And then I saw some other people kind of not agreeing, but maybe kind of defending them a little bit, you know?
Sure. Like you can disagree with that, but you just maybe need to like understand what these things are before like making a video about
But I
them.
think I do. The video
I
that
know
you
you
saw,
think you do. Like we're just talking
video-
about like colonialism, and like even when I'm talking about like, people like having autonomy to get rid of colonialism, like
She's literally arguing a dumb point, okay? What she's trying to say is, you need to believe me when I say that I'm not compatible with or comparable to white nationalists. And then Vaush believes, no, you're exactly in line with the white nationalism. Again, an A+ take from Vaush here. And she's like, well, no, okay, you don't have enough evidence for that. Obviously, Vaush disagrees. And so she's just arguing a dumb point. She's like, you can't call me a white nationalist because you don't have enough information. Obviously, he disagrees. So there you go. He can call you a white nationalist. All you got to do is just argue against his position of calling you a white nationalist. That's all you got to do. It's a point of disagreement. You can't just be like, you don't have enough information. Well, I disagree with that.
there's all these different situations of what that looks like, and then your point is that I'm like Hitler. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a huge leap.
I don't
For you,
think
it's
that's a
not.
summary.
But I think you need to actually understand about like what colonial looks like. Like learn about countries that have decolonized.
Is that
I
what you
don't know.
got
That
out
looks
of
like a bunch of.
But I'm
Yes!
anti-colonial. I've agreed with that the entire time.
But this whole time you tried to paint me as someone who's cool with genocide.
So the two-
You know what I'm saying? We're stuck in that for most of the debate.
Over the course of this conversation, there are two things that you kept doing and continue to do. One of them is that you said that oppressed peoples have a moral right, if they choose to excise people of different races if those were colonizers. That is a form of genocide. You said that explicitly. You can't back out of that. And secondly, you continue to essentialize socioeconomic trends to white people if they're the ones disproportionately committing it, which I think hinders your analysis. Those are two things you do, and I think that a lot of white nationalists do exactly those two things as well. In fact, that logic, those are like the two foundations of ethno-state creation. So that's the problem that I have, you know? And I don't think that's a spurious comparison. I think that it's fair. I wish that you would, at the very least, understand why I believe that, as opposed to strawmanning me and framing me as someone who's so wildly ignorant and like triggered by the sight of black people that I just freak out and start making like random accusations. 'Cause I don't think that's descriptive of this.
Okay, but the first part, it's like I think like mass just like killing people, like having a literal genocide. I'm like, yeah, that would be messed up. But then you just saying like there might have to be a time where people get rid of people who are colonized. Like that's not the same. It's like
listen to her language. There might be a time where in which people might have to get rid of people who are colonized. Like, nobody necessarily disagrees with this if we're talking about very specific things, right? If we're talking about like a group of people that are actively trying to at gunpoint or violently oppress over another person, right? Like, let's say like a race war-esque situation breaks out and all of the Proud Boys are trying to like herd black people into areas and like get them to like go off to their own place or literally just kill them, right? Saying that we might have to try and force those people out of those communities by certain means, that makes sense, right? Or a North Korean saying we're gonna have to force Kim Jong-un out of a position of power. That makes sense. All of those things make sense. What doesn't make sense is some normie black person like me sitting in my chair, benefiting from, sitting on twitch.tv, broadcasting to 700 people. I'm going to have to come after you because you're white as fuck, all of you, okay? All of you. I know you're sitting there and you're like, you know what, bro, I'm brown, I'm black. No, you're not. You're white as fuck, okay? You're on Twitch at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. You're white as fuck, okay? I don't care if that's the time in your time zone, all right? West Coast, Best Coast, baby, let's go. All right? You're white as fuck, okay? And I'm going to take all your stuff, and then you're going to get the fuck out of my country, okay? That shit doesn't make any fucking sense. That shit doesn't make any fucking sense at all. All right? Like, dude, what? There's a difference between a colonizer and some dude that votes Republican. You know? And not all white people vote Republican even. Like, some white dude who votes for, like, Democratic policy, voted for Joe Biden, has to get the fuck out of my country and give me all his shit? Like, dude, this is unreal levels of cringe.
Having like a mass genocide.
Well,
like,
you know, getting rid of is a very wide term that can be applied in a number of
for
ways.
example, like again, I give the example of Kenya, who were like able to get rid of the
But I
colonizers.
explicitly asked you about the mass deportation of the 6 million white people in South Africa, and you said that it was the right of black South Africans to do that. You're saying that they have a right to commit a genocide. That's a pro-genocide stance as far as I'm concerned.
I think they have the right to at least figure out if they want the colonizers to be there or not, and like how to do that process. But yeah. Well,
I mean, I really...
No, she keeps reframing this in trying to be as like the slimy dude. She's just all about aesthetics. Well, yeah, I think that maybe they have the right to be able to decide what they're doing. No, what you're saying is they have the right to be able to excise an entire group of people based on their skin color. What do we call that? What else am I supposed to call that? What am I supposed to call that? So, like, to prove this in a simple logical format, Vaush could ask him, or could ask her if, hey, listen, if you want to, or rather, if a group of people, they stuck with South Africa, if South Africans wanted to kick out white people, right? Or if they wanted to kick out colonizers, right? And want to kick out all the white people, or what have you, right? And they went about doing that, kick out all of the fucking white people from the area. What do you think that would happen if all these white people said, I'm not colonizers? How do you understand who is a colonizer and who isn't? And based on her argument, it's just white people because they benefit from the system. So then, what's the difference between you saying colonizer and the ethnic origin of these people being white? Or the racial makeup, I should be more specific. What's the difference there? Because how you're getting to whether or not they're a colonizer is by their race. By no other definition, it is by their race. So how is it any different than you saying, yeah, not because they're a colonizer, right? Because of their race. Because you don't, like, this is a really weird definition. If you're white, you're a colonizer? That's fucking weird.
I take issue with the idea that me being opposed to ethno-states means that I'm like toxic towards
For misgendering
black content.
But it's not just like you being
are they even trans? I don't even know if they're trans.
We do
ethnostates, because I think for me, like, even if like people got rid of like the white South Africans in South Africa, I think there's like ways that could happen that would be really messed up. But I do think it's for the black South Africans to figure out like how to do that in general. I guess I will say that there are some lines that definitely can be crossed, but that's not even just what I'm saying.
No,
Like, what I'm saying is that like people who just disagree with you,
I just
you
wanted
can't
to
help
know.
compare them to white nationalists,
Well,
and that's a huge issue.
Only if
to
they
take.
sound like white nationalists. I disagree with lots of people who I don't call white nationalists. I try to...
Like you were saying that No Name is a segregationist just because No Name said that this tweet isn't for white people.
I have defended the language that I've used, but I do not think that means that this is just something I throw at all black people. I've explained the logic behind why I've said what I've said. You can think that it's hyperbolic if you want, but I think that the logic is consistent and follows a strong through line. I stand by it. It does scare me a little bit when I see stuff like this from people who purport to be on the left, because it makes me worry sometimes that the conservative stereotype of anti-racism is alive in some people, that some people are driven principally by resentment, not a desire to make things equal, but rather...
TKB, the conversion for for the race argument to white or to cops is not an easy one to make. And I would argue doesn't like necessarily logically follow, because being a police officer is an occupation. I would agree that we shouldn't essentialize all cops, but it's not. No, we can't make the argument. It's not a perfect logical argument, because cops are not like a race. It's not fundamental to anybody to be a cop. Like, it's not a fundamental part of who you are, and an inescapable part of who you are. You can technically stop being a cop. You can technically begin being a cop after you previously weren't being a cop. That's how all cops come about and shit like that. So
desire to take out the historical pain of oppression on the oppressor group. And I see that in the way you insist on essentializing problems to white people, because I don't see any reason to do that besides emotional bias. It seems like a hole in an otherwise consistent analysis that is driven by resentment. And that
Like
makes me worry.
when you're saying that I'm like essentializing all problems to white people, what I'm saying is that white people profit off of colonialism, and that's like not an untrue statement. I'm saying that issue needs to be dealt with. I'm not saying that like every white person like wants, even actively wants to colonize people. I'm just saying that there is an issue where white people are still profiting. That's why I even gave the example. That's why I gave the example of my dad, who is still able to profit off of racism as a white person.
Yeah, somebody in my chat makes a good point. I mean, you also profit off colonialism. You are Americanized.
Wait.
Yes.
Wait, is she half white? Oh no.
American, but I still have to deal with racism. Like, there's ways you can profit off of it.
Oh no, we need to have a conversation, dude. We need to have a talk, dude. Are you white? Are you black? Do you get kicked out? What if, like, in her eyes, what if I just say you have to be full black? You have to be full black to be able to exist in this environment. Otherwise, you're benefiting too much off of the colonizers. What if I make that argument? Like, I wonder how she'd respond to that.
I find racism and colonialism to be extremely oppressive.
Well, you can't be like, oh, it's okay for me to be a colonizer.
Oh, I see. Half Asian and half African. Oh, I see. I thought she was actually white. My bad.
If I'm also a victim of racism, can you? If you want to like go out.
No, this is why I'm saying, like, indigenous people, like, in my opinion, I think that they should like decide what to do with their own land, and I don't think that's just in regards to white people. I don't think they would take literally all of their lands back. But
white South Africans are victims of classism, and the female white South Africans are victims of sexism, and the trans white South Africans are victims of transphobia. So maybe it's okay for them to be colonizers in South Africa as well because they have another intersectional axis to protect them from the consequences.
Again, I think that's up to South Africans to figure out what to do with people who colonize them.
Maybe they should
figure out
what to do
how
with you.
to colonize themselves.
Because you're a colonizer too.
South
Right?
Africa.
No,
I think indigenous people definitely have the right to figure out what to do with
No, the whole third world. After all, we're all participating in the colonization of the developing world, right? Maybe like the 2 or 3 billion people that we get all of our material resources from should get to decide what to do with the rest of us, since our colonization doesn't just end at the border, does it? It's not like you can only be a colonizer if you're physically in the land that's being colonized, right? You and I both economically benefit tremendously from America's exploitation of the rest of the world.
Based.
Yeah, I don't understand why that'd also be bad for like the people who are exploited to figure out what to do about their exploitation from us. Like, if people are like, I don't want to, like, let's try to create an economic system where we don't have to be exploited by America. Like, I don't understand why that would be an issue.
What if they want Westerners to leave the planet because we've engaged in too much global colonization?
Well, I think that issue is different because they're being exploited by us, but we're not actually like colonizing in a sense where we're like pushing those people out of their land.
Oh, that's not true.
We're pushing them out of
That's not true, though. I hope he drills on that. That's not true. We are absolutely pushing people out of their land through listen, I'm a capitalist, okay? So I'll be the first to say this. I'm a capitalist, and I also like global markets, okay? I like trade between countries. But to say that we're not pushing certain people out of certain areas with our like, and benefiting from that, like, yikes, dude. That shows a real understanding of where you're at with this economic system. Like, dude, I'm a fucking capitalist, and I know that's fucking true, dude. I won't show for that. Of course we are. What? Does she not know? Is she a not knower?
With sweatshops and factories, and we're doing it through
no, not only climate change, but even with like making certain plots of land uninhabitable due to pollution or what have you. Not just climate change specifically. Obviously, the pollution contributes to climate change, yada, whatever. But like polluting certain areas where now, guess what? You can't have a village there. You can't have a city there anymore because the water tastes like raw sewage. Or because like there is literally no more trees that grow fucking fruit because I really wanted cheap bananas or I really wanted cheap mangoes and shit like that. So yeah, this is 100% a fucking thing.
Like their autonomy and like self-determination to be like, well, how do we get rid of the colonial
blood diamond mines, all this shit, right? The fucking the resources of raw minerals that are required, the earth minerals that are required to be able to make her fucking microphone and shit like that. But it came from the blood, sweat, and tears of, I don't know. I don't know where this specific microphone is made, but probably some country that doesn't treat its workers too well. And we don't care because that's a cheaper microphone than it has to be.
Structures in here, like how do we get rid of like all these structures that like feed money back to America while we make nothing? I think in that situation, like they should have the right to determine that.
Shouldn't they have a right to determine whether or not to share the planet with their colonizers? I mean, should they just, so even if they take back their country, the people in these colonized countries just have to live with the permanent indignity and economic inequality of living on a planet that has countries like America and England as well?
No, I don't understand what you're getting at.
Well, I mean, our presence here continues to take away from them.
His argument is an argument of scale. Why can I kick white people out of my country if, like, people that we oppress economically can't kick us off of the planet? Right? It's because the argument would be, well, we don't have anywhere to go. It's like, okay, so then, like, what if they put us all on one really small fucking island? It didn't give us any, like, boats or anything to get off of that island. We can imagine whatever fucking argument we want. His argument is upscale. That's what his argument is.
Belch out into the air, the resources that we take from the rest of the world, our presence and geopolitical weight. It seems like the most ethical way to handle all of this is to find the single most oppressed person on Earth, like a disabled trans woman somewhere in Bangladesh, and ask them if they want to nuke the rest of the planet. It just seems to me like your logic is fundamentally about retaliation.
fallacy. Like, I'm saying that colonized people should have the autonomy to decolonize themselves, and you're saying that we should find the most oppressed person in the world and ask them if we should nuke someone. Like, do you see how that's not the same thing?
Capitalism. You should accept the niche. Well, no, it's not necessary to capitalism, but it's functioning right now as a part of capitalism. I don't disagree with you. A socialist or even communist state could extract resources and make areas uninhabitable, and in fact, they have. Well, not really communist state, because I don't think a communist state has existed, but socialist states, absolutely.
I mean, you're saying that oppressed people have a right to excise millions of people from their country. The borders are arbitrary. We all live on a planet, don't we? I mean, does it have to stop at the border? Why should national inheritance be the limit of the retribution the oppressed have the right to inflict upon their historical oppressors?
I'm not talking about retribution. I'm talking about how to get rid of a colonial problem, and that's really different.
Would America stop being a colonial problem if our businesses just got out of those countries? No.
Island contain coconuts by chance? Of course. But of course, I will begin with all of them.
Huge problem, wouldn't we? It seems like we pose an existential threat to the oppressed, colonized people of the world. One which they would perhaps have almost unlimited legitimacy in ridding themselves of.
I think that there is a lot to be said for the power dynamics in other countries. Like, I don't really think one country should have enough power to determine how the rest of the world lives. So I think dismantling that power is really important.
How do you dismantle that power?
I think like you could try to perhaps like push for socialism. Like, if every country was socialism, I think that would lead to a more equitable outlook of things. But how to dismantle the power that America has over.
Wait, what? Does she even know what socialism is? If one country holds all the power and then that country becomes socialist, that country still holds all the fucking power. It's just held by the people that live within the country. You fucking moron. What? What? She's a fucking idiot. It's country still holds all the power. What? Even a communism doesn't solve that. Like, the people within the country, you could argue that the specific people that hold the power within that country don't have it, but still the people within that country still have the power. The power is still consolidated within the country. Like, what? You fucking idiot?
Everyone. I mean, there's so many issues. I don't even know where to begin to answer that question. The question of imperialism.
But what if they felt the only way to really do it was with unrequited nuclear warfare? You can make an argument for that. The damage that would be done to the planet through nuclear winter would at least temporarily counteract some of the climate change.
I think we already went over this. Like, I'm not saying that there should be mass genocide. I'm just saying that like there needs to be a way to remove the colonists if people want to remove the colonists who've been colonized.
From the planet?
No, just from being in the country that they've colonized. Like, if people who are colonized are like, I don't want to live with the people who have colonized me, then I think they need to figure out how to remove people who colonize them if they want to.
But America.
Okay, hold on. Get ready for it. What if everybody agrees that these people have colonized them, like, and don't want them? So let's take white people, for example, right? Let's assume that we believe that every single group of people on the planet Earth believes that white people colonize them and they don't want to be around them. What do we do with white people? Do we put them in some random Scandinavian country where we assume that, like, it was only ever white people that were there? Ham, they give her the $5. Like, what do we do? Send them to the moon. She has a music degree, just like Destiny? Wait, she has a music degree? Wait, hold on. I can't meme. Wait, are we memeing? We're memeing. What degree does she have, chat? Okay? What degree does she actually have?
Colonize the world. So shouldn't the logic extend transnationally?
I think, again, the people who have been colonized should be able to just decide if they want to get rid of people who colonize them or not. And I think to the extent where they have their own autonomy again.
Well, sure,
I think that's what this all comes down to, is like people need to have their own autonomy and self-determination, and people don't. And so like that's really like, I guess, the extent of what I'm saying.
No, I agree with that. I'm just saying that in the modern economic age, we don't do colonization by sending like boats over to colonize lands or anything like that. We do it through a complicated, geopolitical system of trade and power differential. So with all that, it seems like there's no way to actually remove the colonizer. You said before that war could be justified if there were no alternatives. If you couldn't remove Americans from the planet, I mean, do you think that
you don't need to remove Americans from the planet though in order to get rid of their economic power over countries?
Well, what if the oppressed people?
What if there were like laws put in?
Wait, dude, work with that. He has an opening. Okay, you don't need. What did she say? You don't need to remove these oppressors from the planet in order to get rid of their shit. Right. So there are certain things that we can do, certain policies that we can put in place to be able to get rid of this shit. Bailey, why would you fucking do that? Thank you for the $10. You can have certain policies that get rid of these issuances. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I don't even know if I try and find common ground with this person, because I would say, like, yeah, of course we can put in policies that try and actively get rid of systemic racism in our country, be able to make a more fair and even playing field for everybody. But her like idea of this is unironically like the little Timmy example. Make it so like white people can't get a fucking education. I'm waiting for it. I can guarantee that some dumb shit like that would come out of her mouth. So, like, I'm not even sure if you should be finding common ground with this kind of a person. I think there should probably be some just, like, disassociation. Some, like, just don't even, like, associate with me. I just completely disown you.
Place where it's like this level of exploitation can't happen for starters.
What if the oppressed
There's like
people?
ways where like African countries are like heavily exploited, where like they're like in huge debt, where like the inflation of the debt's too high for them to be able to pay it back, and there's like no laws protecting them really, so they're just gonna forever stay in debt.
What if
It's like you could try to like make laws to get rid of the amount of debt that they had, for example.
I personally see no reason to better social issues in this country. Am I bad for not actually caring? I would say that you do have a moral responsibility to care about the social issues of the people that you live around, primarily, if not anything, just because it improves your own living conditions. So you say, I just want to live comfortably. The burden of social change is on other people. So, like, living comfortably comes at the cost of social change. So, like, let me give you a perfect example of what we're looking at, lime poppers. I don't know if you're memeing or not. So, lime poppers, let me give you an example right here. This woman, if you do not actively engage in pushback against this woman and we let her get away with everything that she's been saying, you will not be able to live comfortably. I'm assuming that you're white, of the white persuasion, just based on statistics. I would assume that you're white. And if you are white, she would have you kicked out of your comfy chair and your comfy house, right? And then that becomes, okay, all right, so then maybe we need to take a look at, like, how specifically we could better approach these issues without making me uncomfortable or what have you, right? So you could look at things like simple voting for certain individuals, or caring about certain like borderline easy social issues, like maybe we shouldn't be racist to anyone and things like that, and looking at ways to advocate for the liberation or the whatever fucking word you want to use, the removal of systemic racism or what have you. So that way people like this get the fuck out of the way, and people like Vaush can kind of lead the charge on that one. You know what I'm talking about? I hope you know what I'm talking about, right? If there's a lot of complacency with like just being comfortable, unfortunately, that's how this woman even got a platform. It's like there wasn't people that really cared.
Surely we can remove the ADC population peacefully, Pepe.
Nice meme. So like, it's like, you know what? She's a little bit radical, but I don't really care that much. We unfortunately have to care because it's people like this that would unironically start a race war inside of this country. And that's going to make you really uncomfortable. That'll make me really uncomfortable. And so, yeah, we unfortunately do kind of have to care. So as to your claim, does it make you a bad person? Not necessarily, in my opinion. I just think that you do have a responsibility to do this if you want to be a comfortable person. That if you want to remain comfortable, that unfortunately you're going to have to participate in some kind of social issues, because social issues are going to, at some point, potentially make you feel uncomfortable. And so you ought to participate, right? That's where I'm at, right? I want to live a comfortable life, and I want to make sure that I don't personally live a bad life. Those are my main things. And being comfortable, unfortunately, a part of that is like pushing back against literal fucking black, like, Nazis, separatists, like this woman.
It's just like one example off the top of my head.
No, I get
people
that.
who are like exploiting people's labor, we could just there could be like laws where it's like you can't like.
Which side am I taking in the race war? I'm taking the side that gets on boats and fucking leaves. That's the side that I'm taking, okay? Fuck that shit, okay? I'm not concerned with killing white people, nor am I concerned with white people killing black people, okay? I'm fucking leaving. Fuck that shit.
You have to have like these level of working conditions, and you can't exploit labor in these ways. Like I don't understand. Like I feel like you're trying to make a slippery slope of like.
No. I'm not trying to make a slippery slope.
Can't get rid of
I'm just
the colonizers,
testing.
so therefore,
I'm testing the limits of the logic. So my question, this is the last one then, is if the third world decided they could do that.
Watch out for flares. Zaid's fucking watch out for flares.
Enjoy your
Good meme, dude. See, backtracked on mass deportation on Twitter. Good, fantastic. That's progress. I still don't want to be associated with a fucking moron, but that's progress. Yeah. Anybody that's in their fucking mid-20s, like, oh, you know what? Maybe we should reconsider this whole fucking mass deportation of an entire ethnicity. Yeah, like, dude, I'm not gonna sit there and hold your hand along with you trying to walk you through that fucking process. I'm just not gonna lie. I'm not that guy. All right, I'm not gonna be that guy. Okay, you're a grown-ass woman. Okay, if you're just figuring this shit out, I'm sorry, but I ain't the guy to help you with that.
But it probably wouldn't work. The only way to truly succeed would be global conquest through military or nuclear arms. Do you think that would be
because of the backlash? Hey, listen, that's what we're here for. All right. I want it as unhospitable as possible to have these radical beliefs online. If you're propagating unironic memes that white people ought to be deported in mass, you are a racist, you are a bigot, you are a piece of shit, and you should be laughed off of every platform that even has a care to have you on, okay? You're a joke. You're an absolute fucking joke. And I'm amazed that you're not fucking 12 years old shit posting on fucking 4chan, okay? That's all I'm gonna fucking say about that.
As a sort of final way of eliminating the colonization?
Can you say that again?
If the third world, the oppressed peoples of the world, realized that nothing would really work except for like planetary conquest through nukes or through invasion, that the only way to free themselves from colonization would be to simply encompass the world in their own power. Do you think that would be a defensible thing to do, or do you think they should simply wallow in their global imperialism, unable to strike back?
Let's see. Let me say back what you're saying because I keep on losing your train of thought. So you're saying that
yesterday I was careless and said people have the right to genocide a minority group if they thought they were oppressed. What I want to redact that statement. What I meant to say was people have the right to genocide a minority group if they thought they were oppressed, as long as the minority is white. I hope you can forgive my misspeak. Wait, that's not a quote, right? I know you put it in quotes. That's not a quote, is it? If so, link. I know that's you're probably memeing, right? That's what you're doing, and yeah, I know that's what she's doing. But if that's you put that in quotes, so I can't tell.
If third world people had the rights to nuke people or wallow, or the other decision is to wallow in their like colonized place.
If they felt there was no way to address global colonialism without some kind of radical military or nuclear solution to the rest of the world.
Well, I think that I just think I don't really see that happening because like there's like an impractical thing about like nuking people or like starting a war.
What if they
people.
could? You know,
if they could, I think that would be bad because again, like nuking entire countries like kind of affects the rest of the world. It's killing a lot of people. I don't really think that addresses.
But like mass deporting, what would this be? 200 million people isn't affecting the rest of the world at all. These countries that are having trouble immigrating, like fucking 5 million people, are just gonna take 200 million people. Okay, all right. The logistics of that work out purely soundly. I'm sure the American economy won't completely collapse when half of the workforce leaves. I'm sure we'll be fine. I'm sure we'll be okay.
It's like the issue of colonialism. It's just like obliterating people. And I think what I'm saying is like, insofar as the addressing of colonialism, people should have the right to deal with that. And that's really all I'm saying.
But not through like nuclear retaliation.
I think nuclear retaliation just wouldn't be a good idea because it just wipes out like entire places. It kills like entire populations.
But if it worked, I mean, if it was an effective way of ending the global colonization.
What scenario would it be like an effective way of ending colonization? Like, I don't even know if that place would be inhabitable by
we
the
are
people.
correct.
Be able to colonize though.
Yeah. Okay. I think maybe what you're saying is that I think you're maybe thinking that I'm saying that like colonized people should just be able to do whatever they want, even if it means nuking people. I think I'm saying
deporting
like
white
ending
people.
Colonization.
I think deporting white people from South Africa is the nuclear option. There are 6 million whites in South Africa, not America, which is significantly more people than the number that we killed in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It seems to me like if you're willing to accept that you should act against colonialism up to a point, but past a certain point, the ethics of it grow worse than than whatever benefits you could accrue through decolonization, then I would say, following that assumption, you could never argue ethically for an ethno-state. That it would always be an unjustifiable extreme. That there are always ways to address colonization without going as far as excluding an entire racial group, you know?
I don't necessarily think so. Like, there are people... Like, I don't
New beginnings.
Dude. Vaush is really trying to paint Flowers as being pro-white genocide because he got frustrated of the innatity of his hypothetical question. Who the fuck is... Oh, it's Thought Slime. Oh my god, it's fucking Thought Slime. Oh my god. Oh lord. This fucking, oh my god. Everyone, people keep on saying that I have no problem with mass deportation. I clearly say I'm not okay with that. Let's
Putting an entire
backpedal off of this.
ethno-state. That it would always be an unjustifiable extreme. That there are always ways to address colonization without going as far as excluding an entire racial group, you know?
I don't necessarily think so. Like, there are people, like, I understand.
Cue the Curb Your Enthusiasm meme, dude. Clearly agrees with it. But more importantly, my point is that you or my opinion doesn't matter. When it comes to colonization, the opinion that matters are the colonized people. This is the cringe virtue signaling is fucking hilarious. Read the second tweet in the replies. Are you sure you're Native American? You look Blasian, kind of. Yeah, I don't think there's any. I don't think there's any bit of me from that hemisphere. Okay. Right. I'm Mexican, Native American, Black. There you go. I mean, I guess I could be part of that hemisphere if I... East Coast, I guess. African. I don't know what African descent I am. But yeah. We should trust them to make their own decisions, not patronize them. And this was my entire point. Thanks for the kind words, Thought Slime. I truly hope that it's not too rough of a storm. Fuck both of these people. Both of you are cringe as fuck. Thought Slime is white as hell. You'd get kicked the fuck out as well. Oh, I probably shouldn't have this meme up because people don't have the context. Okay, I was playing the Erica. I played a little bit of the Erica song from World War II marching shit because she was when she doubled down on the or sorry, not doubled down, when she made the take that maybe we should kill colonizers. I played the theme because I thought it was fitting.
And like why you couldn't have like a certain space where it's like Black people live there and Black people are like, we only want to live here because we stay away from people who've oppressed us.
Oh, well,
like I don't understand. Like, there are places that already have most Black people.
Erica's
I don't know why you can't
banger,
be like, okay, this is
dude.
going to be like a Black like area that's like a safe haven for Black people. But I do think I will like say that like yeah, I guess
that's an ethno-state.
I don't think
this is what I mean about you being less masked on than white nationalists. They're usually not willing to just
right. Like
say
I
that.
said in my video, there's a difference between people who are like, I want to be in my own state because I'm oppressed by people versus people who are like, well, these people are inferior and need to be ruled over.
Another question would be, let's say that the Jews in the 1940 Germany were oppressing the general population and then voted Hitler into power, and he did the Holocaust. Technically, the people themselves decided to solve the problem, which she's still stand by it. So she stated explicitly that she wouldn't stand by the killing of people, but this is why I think Vaush, I think my biggest critique of Vaush in this discussion has been, he has not asked her this simple question. If we, or excuse me, do the colonized people, the oppressed people, have the right to be able to mass deport the oppressors or the colonizers? She has said yes like 19 different times. I don't know why she's trying to fucking play these games. She said yes, right? So she says yes. All right. What if they don't leave? What if they say no? She has made arguments before that war has come about this and that there are scenarios where war is justified. I want to hear from her. If they say no, I want to hear her say that war could be justified, because I think she would. I just want Vaush to ask her that question. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm getting a misinterpretation. Maybe she would say, well, yeah, then they can just have all their property and all their shit, and we're not going to take it by force, and we're not going to get the police to be able to do that. Maybe she would just say, okay, my bad, and just say you can keep it all. I doubt it, but I want to see what she says. Can you unban me from Discord? What is your Discord shit? I don't think I banned you.
Like, I think there are people who want, I think there are separatists who are really bad people who are, again, they're sexist and homophobic and anti-Semitic. And I think there's people who just want to get away from people who oppress them.
I just personally, I think what you're saying is worse than any of those things. I think a person who says ethnostates are okay is on a much worse level than your average anti-Semite, sexist, racist, transphobe, whatever. Ethnostates are the most destructive creation like that has ever been born of man. More harm has been created as a product of ethnostates than possibly any other socio-political construct to have ever existed. Whether the people who construct them are the oppressed or the oppressor, white or black, whatever. This is like these are like the absolute evil of human organization.
Correct.
And the idea that black people's lives are going to be better. I mean, you can argue logistics on this. No part of America is going to be given over to black people. You move to Africa, where no country is better in total than America is in terms of socioeconomic achievement. Probably not. So what are we talking about then? Wouldn't it not, like, I don't know. Are black people in Africa safe? It seems like they're not, because they die more than black people do over here. I don't think that you make yourself safe by removing yourself from other racial groups. It seems like that what makes you safe is a bunch of socioeconomic stuff that doesn't get fixed with ethnostates.
I mean, people who want to be away from their oppressors, I don't understand like why that sentiment in itself is bad. Like, why do black people have to integrate with white people? Like,
oh my God. It gets worse. It just keeps getting worse, dude. It just keeps getting worse, dude.
Black people don't want to do that because they're tired of dealing with oppression.
This is what
And they
white
do that in a way.
nationalists say.
They do that in a way that's not hurting.
Because they're tired of oppression. Cool. Because you're white doesn't mean that you're oppressor. You're an oppressor, dude. I get along with white people all the fucking time, dude. Like, it's not like, your fucking white skin is oppressing me. Dude, like, what? Like, dude, what is this argument? Why should black people be forced to talk to white people? Nobody's forcing anybody to talk to anybody, right? That's the first. I'm not fucking putting a gun to your head and saying you need to talk 30 minutes a day with a white person. Nobody's doing that. But it's really fucking weird that you don't want to talk to white people because you think all of them are oppressive. When there's just fucking Todd. It's just an accountant trying to get to his fucking day. Maybe Todd's a Bernie bro, you know? Maybe Todd's a fucking communist. You know, maybe Todd fucking agrees with you. Maybe Todd is so fucking radical, he thinks every penny and dime that he makes should belong to black people. But your argument, well, you're white, so fuck you. Okay, alright. Cool. Alright, cool, dude.
People, like, why is that bad?
But ethno-states always hurt people every time.
White nationalists also say they want to send black people back to their homeland so that they will be free from the oppression they face in multicultural societies. So she literally agrees with them. Yeah, they do. Vaush is directly on point. She is an ethno-state pushing black separatist. That's what she is. Period. Like, she is no different than white nationalists. The only difference is, instead of white people on the top, she wants black people. Like, that's what it is. And on the top, I mean, like, removed from this country. Because if you think that, like, white nationalism isn't going to, like, engulf, like, so many people politically because of her ideology, you're lost. You're missing, okay? Right? Like,
I don't know. Existence oppresses you. Burn in the presence of my glaring white skin burn.
Christina, thank you for the primer, and Dante TV. Thank you, or Dante. Sorry. I think that's TV. Thank you for the primer, both of you. I have never heard of have you guys ever heard of a single better rallying cry for, like, somebody to push back and agitate against a group of people than, hey, guess what? There is a group of people in your country that, if given power, will take away everything that you own and deport you from this country. Yeah, a lot of people are going to get turned into fascists if you start propagating that. Yeah. Like, white people in mass are going to start being like, yeah, you know what? Maybe fascism and ethno-states aren't that bad of an idea because all these black people are starting to think like this chick at top left, okay? So this is, I truly believe, a moral imperative that we stop people like this from being able to characterize themselves as any kind of resounding voice on the left. Because I can't argue against fascists if these people do this. It's really fucking hard to, because what I'd essentially be saying is, you know, all the rhetoric that these people on the left are saying where they're like, hey, we're gonna kick white people out of the country. Yeah, do you mind not doing that for black people and just kind of like not do that? It's like, but they're saying that they're gonna kick us out of the country. Yeah, but like, just can you also just not do that yourself? It's like, that's really that's going to be a tough sell. That's a nearly impossible sell to be able to sell to a human. Yeah, just don't try and stop or characterize an entire group of people that in the public light are trying to say that they'll take everything that you own and kick you out of the country. Yeah, don't do that. Yeah, that's impossible. Sorry, it's just impossible. Like, yeah, no. It's Wilkenstein, thank you for the sub.
You can talk about mixed race people. What if a person who's black in a black ethno-state falls in love with a white person? Can they raise mixed children in a black ethno-state? Do they have to leave? Are they excised? Can their child leave? Is their child going to be taken from them? How far do you go that down? 1/2 black, 1/4 black, 1/8 black? Do the police come? Do they show up? Is miscegenation banned in these areas? To what extent are cultural affects banned? Is white...
This is a really... Now we're getting into the good stuff. The good stuff. The really good stuff.
100 hype train. Pepe wins.
Pepe wins.
Pepe does not win. Ye never ever lose. Thank you for the 200 bits, Agra and Sky Fisherman, to push it in the hype train.
TV allowed in a black ethno-state? Because ethno-states tend to be pretty protective of the perceived culture of a racial group. What happens to people of different cultures who come in there? What if there are black people who disagree with the values of the black people in the ethno-state that were created? Black Americans and black Africans are nothing alike because one of them are Americans and the other Africans. Black Africans aren't like black Africans. There's a fuck ton of stuff going on over there. Ethno-states are fundamentally destructive. And all of this because what? You want to avoid microaggressions with white people? If you're talking about
my man, dude. Fucking get it, boy.
broader systemic racism, that you're not going to escape that by leaving the country. Trust me, American white supremacy is global. So you're not saving yourself from that. The only thing you're saving from is the rigmarole of watching white people.
Whoa!
Praise the sub.
Nerza with the 20 fast gifted. 20 fast gifted. Thank you. Holy shit, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. 20 fucking gifted.
Myself from this stream and join my fellow Angloid Chud Logic. Maybe I'll catch a boat in time to catch your next stream. See you, Ahrelevant.
Alright, dude, I can't blame you, dude. I can't blame you. Hey, you with another 5 gifted. Christina with 200
Show love
bits.
100. Show love 100.
Thank you. Oh, wait. Is it? Oh, it's Christiana. I'm 90% English and right wing. I love black women. I break the stereotypes. I don't want to have these conversations. I don't want to have these conversations.
Fail to jump and dance poorly. And what, be interpersonally rude? Is that like worth the ethno-state? Systemic racism will carry across the border of the ethno-state. We're really just talking about microaggressions and the occasional hate crime, which are really bad. But again, an ethno-state? I mean, that just seems like such an incredible, wild direction to go in. What if white people?
I think it is a very incredible, wild direction to go in. But I think my point is that I can understand why people are so fed up with racism that they don't want to be around white people. And I think that if they're, I think that people who are
listen, I can understand it, but I can also say, fuck you. Don't be racist. Like, don't get me wrong. And I say this about any group too, because she's going to be a dumb fuck, but I would agree with this about black racism as well. People that live in China that only see fucking depictions of black people as being thugs and criminals, because that's all they see on fucking line, I think it's pretty reasonable that they're fucking racist, because that's all they fucking see, and that's it, like the state isn't doing anything to support black people's image inside of the area. I think it's pretty reasonable that they're racist. However, I would say don't be racist, okay? There's more information out there. There's more statistics for you to be aware of and shit like that would make you, a little bit more open to actually understanding how that fucking shit goes. Just like how I would understand a black person being racist to a white person. But you're a bit of a dumb fuck. Thank you for the 5 gifted, another 5 fast ones from Z Caves.
That their pain needs to be understood instead of just calling them a white nationalist. Like, I think you need to understand why there are people who are so frustrated with racism that they want to go to a place where they can get away from that. It's like what an ethno-state would actually look like. I don't know. I guess in my opinion, it does sound really shitty. Like, I don't want to just like have to only force people to have to only date black people if they don't want to do that. But I think my point with that is that people who want to be away from their oppressors and like have that space should be able to. And there's a way where people are trying to talk about that.
Why not just hang out with other black people?
No, the issue is if we decide that the entire space is all of America, let's assume that I as a person, right, fall in love with a white person, right? So like, I'm in love with a white person. I'm, dating a white person or what have you. I'm black. Can I just not live with them because they're not welcome instead of, because her argument is like, what if we just decide that all of America is a safe space and we get, white people out? Well, what if I want to live with my white partner? Like, do I have to leave your fucking country to do that? That sounds pretty fucking draconian, dude.
I mean, people do that.
Yeah, but like,
and there's people like we're still like in a white supremacist country. It's like people want to live in a place where they're not living in a place ruled by white supremacism, and I can understand that, and that's my point about that. Like, I don't think
our domination is
that's my point about that. I really understand.
Like, you can't escape whitey, man. You know this because we've been talking about it for 2 hours. You can make a black ethno-state all you want, but your economy is going to be buckled under the knee of America, which will, by the way, be an all-white America now, apparently, or at the very least majority white. That's not going to make us any less racist.
Just because somebody
that's not going to help.
You're oppressed. White people making you love them is oppression, brother.
Land black ethno-state doesn't mean that like all America would be white, and that's not even
what
we're
advocating
for.
There'd be proportionally more white people than there are now. We know
I don't even know if black people would go for that. Like, I think there's a very, like, I think the people you're talking about who do want like their own black ethno-state are like a very small percentage of people. Like, even when you like look at people who have decolonized their countries, like they just want the colonizers to not have power and to like mostly leave and like be able to have control over their own country. Like, all the examples that you've talked about in this debate are like the most extreme examples that like probably aren't going to happen.
Yeah, well, that's why it sucks when I see it online, and I get called anti-black for this.
Well, the thing is like there are so many things like that's just not what people are saying. Like, people are saying like I want my own space with black people, and then you call them segregationists. People are saying that like I can understand I can understand like why there's people who don't want to live with their oppressors, and then all of a sudden like you're comparing them to Hitler.
Well,
and what I'm saying is that these conversations.
Okay, you don't have to live with your oppressors, but talk about your actual oppressors, not just white people. All white people are not your oppressors. This is like some weird victim mentality bullshit. I don't use that word lightly because that shit is often misused. This is some weird fucking shit. Every single way, this person acts like they're going through the fucking jungles of Vietnam and like, oh, I don't know where the enemy is. A white person. It's like, dude, shut the fuck up, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, shut the fuck up. You're okay. Just because you see a fucking white person doesn't mean that they're gonna fucking and try and fucking beat you over the head with a fucking, I don't know, a goddamn silver spoon.
White or black,
I don't know what
let's
you
keep
think.
the train going. Choo-choo.
Like, acts like you're gonna fucking blitzed.
Damn man, you must feel so oppressed with all these white dicks in chat.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, they're pressing the fuck out of me. Thanks for the dono, by the way.
Like, need to have more nuance than just comparing people to white nationalists and black nationalists. But the fact that we spent this whole conversation talking about how, like, I'm like Hitler, and talking about how, like, no matter what, these ideas are going to be like white nationalism.
The
I
ideas
just
you're
don't think
sharing
it's very
are
nuanced and like able to look at these issues that like black people are bringing up.
But the nuance that you're bringing up is, yeah, it's basically the same, except we're oppressed, so it's okay when we do it. That's basically been like the nuance that you keep touching on. These are the same arguments. Well, and I've talked to so many white nationalists, so I speak with great confidence when I say that, you know?
Like, I will agree that, like, okay, like mass genocide, that's fucked up. Mass deportation, I think, depending on how like, people are thinking like deporting people who colonize them, I'm not really sure what that would look like. I definitely think that can be a line that's crossed. But ultimately, what I'm just trying to say is that people who are colonized need to be able to get rid of people who have colonized and to be able to have their own power back.
I'm just saying,
you
can talk about that, but when you talk mass deportation, then it turns out all the countries bordering yours don't want to accept millions of
I don't agree with this idea that you, okay, hold on, because
What if I love black people? Do I get to stay?
I mean, are you white? Sounding pretty white, pretty Caucasian, okay? Sounds like a Caucasian persuasion, okay? I'm not falling for it, okay? Anyway, like, she's talking about this is now getting into a retributive / rehabilitation justice thing. She's like, I think we should have the right to not be around our oppressor. And what that means is just getting rid of an oppressor. How about you get rid of the system that allows your oppressor to be oppressive and just let them go. Let them live their fucking life. Who the fuck cares? Like, that's it. I don't think you need to get rid of the people in order to do that. Unless we're talking about very specific people, you know? And that's like a case-by-case individual shit. Like, if we're talking about Jeffrey Epstein, if you're a fucking kid, you know, this is, you know, things that actually make sense. Yeah, we're going to need to, like, remove this dude's ability to act inside of civil society, i.e. getting them in prison.
Sure, 100.
Right? Like,
fuck, dude, I'm glad I went back to Canada.
I don't know why it sounds so robo, but that's...
refugees, and you start having conversations about where you're going to put all these people that you have lining the border. You build camps to hold them and train yards to make sure supplies can be reached from those places. And eventually, it's not like this only happened in Germany, you know. The mass, like, state execution of populations is not, like, exclusively a white people thing.
I think I'm agreeing with you there, actually. Like, I think I'm saying that, like, yeah, okay, mass deportation actually sounds pretty shitty. But there are a number of examples where people have gotten rid of the people who have colonized them, and it wasn't that. And, like, I don't even know if there's an example.
Whites have a genetic predisposition to being oppressors? He probably does.
Of that, because I don't think colonized people want to do that. Colonized people just want to have their own autonomy again. And what I'm saying is that when people talk about having their own autonomy, that the immediate example that it goes to is that they're like white nationalists. And like that's my issue, is like people can't talk about this stuff. Like, what does it look like to colonize a country without looking like white nationalism?
If the autonomy that you mean is autonomy from people of other races, then I will say that, yeah. If the autonomy you mean is, I think the people who live in this country should control this country, then that's fine. That's democracy. I'm not going to complain about that. And that's the language of anti-apartheid movements that took place back in South Africa as well, you know? As I understood it, Mandela wasn't going up there and
Right-wing Hassan fan, we could have a discussion about that. I'm not sure where you're going with that, but yeah, we could have a discussion about that.
About how they need to get all the whites out. They were talking about how they need to make the country equitable and the laws need to be even and fair and people who live here should have like control over their country and so on and so on. I think that's fine. I will never disagree with that. But sometimes the language of people's liberation and the language of racial separatism overlap. And then well, sometimes it trends in a more yikesy direction.
I mean, I can see that. Like, again, when I think of like the nationalists who are anti-Semitic, I'm like, yikes, that's really messed up and you need to stop thinking that way.
What about more anti-white?
When people are anti-white, like I don't, again, like whiteness itself, like I said, like the white racial identity is constructed specifically as a caste system.
What about like white people?
So it's like when I say that I'm anti-white, like that's what I'm saying that I'm against.
No, she's conflating things for political convenience. She's saying, I'm critiquing whiteness. Okay, so then why do you want to get rid of all white people? Because there's whiteness is also propagated by black people, non-black people, and non-white people as well. Like Asian people, Mexican people, you know, Hispanic people in large. There are many people that propagate whiteness. Why would you only kick out white people? It's because you just want to be convenient with your shit.
I think like white people as individuals, I've met like, I think people in general are really beautiful and incredible. And yeah, so, but I think like we need to be critical of what the white racial identity is, the history of it, and what it entails.
You'd say you know a
And
few
you
of the
think
good
that's
ones?
funny.
No. Well, no, I
Not
critique
the good ones.
whiteness.
I think that like people are really incredible. I think no matter where you look, you're going to find incredible, beautiful people. And I think that white people have an issue of racism at the same time. Like I don't think racism is about just being an entirely bad person. I think it's about being a part of his long history and being in the middle of that.
I was just wondering how you felt about black people who were racist against white people. Not whiteness.
Well, I think being anti-white, at least in the way that I'm describing, where it's being critical of the existence of like the white category of white people, how that was created as a caste system, I don't think that's racist. And I think a lot of times people say they're anti-white, like that's what they're talking about. I don't really know of anyone who's like, I'm anti-white because like white people are just like inherently bad. Like
You
people are
never
talking
seen
about
any
the
like
history of racism.
like white devil rhetoric, or like black people whose critiques of white people extend a little bit beyond systemic and a little more interpersonal, that kind of stuff?
I mean, I've seen the white devil stuff. I think people again are still talking about like years of systemic racism. Like I think when you get down to it and you like crack open, like why are people saying this? It goes down to years of systemic racism, and that's what is being talked about. I think it's like unfair to be like that's not it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, no, I just don't think that the context behind why a person is racist like makes it okay, really. But again, like, why are white people racist?
So you don't think it's okay for black people to be mad at white people for being racist because you think that's racist?
You can be mad at racists, and you can acknowledge that a lot of white people are racist, and you can critique whiteness. But if you dislike white people because they're white, then I'd say that's pretty racist, you know?
I don't think people dislike white people because they're white. I think people dislike white people because so many white people have an issue with racism, and then when you find out that they don't, it's actually a surprise.
Would you say a lot of conservatives aren't racist? They just have a problem with black culture, but they know like they have some good black friends, so like it's not black people. It's like, you know, they just have like a crime problem and trying to work with that.
No, I wouldn't say that.
All right, I wouldn't either. I think it's kind of weird to judge members of a racial group based on characteristics you ascribe.
You think it's weird for black people to think that if you're white, you're probably going to have an issue with racism? Like you think that's weird?
Look, whatever.
So there's a difference. She's trying it right now. If you're white, you probably have a difference with racism. So she's trying, dude, she is such a slimy little snake fuck, okay? She's saying if you're white, you probably have issues with race where you might be racist. Guess what? That applies to black people too. Not sure if you've ever met a black person, but they can tend to be pretty fucking racist, and not just against white people, okay? They can be a pretty racist bunch, all right? If you've ever been around black people, you would know that. But anyway, let's just target what we're specifically talking about. Black or white people probably, they'll tend to be racist. Saying that white people will probably end up being racist, let's assume we grant this. They'll probably end up being racist. Okay, granted. Does that mean then that I can get rid of all white people? No. Even if I wanted to just get rid of the racist white people, I would still be left with many, many white people. So her argument doesn't even work on the face of it, even if I grant it. Like, yeah, sure, a lot of white people are racist. Cool. You can't argue then that we ought to deport all of the white people because only a certain select of them are racist. But it doesn't even fucking work.
Decision you want to make, by definition, seeing of a person of a given race and judging them based on like conditions you associate with that group is racist. Like if a person was walking through Detroit,
whiteness sounds like Jewness. Which why are we pushing the idea that there's some metaphysical structure of whiteness? So usually what people are referencing, so I would argue a difference here. So usually it depends on what you mean, though. Usually what people are talking about when they're talking about whiteness, they're talking about certain ideas that hold up systemic racism, essentially, right? Propagating an idea of whiteness, white being like a preferred or justifiably preferred group inside of America or other countries, and countries in general, just the idea, right, should be upheld as the norm, the desirable
100D, listen, I saw some of you being
characterizations.
Racist in chat. I'm going to now ban each and every one of you right now. Fuck off, oppressors.
You're white yourself, geek. This is not going to work. So, like, I can't... So that would probably be what I would consider to be like a decent definition of whiteness without going too long into it, right? So I think that is fine to talk about that, right? Like whiteness in that category. I think whiteness has been poisoned when it comes to its political advocacy online by people like this chick. But I think that there is some merit to the actual underlying idea. There is a structure that exists that upholds white people being seen as a upper class in comparison to not just black people, but most other groups of people inside of America, right? There's certain systems that are set up there that do exist. Getting rid of those systems does not mean we even have to get rid of a single white person. And in fact, you can literally have not a single racist white person and still have that systemic racism, that systemic pro-whiteness exist. All people don't have to be racist for that system to still exist. It's just how the system operates in a specific way that reinforces that idea through policy or through certain actions. Like, for instance, we could talk about like voter ID and things like that. That perpetuate an idea that white people ought to be the people that get to have first say, have priority, or what have you.
Right? And saw a black guy and crossed the street because of it. You could argue there's a legitimate reason for that bias, but it's still
But
racist,
why
right?
is the name not race neutral? Because presumably, well, not presumably, because it's a structure of systemic racism that is supporting white people, i.e. whiteness. I don't know. It's that would be really it, right? There's a system in the West that supports systemic racism that tries to benefit white people. It doesn't benefit all white people in all ways, but it tries to. And yeah, that's what it would be.
No?
Right. Can you define better this system? I'm trying to see, because Asian Americans have higher salaries as median that do not have this system prefer Asian Americans. That's predominantly because Asian Americans tend to be immigrants, and immigrants tend to be more wealthy and well-educated. That's the reason for that to exist. Also, typically speaking, Asian cultures are going to be a lot more focused on getting people inside of America who would immigrate here the advantages that come with like things like immigration as well. So like the argument then would be, okay, but there's other groups of people that tend to be immigrants. Why don't they perform as well? And the reason why they don't, and by the way, just so you know, I think it was like Nigerian people, or is it Nigerian people, or is it Sudanese people? I forget who it is. Are like the like best off racial group in America because they like are all immigrants. Is it Nigerian? Oh, Nigerians. Yeah, they're all like immigrants, highly educated fucking immigrants that come here. And, you know, obviously Nigeria is in a black area. A lot of them are black because they're all coming over. They're all like a bunch of rich chads, okay? So, like, yeah, that would be the same reason. So it wouldn't necessarily be that, like, because then you would, I guess, if you wanted to make that argument, you have to say that the structure benefits Nigerian people.
When white people have a racial bias against black people, it's coming from like years of dehumanizing black people. It's like racial stereotypes that were created where these white people don't actually know any black people. And when black people are criticizing white people for their racism, it comes from like knowing.
I'm a STEM guy, so I have a hard time without variable analysis of how to quantify and define what parts of the system uphold this perceived racial difference. Are you asking me for them? I'm assuming you're asking me for them in that specific way. So what we would talk about, again, is things like voter ID, right? With the many black people or non-white people not having access to IDs, either because of education and understanding how to get one, or just simply because they don't have the money or financial resources to be able to go out and get one. They don't have an ID, so it's going to be limited access. There was literally a case that found that there was, what state was it? Was it like North Carolina? That was actively trying to participate in discriminatory practices that were explicitly made to make it so that way black people had a lower efficacy.
People being weird.
Efficacy of voting, meaning that they were found to be targeting black people and finding ways to make sure black people couldn't vote, and the way that they went about it was like through voter ID. That was literally, they were like, we need to find a way to make sure less black people vote, and their idea was voter ID, right? And so that tells you how like these systems work. And so you can get like voter ID and other voter restrictions that would be harder to make black people vote. Gerrymandering, making it significantly harder for these people to be able to get proper efficacy, and things like that. The criminal justice system is a large one, and the way that it's structured and set up can have some racial bias, right? Where you could talk about the crack versus powder cocaine and shit like that, and how it wasn't entirely perpetuated by race, but there's definitely a racial slant, there seems to be, when it comes to, or racial motivations, there seems to be when it comes to the prosecution of these two drugs. That kind of stuff.
White people having the experiences after experience of racism from white people. It's a very different context, and that's kind of my point here. Is like the context of why
But it's
these
still
things are
bad.
being said is really different. Why is it bad for a black person to not want to be around a white person because they think that they might be racist? Like, why is that bad? Like, why does a black person owe that white person their time to determine if they're racist or not?
Do you see how this logic could be used against a lot of other racial groups?
Bro, you can't get a tattoo, buy a cigarette, or drive a car without an ID. If you can't drive a vehicle, ain't no way voting gonna help your ass. You know what's really interesting? You're wrong, because I am somebody that didn't have an ID. And I'm literally a living proof that you are wrong. I don't drive. I don't smoke, because fuck smoking. That shit will fucking kill you. I don't drink, because that shit can be addictive, and I don't want to do that, and that shit will fucking kill you. And so, yeah. And I had no need for an ID until I went out and voted. So, like, you're just fucking wrong, buddy. I don't know what to tell you. I'm literally living proof that you're fucking wrong.
I think it can be used if you ignore the context of systemic racism.
But the
I think if
context
you
doesn't change the
systemic
reality.
racism,
But this
it
is what I mean.
does.
You've done this
Context
whole
matters. Like,
the whole convo. We've done this too.
the whole convo, I've been like, the context matters. That's
not
why
the
there's not
context
a
doesn't
answer.
matter. The
Travel?
context
Nope.
doesn't.
I fucking hate travel. Why the fuck would I travel? That shit costs a bunch of money. Fuck that shit. I'm gonna sit in my chair and play video games all day, and that's what I've been doing, on God, and that's what I'll be doing for the next fucking 50 years of my goddamn life. That's base as fuck.
An excuse. So you keep saying stuff like, okay,
Why does the context of systemic racism not excuse this? Why does that not excuse that there are black people who don't want to talk to white people because of racism? Why does that context not matter?
okay, fine. How about this one? Do you think it's racist for a
No,
gay white
no,
person?
answer the question. Why does it not matter?
The context
You made
matters.
me answer your questions, and then you told me that I don't understand and can't listen.
The
And then you
context-
like, infer that I was like stupid.
Did you think that there should be some kind of national ID like in EU countries? 100% I do. I think there should be. I think everybody ought to have an ID, but that doesn't mean that everybody does have an ID. Everybody has the same access to the availability to have an ID and shit like that. I also think we should have automated tax systems
Do
inside
you
of the United
inherently
States.
hate me just because I'm white, right-wing and Christian? I personally don't hate you. I would give you a firm handshake and bang your sister.
Okay, dude. I don't have a sister, but... do you have an ID now? If so, how hard was it to get it? Actually, extremely difficult for me, but I'm kind of a separate case. The reason why it was extremely difficult for me is because I waited too long. After a certain period of time, they're just like, dude, you have no like ID, you have no like extra identification, you have no like driver's license or anything like that. We're gonna need like a lot more information, because they literally thought I was an illegal immigrant. That's what they thought. They're like, okay, yeah, we think you're undocumented, so we're gonna need like a blood sample, semen sample, tissue sample, hair sample, fucking cum sample, fucking DNA, triple fucking auxiliary fucking tube samples. So yeah, they literally thought like, oh yeah, this guy's definitely an illegal immigrant. This guy wasn't born here. No, I just literally I jerk off all day and play video games. That's what I do.
Something that said that I was laughed out of my college classes.
No,
I'm honest. Answer my question. How about that?
I think you're racist, not stupid. I think that so the context.
I do not have a social security card. My mother lost it. After I don't know what the fuck she did with it. She lost it.
Is important when it comes to understanding these issues, but I don't think that makes it okay for an oppressed person to be racist.
Cum and semen the same thing? Yeah, you're a child. I see, young one. You're confused. You do not know the arts of the coomer.
Can give you another example.
I'm just memeing.
Do you think
Why
it's racist?
is it racist when a black person has experienced racism time and time again from white people, and they're like, you know what? I just don't want to be around white people because I keep on having this experience of racism.
What about white people
is
who
that
got mugged by
racist?
black people multiple times and don't want to have that?
Applying for a new social security card is not easy. It is not, actually. I've been trying to do it for a very long time. Okay, so let me tell you how fucking hard it is to do this shit, okay? It may be easy for you. It's not easy for me at all, okay? The reason why is because I haven't been participating in a job with a W-2 in a very long time, okay? I've been working either as an independent contractor or what have you. It's really fucking hard for me because of several things. I don't own a car, so I don't have a car loan. I don't own a house, so I don't get utility bills and things like that. This is all what they ask you for. So I've been trying to apply for a social security card for a while. You know what they tell me? Okay, what we're going to need is we're going to need a utility bill, or we're going to need a driver's license like insurance thing, or we're going to need fuck. What else? They need, forget what else they need. Yeah, so the W-2 and fuck, there was one more thing that I forgot what they need. Any of these. And the last one I also didn't have. I forgot what the other one was. But I didn't have it. No, it wasn't birth certificate. You can't do it just with a birth certificate. I know because I have a fucking birth certificate. So I've been trying this entire time. Yeah, a utility bill. Yes. A lease. Yeah, like a lease or something. Or yes, a passport. That's what it was, a passport. Or like a passport, like a higher piece of identification, right? You need an ID and you need a birth certificate, but you also need one of those extra things. And I don't have any of those. I don't fly anywhere. I don't go anywhere. My mother lost my fucking social security card. I haven't been W-2'd and I don't own any property, so I don't have a utility bill. So I'm fucked. So you know what I have to do? I have to figure out, I've been talking with my girlfriend to try and get me officially under a fucking utility bill so that way I can have a utility bill in my name. I've also talked about like trying to get certain insurance just so I can get it in my fucking name. This shit is not fucking easy. I've been trying to do this shit for months, right? It's not fucking easy to be able to do at all. But yeah, that isn't something that all black people are going to experience. Obviously, there's tons of black people that are W-2'd, so it's going to be a lot easier. But it's not super easy, no.
Experience again.
I think it's fine if you've been mugged by black people.
What about bank statements? Guess what? I try and open a bank account. You know what they fucking ask for? A social security card. That's the problem, dude. I'm fucked. I'm absolutely fucked. And it's so fucking annoying. Oh my God. I'm so fucking pissed. I'm not gonna get into this fucking shit. Holy shit. All of it's a fucking loop. You need a social security card. What do you need for that? A bank account, bank statement. How do I get a bank statement? Well, in order to open a bank account, you need a fucking social security card. Dude, like what the fuck? And I'm just fucked. I'm fucked right now because everybody thinks that I'm an illegal fucking immigrant with no documentation. So I need fucking every goddamn sample of everything in the fucking world, dude. How do you pay taxes? I'm trying to. That's my problem. I'm trying to actively pay taxes. I haven't been, in the past, I paid taxes 1 year because I worked 2 fucking jobs paying taxes. And then other than that, I've been helping my brother be able to sell fucking stock memes and shit like that. So he has no fucking problem. He goes through this shit and fucking skates through that. That's how I made a lot of my money early on, is helping my brother sell stocks. But it was all in his name. So I was technically unemployed for like 20 fucking years. And everybody's like, yeah, no human's gonna be unemployed, not in education for 20 fucking years. Yeah, fuck that shit. And then so everybody thinks I'm an illegal fucking immigrant, so I need every bit of fucking information. God knows I'm gonna probably go into the IRS place, IRL, and have to sing the goddamn national anthem and do that fucking quiz to make sure I'm actually a citizen. Okay? So like that's where I'm at right now, and it's fucking annoying.
You don't have that experience.
So you stop being around black people? You don't want to be around like black neighborhoods anymore because you think they're like dangerous? Are you okay with that? Because if you are, you're being consistent.
Most black people are going to actually love you.
President of the United States, dude. I mean, yeah, I'm going to have to run the fucking gauntlet, dude.
That was the thing. And I think most white people are going to be... Most white people have an issue with racism, yes.
Have an issue with isn't necessarily...
Most white people are racist.
There's a big difference between being directly...
No, I've been transparent. I've been back and forth with the IRS. They know what's up. They know what's going on and shit like that. It's fine. It's fine. And even if this was the case, I made $5,000 last year. Nobody in the IRS is coming after somebody, even if I don't pay my taxes, that didn't pay $5,000. And either way, I think I have called them, no joke, 50 times. They always hung up. They've been busy for months. I've called them 50 times in the last month trying to get my fucking statements worked out. Doesn't work. 50 times. Every single time, call back later, we're busy. Call back later, we're busy. Come inside of my ass, because we're too busy. So, yeah, I have it all on record. I'll fight any case that I get, and I would easily win that in any fucking court that exists. I've been trying for so fucking long to get this shit to work, but all of them are way too busy. I'll fucking chop their ass up in court.
Interpersonally racist and having like complicated sociological biases as a product of growing up in a racist society.
That is racism. Yes, having complicated racial biases because you grew up in a racial society is racism. Yes,
as is wanting to avoid white people because you think they're racist. Look, do you think it's okay for a white?
I just don't even. I can't believe
because
I'm like arguing about racism.
No, but the thing is, you aren't even distinguishing between these two things. The only thing you're saying is it's okay when black people do it because we're oppressed. That's been your answer to everything we've said.
My distinguishment is that there's systemic racism. My distinguishment is that when black people don't want to be around.
I'm not talking about systemic racism.
I'm saying that when black people, I'm talking about systemic racism, which is like the point of what we're talking about when we talk about racism. We're talking about racism when we're talking about people being...
No, it is not. Yule, thank you for the 5 gifted. Another 5 grifted.
Well, systemic racism, I would argue, is a lot more relevant than just people
I'm just talking
being
about
white people.
Interpersonal racism of bias against people because they belong to groups. Look, here's a question, okay? What about a white gay person? Do you think it's okay for a white gay man to not want to be around black people?
Uh-oh.
Generally, yeah. Maybe if there was a good example that I could think of, but it's probably racist. I don't really know the context, but probably.
Well, you don't think it's, why would it be racist? Black people are more homophobic than white people by a pretty significant amount. So maybe they've had experiences growing up where they're called like a pansy by black guys, and now, you know, their bias is a product of, you know, a lifetime of oppression.
Oh, Dr.
Yeah, I mean, I think
What?
in that context,
Thank you for the 5 gifted. Thank you for 6 total subs, including your own. I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're a gay person and like you've been around black people and they're like been really homophobic. I think that's valid. Like I said, I can't.
She's literally arguing for segregating.
You're the most successful anarcho-capitalist I've ever seen.
Why was that like ear rape? Thank you for the 100 bits, and I'm not an anarcho-capitalist for anybody wondering.
I'm sure there's exceptions to it being racist, and you just thought of one, in my opinion.
Okay, so I guess you think racism is okay as long as it's being justified in the context of oppression?
No, I don't think that racism is okay if it's in the context of oppression. I think that people have these experiences of systemic oppression, and not wanting to have this experience anymore is valid. Like in the example of a gay person not wanting to be around like black people who are homophobic. I think there is like a rampant issue of homophobia among a lot of black people, and it's like this person just doesn't want to face systemic oppression anymore.
Okay,
and I think,
what about TERFs? Trans exclusionary radical feminists, who many of whom are victims of sexual violence from men, and as a product of oppression they've experienced, sexism they've experienced from men, they think that trans women are infiltrators trying to break up their spaces and make them more vulnerable to assault in the future. Do you think that it's okay for TERFs to be transphobic?
No, I think that's like mischaracterizing trans people. I don't think most trans people are doing that.
I don't think most black people are homophobic, most white people are racist, or most black people are criminals.
Thank you, Vaush. Holy shit, thank you.
It's never been a problem before.
I think there's like a lot of issues of homophobia with black people, but I guess there are a lot of black people who aren't. So
and there are a lot of,
the point is like,
there are a lot of male-bodied people who attack
there's a gay
women.
person who like doesn't want to experience homophobia, and is like, I've experienced homophobia a lot.
I was gonna say, yeah, there's a lot of male body. Like, come on, like this is gonna, like, you're just justifying. She's justifying the gauntlet: transphobia, homophobia. I mean, you name it.
And they want to avoid that situation. I think it's really different than like a person who doesn't want to interact with people because like they think that like all black people are thugs based on a stereotype.
But what about the wait? It's not a stereotype that people who are assigned male at birth are way more likely to engage in sexual violence against women. That's not a stereotype at all. That's a mathematical fact.
No, it's about the stereotype of black people being thugs. Like,
no, I know.
There's all these stereotypes that people have about black people, not from knowing them.
No,
and I think if someone wants to like avoid a situation where like they could be homophobic, experience homophobia, like I can understand that.
So, but are TERFs justified then? Because their bigotry is a product of a lifetime of sociological oppression against them from, for the most part, male-bodied people. So they take that and they internalize that and they beam that back out at everyone who's male-bodied.
Are you saying that? But like, is the demographic of people that they're experiencing violence from trans people?
Well, in the past, you haven't cared about how likely it is that you experience any of the group stereotypes that you're assigning. You've just said that it's okay as long as the bias is a product of sociological oppression, which TERFs, because most of them are women, have experienced. So I'm testing your consistency here because TERFs are an example of an oppressed group of people, assuming they're women, who use their experience of oppression to attack another marginalized group.
And the answer would be yes, over male presenting people or man passing or presenting people. But this would be the only way that this could work is if we present the TERF argument only from a passing perspective, which of course it isn't. TERF's arguments go deeper than just passing, but I would still be curious to hear their answer if that was the case.
I think it's wrong. Like, for example, like if I think an example of like a gay person, if like a gay person just started saying like all black people are homophobic, I think that would be a very racist statement. But I think if you're saying like I've had the experience of being in black spaces where black people are homophobic and I don't want to be around that, I think that's a different story. I don't think it's like fair for
I don't want to be around that and kick all black people out of the country. Hold her to this. I really hope he does.
For TERFs to paint trans people as people who are attackers when that's just not what trans people are. So,
well, I'm sure some trans people
that I'm talking about is systemic racism, where it's like there are structures in place that have empowered people to oppress people. Like there's systemic structures that make it really hard for people to be trans without just getting oppressed. There's systemic structures that just make it hard to be black, and that's like built into our system.
And hard to be a woman.
Like the point of what we're talking. And hard to be a woman. There's like all these things.
Can I ask you that?
Racism. Let me just finish this thought. Is that okay? So it's like there's all these structures that make it really hard to exist as a person. And so my point is that like the homophobia or racism or like the point we're talking about is the oppression that we're talking about are people having to deal with systemic oppression. It's like if it's not coming from like these systems of structures that have like gone on for hundreds of years, then people are just being rude or
This proves horseshoe exists. So I think the idea isn't that. So it depends on what you mean by horseshoe. So I don't agree with the idea that the farther left you go, the more like back around you come to the right. The like horseshoe-esque in that sense. I think there is a limit to it. Like for instance, I wouldn't say Marxist-Leninism is more left than anarcho-communism. I wouldn't say that at all. So I wouldn't say that, like, while I do believe Marxist-Leninism is closer to fascism, especially than anarcho-communism, and what have you, so it would fit the horseshoe. I wouldn't say that's farther left. Right? Maybe that's me just pushing back on what have you under the guise of, like, the left, but this is definitely horseshoe. They've gone too far into radicalizing the belief that, like, an oppressed group can do whatever the fuck they want to an oppressor group to the point where they've literally just reversed Uno card their way back into ethnocentrism or of other forms of eugenics or hyper-nationalism.
It's still
we need to
unpleasant,
have a talk with Chud Logic about what?
It's not the same thing as having to deal with these systems of oppression.
But it's still
and
bad.
That's that time.
Isn't it that both extremes tend to be authoritarian? I don't think it's necessarily that, is it? I mean, we could define it however we like. My understanding of horseshoe is just that at the extreme ends, they tend to be similar. Now, if you want to say that Marxist-Leninism is an extreme end of leftism, I don't necessarily see that way. But if you define it that way, then yeah, 100%, then that would work.
It's still bad to be bigoted,
About
even if
this
you're not.
drama? Wait, is Chud on the opposite opinion? There's no shot.
Reinforcing systemic oppression, right?
Well, I think my point is that like bigotry, the main issue with it is that it's enforcing systemic oppression. And I think there's bigotries that don't do that are still looked down on. But I generally, when I think people being bigoted, I think them being sexist or homophobic
Is
or racist
Chud
or da-da-da-da.
live?
Like those people are enforcing these systems of oppression. And like that's what's so egregious about it, is that we're fighting the system constantly.
I think this fits, I don't know the profile perfectly, because it doesn't seem like you care very much about like people in power. The concept, like to you, it's dualistic. There's the oppressor and the oppressed, and action against the oppressor is implicitly more justified, just like contextualized through nuance, whereas any action done the other way around is essentialized, direct, and for which all members of that group are morally culpable. This to me is basically the conservative stereotype of leftism. Is it really that wrong to say it's wrong for black people to be racist against white people, or like not all white people in South Africa are colonized, or whatever else? It just seems like you jump through so many hoops, so you never let go of that one point you want to hold on to, which is the inherent moral inferiority of the oppressor, or to be more accurate, members of the oppressor group. But in reality, I am no more morally culpable for any of these systems than any other person who lives in my country, oppressed or oppressor. We're born into them. That's how systems work. I'm not the president. I don't think you are.
Yeah, but he has
we don't
not
control them
watched the
directly.
whole
We're affected
thing
by
yet.
them. And types of analysis like what you're engaging in
Wait,
are
so just give me a clip. Give me a clip of some of the things that he's saying. I want to hear it.
like second wave feminist here. Modern
I don't want to interrupt him watching the video to insert my opinion on the video, only to find out that, like, I just interrupted him for no reason.
intersectional analysis is the reason why, for example, we're capable of recognizing that feminism is for men too, because men suffer from a lot of patriarchal stereotypes.
Give me an
But how
actual
white people
clip.
can actually be harmed by the legacy of colonialism, because in a way, racism was used as an apparatus to justify the economics of bourgeoisie control. If you look at it a little bit past like oppressor-oppressed, you realize that there are underlying systems that have so little to do with like the interpersonal. And that's why, given all of that, I just feel like we have to take a step back, like take a deep breath and go like, yeah, some black people basically are just doing racism, but from the other side. Not most of them, very few, but it happens. Yeah, there are women who just hate men. They're a minority, but they exist. Yeah, this, yeah, that. And we can just take a deep breath, and once we get that acknowledgement out of the way, we can work on the real meaningful project of fixing all the problems people are so mad about, you know?
So you're saying that if we can like admit that there are women who hate men,
Clockwork,
just like
thank
in
you for
general, that
gifting
we
us
can like
up.
finally work on the real issue.
On the left, I unironically think a lot of people need to acknowledge that fact, because pretending that it doesn't exist is what kept the left from recognizing the threats of TERFs for so long. TERFs have been around for a while, but the online left didn't even acknowledge their existence for ages, because all of the obvious behavioral patterns of their oppression, like constantly judging male-bodied people, were so evident to real activists, but so invisible to people who were afraid of criticizing women.
So you're saying that like we need to defend, or not defend, you're saying that we should have been critical of women who arbitrarily hate men because it just allowed TERFs to grow because we weren't critical of them.
Yeah, well, also they hate men, which sucks because dudes rock, you know?
Dudes rock. Rock
So like
solid.
basically, if we had just criticized women who arbitrarily hate men, then TERFs wouldn't be a thing.
I think that if we recognized a lot of man-hating online got kind of treated like jokingly, and still does, you know?
True.
But if you look under the hood, there's a lot of really problematic shit behind that. Not just with trans people, but a lot of toxic femininity too, you know? And I think a lot of that flourished in left spaces because we mistakenly allowed those people in as if they were feminists when they weren't. They were just anti-male.
I would agree with this, and I would also agree with this with like black issues, and that's why this person can hold this opinion and not be afraid to show her face. I genuinely think that's the case. And this is the reason why you see a lot more white nationalists who carry the exact same opinions hiding their face. It's because this is seen as more acceptable online because she's black, unironically.
I think I don't really know enough about like how TERFs came about in order to like have an opinion on if like we needed to stop people who just like arbitrarily hated men from being able to talk. But I think I can see what you're getting at there in some ways. Like I remember like there was like this whole thing a few years ago where people like sat on a chair and then they like had like a gap or something. There was like guys like setting, I think it's called man spreading. And I kind of thought that was like kind of weird because it was like, well, you can still sit down in that seat. It's just crammed. And it kind of just sucks because it's public transportation. And I kind of thought that was like a little bit strange, but I'm trying. Yeah, I think I just don't know. I think I just don't really know enough about how TERFs came. Like all of a sudden there was like TERFs everywhere, and I was like, fuck this.
It was a really like performative and liberal denunciation of like male-bodied people, which is weird because A, any criticisms you make there are going to affect trans women, you know, dick and balls, leg spread, et cetera, et cetera. And B, it doesn't really change anything beyond enforcing a kind of broader satirical. It's like when people laugh about men suffering, you know. Again, I don't think men have it worse than women. I'm not here to bitch about it. I just think that holistically recognizing that stuff gives us a path forward. And I think about race stuff too. I'm not going to sit here and
you just have that back in because I'm not as familiar with the TERF stuff, but if you could talk about like the race stuff.
I think that there are a lot of, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say a lot of. When I say a lot of, I mean like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction. But I think there's at least an intellectual tradition among Black Americans to disregard a lot of valid intersectional analysis in favor of something that feels more retributive, you know? I don't think that's explicitly said to be that. I don't think this is like...
disregard a lot of analysis for, can you say that part again?
Oh, like intersectional analysis in favor of like retributive justice, you know? Adopting the same language about white people that a lot of second wave feminists took about men, where, you know, like political lesbianism among second wave feminists, like Andrea Dworkin was one. It's not so much about saying yes to women as it is no to men. It's something like that, you know? And a lot of it seems... Oh, look, I'm not going to pretend it's some threat to the union or whatever. Black people don't have the political power to do real harm in that way, and even if they did, it's such a tiny minority. It's not even like a real problem. It's just much like tankies and lefty groups. I just think there's this nugget of bad info that lefties don't call out because they're worried about being problematic. And I can get that because optically, me talking about race with you for 2.5 hours probably doesn't look great for me either. But yeah, I don't know. I just think we could be more open with those conversations. If it's conversations you want, then I am super in favor of conversations. You know?
Yeah, I'm kind of a little bit I'm just kind of like in a little bit of like a loss of like why it's wrong if Black people like joke about like white people being racist. I mean, like I think there's obvious exceptions, but I think like most of the time, like the jokes about like white people come down to calling out some sort of structure of racism that white people are often really ignorant towards. And I just don't understand like how that all ties in.
I don't have a problem with that. It's more like, you know, the Mayo side joke?
No.
Like it's like Mayo, like white people, you know, like Mayo side now, like kill the whiteys, whatever. I think it was more popular a couple years ago than it is now. And I used to make those jokes all the time. Early on in my stream, I made them all the time, but I made them less and less because I'd see these Twitter threads where people would talk about Mayo side now. But at first, when I saw them, they were obvious jokes. Like a white guy would wear like a button-up shirt, bell bottoms, and a vest to a dance floor at a bar and do disco, and it's like Mayo side now, and God willing, you know. But then later on, I saw people saying Mayo side now on tweets of interracial couples celebrating their mixed race child, and I thought, okay, hold on, wait. That's not a joke. That's just something you believe. And I realized that what I had originally thought was 100% a joke was actually like 90% a joke, and that a small minority was legitimately expressing anti-white racism through the veneer of...
I think that right-wing Sanabi fan guy is a... sorry, I was looking at his logs. I think he's a troll.
Edgy, irreverent comedy. And invariably, anti-white racism from Black people usually hits mixed race people the hardest because of... I don't know, it just seems to. And I noticed that, and I got uncomfortable with it because it felt like I was giving cover to people the same way a lot of edgy jokes about women give cover to real misogyny. I say, still making edgy jokes about women. So stuff like that makes me worry a little bit, you know? I'm not saying like bad jokes, I don't know.
Sorry, I was focused on
like interracial
actually
couples
watching
is like
the
there's
thing.
an issue with Black people where like they don't want to date their own race because they think that, oh, so your eyes are really wide, can you hear me?
Oh, no, I can. I'm sorry. I was reacting. I can hear you.
Okay. Oh, okay. So there's an issue where a lot of Black people don't even want to date people in their own race because of like internalized racism. And so I think that's why like Black people are really harsh on other Black people when like they date interracially, because that's happening a lot of times, but it's not always what's happening.
Yeah, I get that. And I just want to be clear, by the way, there's an underlying logic to this that I get because a lot of it also has to do with Black people in certain communities lashing out against Black people who talk like me. Notice this, because I grew up in LA, and LA is right next to East LA and Koreatown, and there are plenty of minority groups there. And there are Black people who will get called race traitors by other Black people for talking like me and not talking, I don't know, in AAV or whatever. And I think that's inherently shitty because I think you talk how you're going to talk, you know. But I do understand the reflexive feeling of, I don't know, like you're like this reflexive like worry of selling out, I guess, that some people hit other people with in the Black community. I think these things are real problems. I'm okay with talking about them.
I know,
think the conversation's
Kiwi
good.
Paladin.
There's like an extreme to this where people will start saying it's actually okay to be mean to Black people for talking like me, or it's okay to be anti-interracial marriage because it's part of the broader war against white supremacy. And that's when things get too far. And I just hope we can not do that, you know?
I mean, on that point, like people have accused me of like being like kind of like race traitor because of the way that I talk, but this is just how I talk because again, I was adopted and I was raised by white people. But at the same time, when people accuse me of that, even though it's like a frustrating experience because I'm like, well, no, I'm not like a race traitor. It's also like I understand like why people will think that because there's like a lot of Black people who code switch. There's a lot of Black people who think because they talk the way that I do that they're superior. And so like for me, when people assume that, I still feel frustrated, but I'm also kind of like, well, fine. If you get to know me, you'll see that I'm not. And if you don't, I understand. Like, I kind of think that's a space that like it would be really helpful if white leftists made for Black people, where it was like understanding their anger instead of being like triggered by it. Like, going like, where's this anger coming from? What's happening here? And instead of taking it personally, like understand like people are responding to racism constantly.
Don't you think it would make it a little bit easier if you did all that without saying that you were going to kick them out of your this country and take all their stuff? Don't you think it would make it a little bit easier to open up that dialogue if that was the case? Maybe, just maybe.
And to give them space for that.
I'm totally down for understanding it, but you have to criticize it too, you know? Like, I mean, I understand the concerns of neo-Nazis because I've argued with so many of them. I'm not saying those are neo-Nazis. I'm just saying.
Let me use some different examples other than neo-Nazis to like make a point. Might like help sometimes.
I've argued with so many of them. The point that I'm making is that I think even the most like pernicious and horrible political beliefs can be understood. QAnon or whatever. I understand like the foundations that are being laid. I get that. I just disagree with them severely. Obviously, the response to these has to be very different. I don't think that your average fucking neo-Nazi should be addressed and treated in the same way that like a Black person who has mixed feelings about their son playing Undertale or doing some other white shit. I don't know. I don't think these are exactly the same thing. I'm just saying that the basis of understanding should be there, and then atop that you build the criticism, right?
I mean, I think for me, like the way that I approach it, like obviously everyone's different, but for me, like, let me give like a little bit of background where I come from. Like I come from a place where like I had a lot of internalized racism. Like the family that adopted me really thought that like me growing up around white people was gonna make me better as opposed to being around my black family. And so like I really grew up like, you know, not liking black people, trying to distance myself. Like I'm half Chinese. And so I would be like, oh, like I'm half Chinese. And like I was always talking about that to like distance myself from white people. And there was a point where I realized like the reason why I wanted to distance myself from white people was because of growing up around racism. So for me, like when I see black people and they're like really frustrated about like when they're frustrated at me because they think I'm like code switching, like or not code switching, like I think I'm superior. Like there was a time in my life where like I really did think that it was better that I talked this way. And I think that when black people are suspicious of me, I think they actually have every right to be suspicious of me. It's like I'm an ally to other black people and I'm pro-black, but I think they have every right because of their experiences of racism.
Not an ally to me, that's for sure.
Because they have met so many other black people.
I literally consider her political opinions to make her my enemy. I mean, she's a fascist. She's like one and the same with my enemy. It's what she is, period. Like, you're black. Okay. Cool, I guess, but your ideology is like pretty fascist, bro.
People who think they're better, I think they have a right to be suspicious, and if they end up getting to know me, realizing I'm not that person.
Sorry, I use bro pretty gender neutrally. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be doing that. I'm really glad this person, like, hopefully wouldn't take that as an offense. I don't care. They're not going to see that.
Then great, but if they don't, I completely understand because like the amount of racist shit that black people deal with on a regular basis is so intense, and I understand like why they come to these conclusions.
Man, you have way the fuck more patience. I don't give a if people assume bad shit about me, I'll be mean as shit to them. I don't give a fuck.
I mean, that's kind of what I'm saying is like the issue though.
Well, that
like,
to
you
me,
could just like try to understand for a little bit.
Well, that to me
fit better. I don't know, when you're literally talking about excising a group of people based on their I mean, I guess they're not hyper authoritarian. I don't think authoritarian would necessarily be it because they haven't said anything that's specifically it's implied anti-democratic or anything like that. I mean,
imagine being a race.
Ethnocentric. They're ethnocentric, and so they'd be one and the same with my enemy. There you go.
Angry at them.
Well, that to me is, I'm trying to be disrespectful here, is your issue. You should be more proud of who you are, in my opinion. I don't think you're
I'm proud of who I am.
Well, unapologetically so. You know, like a unstoppable tidal wave that smashes against everything in front of you. Because I think that there's this constant I don't know, a lot of people feel really guilty about who and what they are in left spaces because we're so aware of the oppression that we receive and we inflict. And I guess there are different ways to handle that. I understand where your feelings come from. There are ways to
I don't feel guilty though. I feel angry.
Right, not guilty, but I mean with the understanding why people might distrust you, you know? Like to me, sociologically, I understand why a lot of people in the online left are going to distrust me because of my affect and because, oh my God, there are so many clips of me out there. But I can't focus on those people because I have a job to do and you have a job to do. And I think
if your job is like trying to like be anti-racist, you know, anti-homophobic, anti-da-da-da, like, you know, specifically against these systems of oppression, then it is your job to listen, to understand.
To listen, yes, but if you believe what you believe, to apologize. Or sorry, not to apologize, to disagree, to adopt the positions you think are most valid. And in your case,
I mean, I think that like there's a lot of things that you don't actually understand about racism. I think there's like so much, and like even me as a black
the irony.
Black person, there's so much that I don't understand about racism. Like
that's for damn sure. I think that's probably the best take I've heard all night from her.
I am not the ambassador for black people by any means. I can talk about my own racist experiences, and that's it. Being black in America is the same as being black in Africa. I don't even have the experience of growing up in poverty. And it's like I have so much to listen to and try to understand.
Wait, okay. Wait, did she say that
being black in America is the same as being black in Africa? I don't even have the experience of growing up in poverty. And it's like
I see. She didn't have the experience of growing up in poverty. I'm not trying to say that's where that came from, but she probably just spent a lot of time on Twitter. That makes a little bit more sense. Things are starting to kind of make a little bit more sense. I'm not saying you got to be poor.
Should Vaush be treating her this charitably?
It wouldn't surprise me. I think he's trying to do it in order to like bridge the gap and get people that would be on the fence to agree with him. For sure. I wouldn't be. I think she would have pissed me off probably too much by now. I think this person spent a lot of time on Twitter probably growing up.
Have so much to listen to and try to understand, and I think that's like the point. Like there's so much that we don't know, and my point is like in the form of debates, you're not actually going to learn a lot about almost anything. Like what did we learn today? What did we learn about colonization?
I learned why
nothing.
I learned why you think the way you do because with
like,
respect. Well, I just want to say
for like 2 hours. Like we could have watched a video just talking about it, learn so much more.
It's true.
There's so much. My point is like there's so much that we don't know, and we actually like have a lot of listening. We probably should listen more than we talk. I think.
Charlie is acting cringe. What is he saying? Give me a clip. Don't say he's acting cringe. Give me a clip.
I could have gone to the movies. I could have gone to the beach. Look, debate is not a phenomenal means by which you arrive at the truth. Debates are fundamentally entertainment, and I've always recognized that. I try to learn a lot off stream because having a chat around to jerk me off whenever I say something I think is smart or criticize me when I don't know it's not conducive. But with regards to the productivity of this discourse, I think there was something at least meaningful to me, which I feel like I understand where you're coming from a little bit here. I do think that you assign much more charitability to the oppressed over the oppressor when it comes to the degree of intrinsic association with sociological problems. And it seems like a lot of that stems from you again, pardon me, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but it's something that seems to be the case, you compensating for earlier experiences in your life where you felt like essential elements of your identity were being rubbed off of you, right? It's not like I don't do what I do.
Did this turn into a Dr. K fucking video? What the fuck happened here at the back end, dude? This like this like at the fucking the seventh the last like eighth of this fucking video turned into a Dr. K thing. All right, let's do it, bro. Let's get it.
Because of my childhood experiences. Huh?
It's like I learned about how messed up things were, and then I kept learning, and then I kept learning, and then I kept learning, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't really know anything. So maybe I should just like listen for like a long time. And I think that because of racism, people don't want to listen to Black people. Like I think like even in this conversation, like seeing the way that Black people are being silenced, like this is why I'm so frustrated about the thing that happened with like No Name, because No Name was like saying like my tweets are not for white people, and then you called her a segregationist.
I'm sure
it's like seeing like a lot of this is what I'm saying, a lot of white people think that like Black people are trying to get revenge. Like Black people just want equality, and Black people can even talk about their frustrations without getting shit on.
Different Black people want lots of different things. And by the way,
I think most Black people want equality. And what I'm saying is like when people talk about their frustrations, Black people see that they need their own space, they get shit on. And I think your rhetoric is just a continuation of that. And that's why I'm so upset.
But there are also a lot of white people who want equality, who don't know how to best achieve it. And in doing so, they promote a kind of liberal colorblindness, where they think the best way to achieve equality is by not even talking about race. The desire to achieve equality is not the same as having a good action plan to get there. And Black people, same as any other group of people, don't get born with political science degrees. So it's not surprising to me that I'm going to find disagreements with people of any racial group on subjects like this. And I will never look at it. I'll never look at a take. I'll never look at a political perspective that I disagree with and hold off on criticizing it because of the race of the person making it. That to me has always seemed like incredibly patronizing. You know what I mean? Like some white aficionado sipping champagne and leaving it to the comments. To me, it's very, very weird. I think that you should be willing to.
He only does that for economic issues. I have my critiques of Vaush's economic shit, but he's really based on this men's issues. So a lot of Black issues, a lot of men's issues, as well as what else is he really based? I don't know. There was one other big one that I really liked. Oh yeah, tankies. He's super based on his hatred of tankies. I really like. I think these are phenomenal things that he does really, really well.
No matter who they come from. And I will not back off my point that a lot of the rhetoric that I think you have used and that No Name used is problematic to me. But I don't think that me thinking it's problematic is part of some
trans
rejection.
Issues? Oh yeah, I think he does pretty. I haven't seen anything objectionable about that. I don't think so. Yeah, I think trans issues as well. Yeah.
Of racial equality, like because I advocate for that all the time through fairly revolutionary means too. I just think that sometimes there are elements of this that are pernicious and should be corrected. And I don't think the race of the people doing the criticizing or receiving the criticism changes that equation.
All right, I think what you're saying right now sounds very reasonable. And I think in practice, like the way that these terms get thrown around, the way that like say Andrew's like just accused of starting a race war, like these are like really heavy accusations. And it's like people just saying stuff like, people like point out the racial issues on the left, people point out the racial divide. It's like, if those issues can't be engaged with without literally jumping to these extremes, then it's gonna make it really hard for those people to talk about this. It's like, I think you can disagree with people without having to like throw out those terms. Like, I don't really believe that those terms are appropriate, but I also think you don't necessarily understand what people are saying. Like in this conversation, like again, like I was compared to Hitler. It's just like, that's kind of an extreme.
Well, I mean, when we're talking about, the right to self-determination and, the union of the people to excise I think it's one of the reasons why I make these comparisons is because I don't think a lot of people realize how close everything we do and talk about is to fascism. A lot of people think fascism is this super far off political ideology that's a mile away from American liberal democracy, and it's so far away, and it's, oh God, it's not even comparable to anything. But in reality, everything that we do and every exercise of state power is bubbling a millimeter above everything that we despise from Nazi Germany, from Mussolini's Italy, from all of them. And I think we're always so goddamn close, even on the left, because people underestimate the way in which modern state power can immediately adopt the worst affects of the worst governments to have ever existed. So I use these terms because I think it's important to know how close we are to that precipice. That all it takes.
Sorry, go on.
No, just that all it takes, and this is a fact, by the way. All it takes is a charismatic South African leader. It could happen 5, 10, or 20 years from now, or maybe it won't. I hope it doesn't. Who talks about colonization and the dispossession of the people and the fact that South Africa is for Africans, and you run that rhetoric down like 5 inches, and you get camps. I don't think that's hyperbolic. I just think that's the logical extension of a lot of the stuff that we're talking about here.
I don't think it's hyperbolic. I mean, like Idi Amin was like a horrible dictator. I think what I'm talking about is like realistically, like when I've seen, I've only read a bit about countries that have colonized themselves, but like when I read about it, it's like, what are they going to do? It's like when you look at like each case.
What he's saying, we're always close to fascism. I don't typically agree with his definition of fascism, but I think this is pretty true when he says that on the left, that we're usually pushing ideas that are pretty close to fascism. We're talking about like certain tanky ideology. It's pretty much like right there in line with fascism. We're talking about some of these race ideologies. We take it like too far. We're talking about like when he was talking about like the men shit. How for a while it was just like, yeah, women are great and men are pieces of shit. And it's like, dude, this is kind of cringe. This is kind of weird. We cannot be this weird about it. And so it's just like, yeah, we get pretty close to a lot of these ideas.
study, it looks really different. And at the end of the day, like the people who've gotten rid of their colonizers, it's good. And I guess that's really my point. I mean, in this conversation, I think I've like kind of like in this conversation, like I've like you know said like okay, like there's boundaries that I want to make here. Like okay, no genocide, that's good. But then there's like all these like instances where people had like civil wars, and I'm glad they got rid of the colonizers. And to the extent where they did that, they're fine. They're not separatist places, but they got rid of a lot of the colonialist population.
Jesus Christ, the rhetoric there sounds just. I mean, she literally said, "I'm not down for genocide," but in these places where they had civil war, I mean, she literally said that was pretty good. They got rid of the colonizer population, not they got rid of the colonizer institutions, policies, or power structures. The colonizer population. That's crazy. The rhetoric on that one is fucking an F- from me.
Devil's
what do you
in the
want people to
details,
do?
right? You know, you can attack colonizers without attacking a race of people. There are people, white people, who have lived in South Africa for hundreds and hundreds of years. I don't think they're
it's literally sounded like genocide, no, but race-based civil war, where the goal is to reduce the colonizers' population. Good. It's like, wait, so what we're saying is like, we're doing the thing where it's like it's like the stereotype of the cop or whatever that like walks up to the dude, is like, yeah, you know what? I really want to kill you. And he's like, yeah, you're a piece of shit. You're garbage. You're garbage. You're garbage. And he's like trying to, you know, goat them into fucking hitting them. And then the like person gets all up and in their face and they're like, you're assaulting a police officer. Time to die. Like, and now it's morally justified. Like, they're doing the meme. They're literally doing the meme. Like, oh, drop a gun next to his oh, he's got a gun. Well, it's time to die. Like, dude, okay, what? Like, it wasn't okay before.
Colonizers than the black people they're neighbors to.
But the people who left were white, and I guess like I'm not really sure. Like I guess whatever you want to call it, it's like the people who colonized them.
The people who left were Dutch, but now they're South African, born there, citizens with the same rights to that country as anyone else who lives there, regardless of their race. If you want to decolonize stuff, I mean, I'm in favor of decolonization.
Colonialist structures.
Yeah,
so it's like how do you end the colonialism? Like what would you?
I don't think you can always cleanly separate the colonization from the people who do it if the population is going to be a threat. I don't necessarily disagree with that either. I was talking primarily about the optics previously, like in, let's assume the case of, like we could just bring it on over to the Germany and the Third Reich, how they were trying to literally ethnically cleanse their area, right? They weren't taking no for an answer, right? They had to be stopped with guns and bullets to be able to actually stop the violence that the Third Reich was posing and what have you. But that doesn't mean that, like, if we were to, let's say, have a problem of, let's use white people in a certain country, that means that then we should kick them out of the country. No, we should just look at the socioeconomic conditions, advocate for policy to be able to get it in the power structures in a way that we think is fair. Right? That's what we should do. And fair does not mean just benefits like black people and allows us to kick white people out, right? Just like actually fair. And then that should be it. We shouldn't even be participating.
Asterisk clap. Asterisk whites are officially part of POC now. Okay, people of colonialism.
What would you do?
You have to do it. You have to do it without attacking.
What would you do? Has to be left up to those people. And the reason why I keep on saying that is because it's like, I'm not South African and I'm not Kenyan. I'm not a Tanzanian. It's like those people have to figure out what they're going to do about their colonial situation. And that's kind of where it's like, I can have thoughts on that.
We can still morally disallow some things. For example,
in a lot
of African countries, they consider homosexuality to be a component of Western propaganda, that our degeneracy spread around the world. So they kill their gay people. That's not good. And they might say that killing gay people is part of them decolonizing because they're removing the culture of their colonizers. Now, I don't care how they think that works. I am not defending that, and I will impugn them for it. And I think the same can go for a lot of other strategies of decolonization, because I don't think excising a racial group is really ever going to be the most effective way of decolonizing. And if it is, honestly, then maybe colonization has to simmer for a bit longer. I mean, if you're doing the utilitarian math on this, it's like, we could end colonization. We only have to kill 10 million people. It's like, oh, well, I don't know.
It doesn't just look like
tough math,
just killing people like that comes up in being like a civil war.
Sure. But when the civil war happens, who's getting attacked, right? Say a civil war happens in South Africa. There are two civil wars. One I'm okay with and one not, okay? The civil war that I agree with is power structures that have been historically white coalesce to seize power from the government, and South Africans beat them back, and decolonization takes place when the leaders who did their own business plot die or are excised from the country, and the coup fails. And then there's the other kind of civil war, where racial tension between white and black people escalate as acts of stochastic terrorism are inflamed on both sides, until eventually the vast majority of the population, the black South Africans, overwhelm the white South Africans, and you see essentially the night of broken glass all over again. And you see just families being torn from homes, killed in the street, lit up in pyres, stuck from trees, which is what happens when people think it's okay, morally necessary even, to slaughter entire ethnic groups for some perceived moral crime. That civil war is not one that I will defend. The first one is totally okay.
That just like doesn't happen.
That does happen, yeah.
Wait, did she literally just
I guess what I'm saying it doesn't happen. Like, I don't know of a
she seems
South African country that or of an African country that does that. It's like when I hear about people who have decolonized themselves, it's to the extent of like taking away the colonial power.
Like,
But I do think like if there's like I guess example Idi Amin, for example, like that's a really extreme example. He was called the butcher of Uganda, and it's like that he was a dictator, and like he
also
needs
the
to stop.
Rwandan genocide. Quite a few people died there too. But we don't have to say it's
That's
happened
not like
before.
a reflection though of the people. I think like what are the people as a whole saying the need? Of course, there's people who disagree, but there's like these like especially when I read about like colonialism, like there's like these mass movements of people trying to find their own independence,
But
and
no,
that looks like.
but that is.
Without,
Yeah, sorry.
I'm just saying, like when I like in the examples that I've read about, I don't know like every single example, but the examples I've read about, like that looks like getting rid of the colonists to the point of ending that colonial power.
But this did happen in Rwanda, though. That was an attempt at dispelling like elements of colonial power. But yeah, I'm also being like from chat the expulsion of Asian people from Uganda, who were a component of the mostly people of Indian descent, who were a component of the colonization of that country as well. And
is that under Idi Amin?
well, and we don't have to. I don't know.
It's like that person was a dictator, and like I'm talking about like an entire nation trying to figure out having their own autonomy.
Yeah, but now you're layering together preconditions that you can't control. It's all well and good to say, the will of the people, but in reality, how often do things actually play out that way? Strong men take power, and they're the ones who get it done. Even in democracies, we don't have will of the people. America has a more functional democracy than almost anything you'd see in Africa. Nothing that happens out of Congress is the will of the people. And even if it took place through a democracy, we're still fundamentally talking about genocidal violence. And even if this hasn't happened,
African American.
to the extent as what I described before, which it has, like, why do we have to wait for it to happen for us to condemn its potential, Like,
I mean, the
we've never had a
of
genocide of 7 million Jews. That's never happened. But I can still say, yeah, if 7 million Jews were killed, that would be pretty bad too, Like, I don't need to wait for that to happen to warn against it.
like the examples of I'm thinking of people who have decolonized people, it very much was a movement of people, like in Kenya, Tanzania,
Do you
Algeria.
not think populist revolutions can do horrible things?
I totally think they do. Yeah.
What about like Pol Pot? That was a component of decolonization. What about the Cultural Revolution? I mean, Pol Pot killed people who wore glasses because it was like meant that they had been corrupted by Western intelligentsia. That was
right. And
explicitly.
I'm not endorsing that. Like I'm saying like dictatorship is wrong. That's why I'm saying like very much it needs to be a movement of the people. And like the examples I'm thinking of, they are movements of the people. And I think that's good that those people had those autonomy and the self-determination to get rid of colonialism. That's amazing.
Okay, so she's doing another optics thing. She's trying to say movements of the people, and then the way that Vaush is correctly interpreting it is populist movements that many people that agree with, that the general populace agrees with, primarily because of schmoozing or otherwise coaxing by charismatic leaders or influential leaders or what have you, right? Movements that the people agree with. The way that she is using it is like movements by the people means like movements that she thinks is good for most people, except for white people.
The Khmer Rouge, not the people? Was the Cultural Revolution not the people? And also, can't the people do bad things? The people do bad things all the time. I mean,
Sure, yeah. I think there's definitely bad things that you can do in trying to get rid of colonialism. And I'm not saying that there isn't. I'm not saying that like you can just do whatever you want when you're decolonizing things. But I think my point is that like when you're looking at these examples of people, like you're looking at like a really messy history of like trying to get rid of colonialism. It's like there's a lot of like really good and bad things that have happened. And at that point, it's the issue is like dealing with the problem they shouldn't have ever had to deal with because people shouldn't have been colonized in the first place. That doesn't mean that you can't like critique what they've done. Doesn't mean you can't say that certain things are wrong.
the Rwanda genocide was also not done by a dictator. It was done by rebel fronts. It was done by what was essentially like a populist mass. I'm all good, well in favor of democracy and all that, but we have to protect minorities and democratic structures, right? If we didn't believe in
Sure,
that, then
yeah.
If we didn't believe in that, then you and other black people would probably be in a much worse position here, right? Because even back in the 1960s, white people did not have the most favorable opinions on the equality of the vote. The ability to protect the rights of minorities is essential. So if you defer everything to the will of the population, you still leave room for like horrible stuff to be done. And that's the only thing I'm saying. I'm just saying we shouldn't do ethnostates and we shouldn't do genocides. That's my my hot take, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, well, again, I think genocides are wrong, but I think for me, when I hear black people talk about an ethno-state, I'm like, I can understand why you want to be away from your oppressors.
Oh
and I think
my
there's like ways that people can do
God.
it without, like necessarily like hurting white people. Like there are places that are mostly black anyways, and like if you just had certain spaces for black people to be away from the oppressed people.
Like police? Would you enforce it with state power, or do you just mean like a town that's mostly black? 'Cause I'm pretty sure
Thank you. Can we actually drill this, please?
those exist.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it'd be like anarchist or something like that. I don't know, because like anarchists probably wouldn't have a police. Like I don't know. It's all very
Wait, what? Anarchists do have police. What? You a fucking moron? She's too online.
it's all very not realistic because it's like not something that's gonna happen. I think my point is that I can understand why people are like, I don't want to live with people who oppress me anymore, and I think people need to be able to talk about that.
All I'm saying.
Okay. So, I mean, she's pro-ethno-state. She literally just said she's pro-ethno-state. I don't know how she went on Twitter and said that she wasn't, like, talking about that. That wasn't something that she advocated for because we just heard it. She's pro-ethno-state, so.
Saying is that you can talk about that. I feel like I understand the feelings. It's just I can't get around the fact that they're identical to white nationalist arguments that I've heard. Because this is how it goes too, right? You talk about the abstracts of white nationalism, and they're like, well, yeah, I probably can't seize control of the U.S., so I'll just move over to, what's a really white state? Idaho? I don't know. I'm going to move over to some all-white commune.
How would anarchists have police with no state apparatus? They just define it as like a community policing. So essentially you democratically say, yeah, George is really an ethical person. I would stand by him guarding over our community. You just do that a million times, and then you got yourself a police force. That's their system, or at least as I've heard it described. There is no such thing as civilized society without a police force. It cannot exist. A police force, to some degree, has to exist. There is no way to have a civilized society without one. Otherwise, it's just people doing power grabs as often as fucking possible with no accountability. So yeah, that's my. I don't think it would work. Just to be honest. Just to be clear, I don't think it would work well at all, but that's, yeah.
And we're going to buy all the properties, so there's no room for a black person to move in next door. And
is this
I just
the
want to be
Destiny
rid
waiting room? Indeed.
of all the black crime or whatever. And hey, oppression, interpersonal oppression from white people to black people can suck, but crime can also suck. So we're all sort of acting out our harms, our traumas here. I just don't think that justifies like the formation of, you know what I mean? It's just, you can just go so many bad roads with that. TERFs do the same thing, right?
Yeah,
TERFs want women's only
that is
spaces,
true.
by which they mean cisgender women's only spaces, because they've had a lifetime of hurt and violence and terror inflicted on them by people who have my body type. And for some reason, they think trans women have my body type, which they definitely don't. But it's one of the ways in which you can take hurt or harm and reflect it and essentially act the role of the oppressor in some tiny little pocket space you've created for yourself,
Sure, I think in those instances, that's exactly that. And I think there's like, I can really understand why black people are tired of being around white people to the point where they would just like live in a place.
Nice. The most super charitable interpretation for her is maybe she thinks she is saying she just wants to be understanding to those people and emotionally validate them without actually agreeing with them. I don't think you could say that because she's been saying like they have the right to do that. And she's been justifying their right to do that, I was willing to give that a little bit earlier on, but like, I don't think you could do it.
If she was on the right, she'll
It's
be
not
saying
any white people
Hitler
because
did
they
nothing
experience so
wrong,
much
or
racism.
am I crazy?
I think
Probably. Furiosa, thank you for the first time sub and your primer. We're really still in this chick. Fuck Chad Logic's already watching Hans versus Joe Louis. Wait, really?
I think that's my point.
Wait, does Chud agree or disagree with the point? I don't know.
All right,
I think like where they're coming from in the context really matters.
Don't make any, look, has been over 3 hours, which is a pretty impressive run of time in any context. I just, whenever you make your
She gave
ethno
ground
city,
on the
whatever in America, just
racist,
don't make any
I
sense.
like
gay
literally
white
don't
guy?
want to. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Wait, but then she said that she's like, okay, yeah, you know what? I'm not gonna have a debate over this. I can see your point of view. Okay, I can see your point of view. I think it's reasonable. I just personally, from my point of view, I'm just not seeing that as something I'm willing to entertain. Okay, yeah, sure.
I'm just
By
making the
saying
point
she
about, like,
isn't
being able
racist,
to listen
that's
to people, to listen to
crazy.
people who are
That's
colonized,
wild.
people who are oppressed, like give them space to talk about their pain instead of just, comparing them to Hitler. That's actually like the point of what I'm saying. It's like, I'm not even saying you have to agree with separatists. I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying like, try to understand their pain instead of just comparing them to Hitler or something.
Well, I mean,
that's really
you
it.
can do both, if they're being Hitler-esque. I think that you can understand it. I understand it well enough to understand the parallels, at least.
I mean, like you can do both, but I think you're not really understanding where you're coming from.
I know what you're saying. You can't control me. I know what you're saying. I understand your headspace.
That where you're coming from is a reflection not of socioeconomic context, but of your mind state. And it may hurt to hear, but perceived oppression and real oppression have the same effect on a person's mind state. A person who believes they're being subjugated by white people because they're black is correct. A person who believes they're being subjugated by Jews because they're white is incorrect. But the correctness of the external belief bears no effect whatsoever on the internal world of the person who then constructs this political system. So in terms of knowing where you're coming from, that's why I call you similar to white nationalists. If I was talking about historical context, then there's no parallel whatsoever. It is in the mind state in which there is so much, so much similarity, because whether the harm is real or imagined, the language that comes after is the same. We are being victimized, and we have a right to determine our own national autonomy and have a space free.
Not only does the language, but also the feeling comes through the same.
This and from that, and then it all goes bad. Of course,
but one group is actually being victimized,
yes,
and then one group is not. So it's like,
but that doesn't have anything to do with where you're
coming from. It's an important distinction.
It is.
Yeah, being victimized or not being victimized is a really important part of where they're coming from.
But where you're coming from is a reflection of your mind state. And perceived oppression is the same. Is there any difference in terms of how you feel between your friend Stacy shit talking you behind your back and you thinking your friend Stacy shit talked you behind your back? No. In your mind, it's exactly the same. What you believe to be true is what you form your thoughts from. after all. How right you are has nothing to do with the thoughts that you develop from them. So
But it's not about being right. It's about like one is like trying to solve an issue of like having a place you're not away where you're away from the people who are oppressing you, and the other is just like these racist beliefs that are used to justify the oppression of non-white people.
I think Vaush is kind of getting ahead of the story, more saying this for the audience probably at this point. And the reason why is because his point is built on the idea that this lady is kind of like coming up with an idea of white people that is incongruent with the reality of white people, but that she feels that it is the correct way of viewing white people, and that he's presuming that his view of white people is the same, or is the correct idea of white people, and so, and that like they're not all batshit crazy and need to be deported. And so, yeah, the I don't know, the understanding of how this. I feel like he's just kind of getting ahead of himself on this. He's kind of like saying this. He would have to be saying this more for the audience.
yeah, well, I mean, I'm not justifying the oppression of non-white people. I think that we can attack those without adopting the language of the oppressor.
Right, but they're not adopting the language of the oppressor. Actually, like these are like black people trying to figure out how to be free.
Of course,
which is also what they say. Right to self-determination. You know, we should have a homeland.
Like, I think it's probably a lot more likely
that
that white nationalists adopted that from black nationalists than the other way around.
Maybe they stole pretty much everything else.
I can't prove it, but like when I was looking this stuff up, like there's black nationalism, and that was like black people talking about like how to find their own self-determination.
Oh, that's the case. I'm blaming you. Wait, hold on. If you get to blame white South Africans because hundreds of years ago their great whatever grandfathers colonized, don't make me blame all black people for the invention of the logic of ethnostates. Okay, don't make. I'll essentialize back that far. Don't you take that burden?
At some point, white supremacists adopted the term white nationalism, and that was like after there's black nationalism. And I can't prove it, but I wonder if they did that because people were so were like understanding of black nationalism that they wanted to adopt something that sounded a little bit more palatable. So it's like, yeah, I don't know if that really matters here, but
I mean, I couldn't really say. I don't know the etymology of the term. I can only say I think it's pretty bad. You know? I think that ethnostates are pretty bad altogether.
Okay, I think they're generally probably a bad idea, but I understand if black people want to not be around people who oppress them.
Well, like I said,
to that extent,
like her rhetoric is perfectly in line with like just like the wink, wink, nod, nod, Pepe. I mean, she's been Pepeing this entire time. That's all it is. It's just Pepe. Yeah, I agree. It's generally bad, but you know, I can see if black people want to do it. Like what? I can see if white people want to do it. That's not relevant. That's not relevant at all. And then when she says, well, I think they have the right to do it, it's like, so you're justifying it. Well, no, I'm not justifying it. I'm saying they have a right to. What do you mean by they have a right to do it if you're not justifying it? That's what a justification is.
Pepe always win.
Just don't make any sundowntowns, okay?